Princess Mo Jiaojiao is revealed as a mermaid. Mo Jiaojiao recalls the tragic end of her family. Hand-drawn sketches depict the execution of her father. Jiaojiao enters the palace earlier than before. She finally meets Mo Yinyuan, the tyrant emperor. Mo Yinyuan orders her into seclusion at the Fairy Sea Palace to learn proper etiquette. The emperor offers his assistance to the young girl. The blue-haired child begins to weep. Her plan of reform appears to be failing. A long, wailing cry sounds as he holds her. She resolves to overcome every difficult task and try her hardest. Jiaojiao pleads for her father's affection, asking for hugs and kisses. She declares her sincere intent to protect her father. The emperor wonders what secret plans are hidden in her cute head. She unintentionally charms the enemy state's prince. Jiaojiao claps her hands together with joy. Mo Yinyuan angrily warns the prince to stay away from his daughter. A portrait shows the emperor, the princess, and the prince. Tense voices call for the emperor to calm down during the royal audience. Emperor Mo Yinyuan wipes blood from his blade while asking for his birthday presents. Envoy Nai Yan presents a special gift intended to make the emperor smile. The emperor opens the gifted box with a cold expression. A dirty Jiaojiao pops out of the box and asks if she is home. The small girl stares up at the tall emperor in confusion. She flies into his arms with a happy cry, celebrating their meeting. She hugs him tightly, enjoying how high up she is. The court officials react with total bewilderment at the sudden scene. Jiaojiao introduces herself as the estranged princess of Moyuan State. She explains her mission to save her father and the entire state. Her tiny feet dangle high above the floor as she is held up. The girl sways while being held by the back of her clothes. Mo Yinyuan dismisses her as a dirty beggar while holding her out of reach. He demands to know if the child is the present prepared by the envoy. Nai Yan begs for mercy, claiming he does not recognize the child. Offended, Jiaojiao bites into the emperor's arm to prove she is no beggar. Mo Yinyuan releases her with a shout of anger at her impudence. She grabs onto his clothes to stop herself from falling. Jiaojiao slides down the emperor's royal robes. She begs her father not to punish the envoy and offers silver as payment. Mo Yinyuan scoffs at the idea of any random child claiming to be his. He orders the eunuch to take the girl out for a beating. Jiaojiao cries out that she possesses a royal token from her mother. She presents the jade talisman, claiming her father would surely recognize it. Mo Yinyuan recognizes the talisman with great shock and curiosity. He notes her strong resemblance to the woman he once knew. Eunuch Lin offers to investigate the girl's claims if the emperor is doubtful. The child calls out to her father happily. The emperor responds with a stern, dismissive grunt. He orders her confined within the Fairy Sea Palace until the matter is clarified. Jiaojiao enjoys a warm bath within the Fairy Sea Palace. The blue-haired mermaid girl enjoys a relaxing bath. Floating in the water, the child worries that her father is as terrifying as the rumors suggest, while the maid warns her that the envoy faces execution and she must never defy the emperor again. The small girl worries that she will be doomed if the emperor discovers her secret identity. She resolves to save the envoy no matter the past. She fears that his death would trigger a war between states and repeat the tragedies of the past. Splashing out of the tub, she decides to find her father immediately. The gray-haired eunuch and the maid watch in surprise as the girl emerges. The maid notes that the child strikingly resembles the emperor in his youth as the girl peeks out from behind a door. The princess kneels before her father, pleading with him to punish her instead of others and begging him not to take lives so easily. A family portrait shows the emperor, the princess, and a young prince together. In the imperial study, the emperor demands an update, and his subordinate reports that Lady Chen married into the Mo family while pregnant years ago before disappearing, confirming the child is indeed his daughter. The emperor wonders why that woman sent the child to him as a voice calls for his attention. Eunuch Lin excitedly claims the child must be the emperor's biological daughter, but the emperor coldly replies that he is already aware. Standing at his desk, the emperor prepares to leave while Eunuch Lin fumes that the shadow guards reported the news before him. The emperor orders that Mo Jiaojiao be brought to him so they can share a meal. The blue-haired princess gazes at a table laden with food in wide-eyed wonder. Watching her eat, the servants find the little princess absolutely adorable. A gloomy atmosphere fills the room as the emperor eats in silence, prompting the servants to find him truly terrifying. The girl stops eating when her father prepares to ask a question. He stares at her intently, demanding to know where her mother is now. She pauses with a chicken drumstick in her hand. The small girl admits that she does not know her mother's current location. She explains that her mother made a pinky promise to return for her after some time had passed. A thud sounds as she jumps down from her high chair. She hugs her father's leg and expresses her wish for them to play together as a family. The emperor picks her up by the back of her guess. He questions her about the palace rules and demands to know the motive behind her being sent to him.
In a memory, the blue-haired woman smiles while explaining her return to protect the state.
The young princess beams with a joyful expression. The emperor notices that her smile is the exact same as that woman's. He scoffs at the idea of a tiny child protecting him, but she insists she is very capable.
He begins to offer a new command regarding her status.
The emperor looks on with a confident, slight smirk. He decrees that she be titled the 9th princess and orders etiquette training as the servants urge her to show her gratitude. A subordinate reports that the imprisoned envoy is protesting and demanding a meeting, leading the emperor to mock the man's self-importance. The emperor orders the immediate execution of the envoy, leaving the young princess in shock. A pitter-patter of footsteps sounds as she runs toward him. She grabs his robe and asks why the innocent envoy must die, but the emperor claims the man ruined his mood and his gift. He asks if she has an objection, and the girl realizes how scary her father can be. He dismisses her and walks away, but she worries that his actions will lead to the fall of the state. She tightens her grip and resolves to protect her father and the state at any cost. She loudly confesses that she was the one who ate the durian. The emperor responds to her confession with an amused smirk. He asks if she is prepared to face the consequences alone and offers to help her. He orders the guards to take her away for 10 plank beatings. Eunuch Lin begs for mercy for the young child, but the emperor demands a ruler so he can personally deliver the punishment. The girl stretches out her hands, resolving to endure anything to make her father happy. His hand pulls back with a sudden, sharp movement. A reflection of the emperor holding the ruler appears in the girl's wide blue eye. The child lets out a pained, sudden cry. The next chapter's preview shows fire. She recalls his past life state invasion. A sharp, sudden slap sounds. The girl whimpers over her hand. Crying out in pain, the blue-haired girl is released by the emperor. Eunuch Lin rushes for ointment while the sobbing girl approaches her father. Feeling aggrieved, she begs her father for a hug and a kiss. The black-haired emperor remains sad. Complaining about troublesome children, the emperor carries the girl as the eunuch returns with ointment. While being held, she asks her father to apply the ointment himself. The emperor demands the ointment box while the eunuch happily complies. While rubbing her hand, the emperor notes how she ruined his mood by eating his birthday present. He stares intently and asks how he should settle this matter with her. The young princess reacts with a joyful, sparkling expression. The emperor smirks and calls her naive. Putting the girl down, the emperor promises to spare the envoy if she completes 2 months of etiquette seclusion, leaving her shocked. The girl salutes and promises her father she will obediently finish the mission because she loves studying. The scene shifts to the lush imperial baden. Hiding in the bushes, the girl admits she actually hates studying. She laments being forced to study etiquette by a scary grandmother every day.
A cheerful song sounds as she skips through the garden.
Peeking through flowers, the girl hears someone questioning the 6th prince's actions. A quick swoosh sounds as she watches a man tell the prince he can avoid punishment by admitting wrongdoing. Terrified of being discovered, the girl hides as the eunuch asks who is there. The eunuch finds the princess, but she faceplants and hilariously claims she is invisible. Standing nearby, the black-haired youth dismisses the girl's behavior as childish. The youth is identified as Yan Jinglan, the 6th prince and a hostage of the state, who points out her visible clothes. Surprised, the blue-haired girl cries out. She stands up and indignantly shouts that she is not childish. She stares at the handsome youth in shock. Sunlight sparkles around the youth's handsome profile. She finds him familiar and touches her head while thinking. She remembers that in her previous life, this boy killed her father. Frozen by his strong aura, the girl resolves to be brave. A light pitter-patter sounds as she approaches the prince and asks what is wrong. Eunuch Lin explains the prince's status as a hostage being punished for defending the envoy. The girl encourages the prince to get up, explaining that her father already promised mercy for the envoy. Avoiding her touch, the prince stiffly thanks the princess for her good intentions. The girl is annoyed by the prince's continued indignation. She asks what it would take for him to finally stand up. The youth lets out a soft, amused tsk. He laughs and asks if she is serious, then demands the emperor personally apologize to him. He leans down and asks if the princess can really help him with such a request. Angry and suspicious, the prince shouts at her for making him a laughingstock while the girl's candy falls. The blue-haired princess stands completely dazed. She panics at the thought of such an impossible and difficult request. A small, mocking laugh escapes the prince. He admits he was only joking and expresses relief that the envoy is safe. Wincing in pain from kneeling too long, the prince rejects the girl's offer of help and prepares to leave. Watching him walk away unsteadily, the girl worries she has failed to help the unhappy prince. Jojo suddenly has a bright, shining idea. Thinking friendship will make the prince happy, the blue-haired girl beams while eunuch Lin asks for her attention to return to the emperor. A soft pitter-patter sounds as the young princess chases after Yan Jinglan, asking about his home. She wonders if someone is forcing him to study back home, noticing his visible irritation. The black-haired youth spins around and loudly demands she stop following him. Dangling from a high ledge, the little girl asks for help getting down. He pulls her to safety, though he questions his own actions while the child sighs in relief. After he lets go, she wonders why her pretty brother is being so fierce toward her. Determined, she insists she wants to play and promises they can become good friends. The prince offers a slight smile, asking if she truly wants to befriend him, while she enthusiastically agrees. He calls out for Little Black, and a sudden rustle from the bushes confuses the princess. A large snake emerges with a sharp hiss, causing the terrified girl to let out a sudden, loud wail. Cradling the snake, the youth claims it is his best friend and challenges the princess to befriend it if she wants to stay close. Trembling with fear, the young girl admits she cannot do it. As the creature glides toward her, the child cowers on the ground and begs the snaky not to eat her. The prince scoffs at her predictable reaction, unaware that the snake appears to be crying. He dismisses her and tells her to leave, but the girl resolves to stay and face her fear. Stuttering with nerves, she introduces herself to the creature and insists they should all be friends. The youth watches in surprise, noting that the child is persisting despite her obvious terror. A sudden spark of confusion strikes the princess as the snake reacts warmly to her touch. The small girl sits comfortably on the ground, seemingly at peace with the friendly snake. She joyfully announces that the snake likes her, declaring them best friends while the prince looks on in silence. While digging in her bag, she mentions that friends should share things, leaving the youth bewildered. She offers him a small candy, explaining that it is so delicious she originally wanted it all for herself. The black-haired prince stares blankly at the treat in her outstretched palm. He asks her directly why she is trying so hard to get close to him. The princess looks up with a curious, wide-eyed expression. Watching the youth, she senses a deep loneliness radiating from him. A simple drawing illustrates how the Yanjing state once stole a massive amount of weapons years ago. The story continues with the emperor leading an invasion, defeating the state, and taking the young prince hostage. She recalls that the prince remained distant because the local people constantly ridiculed him. The girl insists she will never be like the others because she wants to protect him. She stares at him with an expression of fierce determination. The prince doubts such a small child could be the emperor's daughter, despite her huffing in annoyance. He rejects her protection and tells her to go home as it grows late, but she only asks if they are friends yet. He denies ever agreeing to a friendship, leading her to accuse him of going back on his word. She grabs his robe and demands the return of her candy if he won't be her friend. A sudden voice calls out to the prince, and he places a firm hand on the princess's head. A new girl arrives, claiming she rushed over the moment she heard about the prince's punishment. As the newcomer offers cakes, the princess realizes this is Mo Chuyao, the eldest sister who hated her in a past life. Chuyao offers to plead for the envoy, but the prince coldly informs her that the matter is already settled. Confused by the news, Chuyao listens as the younger princess explains that the punishment has ended. The small girl pulls at Chuyao's dress, unaware that the eldest princess secretly views her as a mere beggar. Deep in thought, Chuyao fumes over the rumors of the child's behavior at the birthday banquet. Chuyao addresses the blue-haired girl as the 9th imperial sister who recently arrived. Masking her anger with a fake smile, she tells the child they are now family. She leans in close, suspiciously asking why the princess is spending time with the hostage prince. A sharp thud sounds as the door closes, prompting Chuyao to call after the retreating prince. The younger princess suggests they leave him alone for now, which visibly irritates the eldest princess. The blue-haired girl beams, explaining that she already gave candy to her father and the prince, and now wants to give the last one to her eldest imperial sister. The older girl fumes internally, feeling that the younger child is snatching credit and flaunting the emperor's favor. A dark, calculating look flashes in the eyes of the eldest princess as she resolves to take action. Masking her malice, the black-haired princess calls the child good and asks if she can carry the cute baby bottle for a while. The blue-haired girl lets out a confused sound as she hands over the bottle to her older sister. She hesitantly agrees but asks the eldest princess to be gentle since her mother bought the bottle for her. Smiling sweetly, the eldest princess thanks the child and suggests they return together. As they walk through the palace grounds, the little girl asks where the eldest princess stays so they can play together every day. Stopping by the edge of a pond, the older girl's gaze turns sharp as she focuses on the water. A sudden, sharp throw followed by a heavy splash sounds as the bottle sinks into the water, leaving the young princess in shock. The eldest princess feigns regret, claiming her hand slipped and asking the child not to blame her for the accident. Panicked, the blue-haired girl kicks off her shoes and insists she has to go get her bottle. A nearby maid calls out in alarm as the eldest princess prepares to enter the water herself. The black-haired princess gives the maid a warning look, silencing her as she maintains her scheme. A loud, sudden splash sounds as the eldest princess leaps into the pond, creating a massive wave. Splashing in the pond, the older girl warns the child to stay back while claiming she is still looking for the bottle. The little girl senses something is wrong just as a voice announces the arrival of the emperor. The emperor approaches with a stern expression, demanding to know what is happening at the pond. A light pitter-patter sounds as the young girl runs to her father, explaining that her sister is helping her retrieve her bottle from the water. The emperor looks toward the water with a questioning gaze as the child confirms the situation. A ragged, sudden cough sounds as the wet princess is pulled from the water, and the younger girl innocently thanks her for the help. The eldest princess looks up in absolute shock at the sight of her father standing over them. Trembling, she claims that the incident was entirely her own fault and had nothing to do with the younger girl. The blue-haired child is left bewildered by her sister's sudden and strange change in attitude. The maid suddenly points at the young princess and declares that she is the true culprit. The servant explains that the eldest princess cannot swim, yet the younger girl still forced her into the water to get the bottle. Looking toward the emperor, the maid describes the eldest princess as pitiful and begs for justice to be served. The black-haired emperor remains silent, casting a heavy, suspicious gaze on the scene. He addresses the eldest princess by name, Mo Tuyao, and demands she explain herself. Tuyao claims that the bottle simply fell into the pond for some reason while she was standing there. She begs her father not to blame the child, calling her ignorant, while the younger girl cries out that everyone is lying. The blue-haired girl realizes her sister's personality is as horrible as in her past life, mourning the loss of the candy she wasted on her. The emperor looks down and skeptically asks Tuyao if she is truly sure that such a wimpy child was able to push her. He asks how a child with such tiny strength could possibly push her, causing the girl to pout, while the eldest princess trembles. Qiao quickly changes her story, claiming she may have tripped herself, while the emperor notes she has many bad tricks. The emperor grounds Chuyao for 5 days and orders her to copy the house rules 100 times, a punishment she accepts while bowing. He then turns his cold attention toward the maid who provided the false testimony. The servant screams for mercy as she is dragged away while the emperor remains unmoved. A sudden, small grab sounds as the blue-haired girl clutches her father's rope, calling out to him. She begs him not to kill anyone, insisting that killing is not the right thing to do. The emperor asks why she would want to spare a person who just tried to frame her. The black-haired emperor stares at the child in contemplative silence. He tells her that his decision will depend on her future performance, making the young princess cheer with joy. He tells the wimpy child to stop following him, unaware that Yan Jinglan is watching them from the shadows. From behind a rock, the hostage prince watches the retreating figures with an unreadable expression. The black-haired youth peeks from behind a pillar, remaining silent as he observes the palace drama. The scene shifts to the Fairy Sea Palace where the girl peeks inside, wondering if her strict teacher is still around. A sharp, sudden start sounds as a voice calls out to the little princess, catching her by surprise. Sister Ling, a brown-haired maid, checks on the blue-haired girl after hearing about her recent water incident. The small princess strikes a pose, full of earned confidence. Sister Ling offers to help the little girl with a bath before dinner. A sudden, wide-eyed realization hits the princess as she considers the bath. Stammering, the child rapidly retreats and insists she is grown up enough to bathe herself. Despite the maid's concern, the blue-haired girl waves goodbye and hurries away. She remembers her secret identity as a little mermaid and fears being exposed during a bath. She imagines a terrifying future where the emperor discovers her secret and treats her like a curiosity. Shouting in panic, she shakes the frightening thought from her head. The girl stops in her tracks, blinking in sudden confusion. She realizes she is lost because she fled without paying attention to her path. Peeking over a balcony, she is delighted to find several pretty fish in the water below. A sudden small splash sounds as a fish leaps from the water. Two elegant blue-tinted fish swim gracefully through the clear water. The princess strikes a celebratory pose, suddenly knowing exactly what to give her father. A banner announces a preview of the next chapter, showing the emperor's mood shifting from a smirk to dark anger while holding a gift. Mo Chuyao, the eldest sister, fumes as she struggles to copy the palace rules correctly. A sudden, cheerful song about fish interrupts her work, making her look up in annoyance. A light, quick tap sounds as Chuyao leans out the window to investigate. The younger princess skips happily through the courtyard carrying a wooden bucket. Chuyao watches from her window, questioning what the girl is up to. The little girl refuses to tell her sister anything and sticks her tongue out. Forcing a smile, the eldest princess claims she wants to apologize for the earlier misunderstanding. She maintains her fake persona, insisting her apology is sincere.
Chuyao asks if they can still be sisters, masking her true irritation. The blue-haired girl is not fooled, making a face of deep skepticism. She calls her eldest sister bad and pretentious before running away as Mo Chuyao shouts after her.
Mo Chuyao calls out from the window, demanding the girl stop. The child begins counting the fish she has captured for her gift. She continues her count, focusing on a particularly large blue fish. Reaching for, she is interrupted by Chuyao, who arrives to question her actions. Mo Chuyao is horrified, realizing the girl has caught the emperor's prized blue carp. She calculates that the emperor will be furious when he learns his expensive treasures have been eaten. A sudden, sharp cough sounds as Chuyao masks her malicious delight. She mockingly warns that it would be a shame to eat the fish, while the child only fumes. Watching the scene shifts to the imperial study where the emperor sits at his massive desk. He looks up in surprise, asking why the princess is suddenly covered in ash.
The emperor orders his attendant to let the girl inside.
A small hand reaches up to the desk as the girl calls out for her father. The emperor looks down with a frown, demanding to know why she is in such a mess. Standing proudly, the princess is covered in soot and clutches a wooden gift box. Remembering her father's obsession with cleanliness, she frantically tries to wipe the dirt from her face. A soft, quick rub sounds as she only manages to smudge the soot further across her cheeks. Irritated, the emperor tells her to stop and state her business. She offers the box, excitedly announcing that she has prepared a delicious birthday present for him. The emperor detects a familiar scent and grows suspicious of the contents. He stares at the grilled fish inside, while the child joyfully asks if he likes his special gift. A sudden, sharp crack sounds as the emperor's fury boils over, breaking the wooden lid in his hand. The attendant begs for mercy, while the young girl remains blissfully unaware of the trouble she's in. Eunuch Lin explains the blue-haired girl's ignorance regarding the immense value and breeding difficulty of the emperor's rare blue carp. The attendant warns Jiao Jiao that she has caused a massive disaster, leaving the child visibly startled. Imagining her father roasting her over a fire like a fish, the blue-haired girl is overcome with terror. The emperor sternly commands his daughter to approach him. A small princess stands before her towering father. A loud, sudden cry sounds as a preview shows the emperor preparing to deliver punishment with a wooden paddle. The blue-haired child sobs in self-pity as she considers her situation. She laments being a wild child whom nobody wants. A title banner depicts the royal family. Jiao Jiao pleads for her father's forgiveness and asks him not to remain angry. She suggests her father taste the grilled carp first before deciding on her punishment. The emperor expresses his outrage that she killed his treasures and is now attempting to negotiate terms. He questions whether she truly believes he would hesitate to execute her. Panic fills the room as the emperor orders Eunuch Lin to bring a paddle for punishment. The black-haired ruler snaps at his attendant for questioning his orders. Remembering her father's past reputation as a violent tyrant, Jiao Jiao resolves to change his fate. With trembling resolve, she offers her hand for punishment. The blue-haired girl declares her bravery, refusing to back down for the sake of her father and the state. Eunuch Lin delivers the wooden paddle as the emperor decides to limit the punishment to 10 strikes. Terrified by the size of the paddle, Jiao Jiao tries to hide her hand while her father demands she present it. A sudden, firm pull sounds as he grabs her hand. A ragged, sudden wail sounds as Jiao Jiao cries out during the start of the punishment. The child begins singing a pitiful song about being an abandoned cabbage, confusing the emperor. She continues her song about her fear of a cruel stepmother, while Eunuch Lin finds her adorable. Watching the scene, the eunuch worries that the emperor's expression is growing increasingly dark and frustrated.
Jiao Jiao tells her father to continue hitting her since she considers herself an unwanted little cabbage.
She peeks through her fingers with one eye to gauge the situation. The black-haired man remains silently furious while his daughter notes his lingering anger. She tearfully suggests she should leave the palace and wander the world if he doesn't want her.
He irritably orders her to be quiet while she panics about her inevitable punishment.
A sudden, heavy thump sounds as she reacts to the noise in shock. The emperor grants her a final chance, threatening to feed her to wolves if the fish is not delicious. A light, quick pick sounds as he finally tastes the grilled blue carp. He chews the food in thoughtful silence while his daughter watches. He privately admits that the fish is delectable and is impressed by the child's unexpected cooking skills. The blue-haired princess eagerly asks if he enjoys his guest.
He lies by claiming the food is horrible, but the girl sees through his facade.
Jiao Jiao looks up with a bright expression, knowing the truth. The emperor stares at her without a word. He declares his dislike for wimpy children and orders that she undergo strict etiquette training. Mo Chuyao peeks from behind a pillar, maliciously hoping her sister has been severely punished. A sudden, creaking open sounds as a door swings wide. Jiao Jiao skips happily through the corridor, singing while the eunuch warns her to be careful. Mo Chuyao watches in stunned disbelief as the child passes by. She stares at the retreating child who seems completely unbothered. The eldest princess fumes over the fact that her sister escaped punishment and is even singing. Mo Chuyao remains hidden, unable to comprehend the situation. The emperor suddenly appears behind his eldest daughter, demanding to know why she is lurking. A heavy, sudden bam sounds as the running princess trips and falls flat on her face. A promotional banner announces the next chapter. The emperor asks Mo Chuyao why she is standing in the courtyard. Mo Chuyao bows while greeting her father, who remains silent before noting that he had grounded her for her past actions. Looking down at his daughter, the emperor asks if she finds her previous punishment too light, causing her to stammer in fear. The scene shifts to the blue-haired princess, who sits alone and looks quite content. Sister Ling offers to feed her dinner, but Jiao Jiao insists she is a big child now and can eat on her own. The little princess shares her food with the maid, who thanks her with a warm smile. A sudden, wet chewing sound follows as Jiao Jiao begins eating a large pig's trotter with great enthusiasm. The child asks the maid what is wrong, while Sister Ling finds her charge's eating habits incredibly cute. Sister Ling encourages Jiao Jiao to eat more to grow pretty and plump, leaving the child puzzled. A sudden, loud creak sounds as a door swings wide open and light floods into the room. Eunuch Lin enters the room and offers a polite morning greeting to the young princess. Jiao Jiao excitedly invites Uncle Lin to eat with her, but the elderly man explains he has already had his meal. Looking at the newcomer, the child asks who she is while the eunuch prepares to make an introduction. Granny Li introduces herself and announces she is taking charge of Jiao Jiao's etiquette training, making the girl realize her father was serious. Jiao Jiao breaks into a frantic cry, imagining a life without trotters or her pretty brother as she rejects the training. The princess begs Uncle Lin to let her plead with her father, but he explains that a royal decree cannot be opposed. Eunuch Lin reassures her that the teacher won't be too harsh and says she can send reports through Lingyan if needed. He quickly leaves the room, running at high speed as the princess calls out for him to stay. Granny Li looms over the child, stating her instructions to teach every part of imperial etiquette without exception. The instructor commands the princess to follow her, and Jiao Jiao reluctantly agrees with a groan. Granny Li lectures on how a noble daughter must maintain dignified movements at all times. Jiao Jiao groans as she struggles to hold her posture while the instructor watches. The teacher explains proper eye contact while Jiao Jiao pulls at her sleeve to get her attention. Looking up with a sweet expression, Jiao Jiao asks for a rest so she can go find her father. Granny Li remains firm, ordering the princess to stand straight and stop pulling on others' clothes. A soft, disappointed sigh escapes the child as she yields to the teacher's command. Watching the child, Granny Li privately questions the rumors of her being malicious since she doesn't feel that way. Jiao Jiao goes through the mental steps of raising her head and crossing her hands to maintain a perfect pose. Losing her balance, the little princess falls to the ground while the maid cries out in alarm. Granny Li holds up a hand to stop the maid from intervening. She reminds Sister Ling that she is the one in charge and the girl does not need any help. The instructor scolds Jiao Jiao for showing an undignified side and calls her current state highly improper. A soft, quick wipe sounds as Jiao Jiao clears her eyes, remembering her mother's advice to always be a brave child and pick herself up. Sister Ling watches with deep concern as the little princess prepares to try again. Shaking from the effort, Zhao Zhao manages to stand firm once more. Zhao Zhao proudly tells the teacher she isn't afraid of falling and can stand on her own, moving the maid to tears. Granny Li acknowledges her success but tells her to remember her conduct while the girl wonders why the old woman never smiles. The teacher prepares for the next lesson as Zhao Zhao waves her hand to catch her eye. Zhao Zhao offers a piece of candy, asking if Granny Li will smile for her just once. Granny Li presents a tray with a small portion of vegetables and soup, explaining the new strict meal limits for the princess.
She rejects the joke and the candy, citing their social differences, leaving Zhao Zhao feeling confused.
Granny Li leads the way to lunch as Zhao Zhao cheers at the prospect of food. Collapsing onto the table, the child enjoys a brief moment of rest. Granny Li immediately demands she sit straight with her hands in her lap while Zhao Zhao complains of hunger. A sudden, fierce shout sounds as Granny Li threatens to personally adjust the girl's position if she doesn't comply. Terrified, the princess snaps into a perfect sitting position on her chair. The instructor orders her to wait while she goes to get the food, and Zhao Zhao obediently agrees. Sister Ling watches the dejected girl with a heavy heart. Sobbing, the maid suggests Zhao Zhao pretend to be ill so the teacher will stop forcing her to study. Zhao Zhao declares her commitment to honesty, remembering her mother's warning that lying makes children ugly and undesirable. The young princess grows quiet as she considers the consequences of failing to learn proper etiquette. Terrified for her teacher's life, she resolves to work hard to prevent her father from delivering a lethal punishment to the elderly woman. A soft, sudden sob sounds as Sister Ling pulls the child into a hug, moved by her selfless heart. Watching from the shadows, Granny Li is stunned that the child is worrying about her, doubting the malicious rumors she had heard from the eldest princess. Deciding to set aside her doubts, the instructor presents a meal she personally prepared for the young girl. A loud, sudden growl sounds as Zhao Zhao prepares to eat, though she privately wonders how she will be satisfied with such a small portion. Looking at her attendants, the blue-haired girl asks why she is the only one eating. Sister Ling panics when Zhao Zhao invites both the maid and the strict teacher to join her for the meal. Granny Li reflects on her status as a servant while questioning the girl's kind motives as Zhao Zhao asks if she is hungry. The instructor firmly declines the offer, citing their different social standings and instructing the princess never to invite servants to eat with her again. Left to finish her meal, the princess wonders why the elderly woman refuses to even touch the food. As night falls, Sister Ling reads a story about a fox and a rabbit becoming friends, while the princess falls fast asleep. A soft, steady breath sounds as the blue-haired child sleeps peacefully in her bed. The maid notes with a smile that her charge is finally resting. Sister Ling's expression shifts to shock as she notices something while adjusting the girl's position. She discovers a painful-looking bruise on the princess's leg, a remnant of the morning's harsh training. Determination replaces her concern as Sister Ling confronts the instructor in the dimly lit corridor. The maid demands to know why the teacher treated such a small Granny Li remains stern, explaining that she is bound by the emperor's decree and must teach the princess properly to show respect to the crown. Sister Ling tearfully argues that the teacher ignores the child's feelings, even though the princess worked hard despite being injured. Tempers flare as the maid accuses the teacher of being heartless, prompting Granny Li to snap at her for being insolent. The instructor orders her subordinate to leave and discipline herself as Sister Ling runs away in tears. Alone in the hallway, Granny Li begins to doubt her own assumptions and decides to check if the child is truly hurt. A heavy, weary sigh escapes the elderly woman as she stands over the sleeping princess. A sudden, light click sounds as Granny Li opens a jar of medicinal cream. She tenderly applies the ointment to the child's leg, comforting the sleeping girl and promising the pain will soon fade. A soft, quick snap sounds as she closes the jar, satisfied the injury will be healed by morning. Granny Li prepares to leave for the night, but Zhao Zhao suddenly wakes and calls out to her. The princess reveals she saw her teacher's secret kindness while applying the medicine. A radiant, joyful smile lights up the child's face. In a comical vision, Sister Ling marvels at how the little princess successfully subdued the devil instructor. Zhao Zhao beams with pure happiness, her eyes sparkling. Granny Li tries to maintain her professional facade by citing her duty, but the princess accuses her of lying about her true feelings. A firm, sudden tug sounds as Zhao Zhao grabs the woman's hand, quoting her mother's words about people who are sharp-tongued but soft-hearted. The instructor asks if the child is afraid of her, but Zhao Zhao responds with heartfelt gratitude for her care. The blue-haired princess begins searching for something special to give her teacher. Offering a glowing blue orb, Zhao Zhao announces she will acknowledge Granny Li as her godmother from now on. A sudden, muffled thump sounds as Granny Li covers the girl's mouth, warning her that such a title could bring a death sentence from those with ulterior motives. Looking at the innocent child, the elderly woman's cold expression finally softens into one of genuine affection. A long, tired yawn sounds as the teacher tucks the girl in, telling her it is late and she should rest. Watching the princess snore, Granny Li admits the child is adorable and believes she should be cherished. A bright, cheerful chirp sounds as a new day begins and sunlight fills the palace courtyard. A sharp, sudden clatter sounds as a piece of food slips from the princess's chopsticks. Zhao Zhao pouts in frustration as she struggles to eat the feast spread out before her. Sister Ling watches with deep worry, fearing the princess is about to face another scolding for her poor table manners. To the maid's total shock, Granny Li offers a spoon and a kind smile, even offering to help the girl eat. Fatigue takes over during lessons as Zhao Zhao snores loudly while holding her book, leaving Sister Ling fearing the worst. A soft, quick slide sounds as Granny Li takes the book away and gently suggests the princess go outside to play. Zhao Zhao skips away happily while the maid watches in stunned disbelief, unable to comprehend the instructor's sudden change of heart. Excitedly, Zhao Zhao calls for her teacher and her favorite maid to play hide-and-seek. Sister Ling is shocked to be chosen as the seeker while Zhao Zhao giggles. Sister Ling is bewildered by the sudden change in their dynamic compared to yesterday. Zhao Zhao waves her hand and offers to share a secret with the maid. The princess whispers that Granny Li took care of her injury and said she likes her. Sister Ling watches in total shock as the little girl runs away. In a fantasy vision, Sister Ling praises Zhao Zhao for successfully subduing the devil instructor. Granny Li smiles softly and says she will go hide as well. Sister Ling worries about the emperor finding out the princess isn't studying etiquette. Granny Li shushes the maid, suggesting the emperor won't know if they don't tell him. A soft, happy hum sounds as the eldest princess walks through the corridor. She gleefully imagines Zhao Zhao being tortured and disciplined by the strict Granny Li. A sudden voice catches her attention, making her stop and wonder what the sound is. Looking over a wall, the eldest princess is shocked to see Granny Li being gentle with the child.
She decides to report the princess's lack of etiquette training to their father immediately.
Inside the palace, the emperor scolds eunuch Lin while Zhao Zhao stands perfectly straight nearby. A loud, sudden crash sounds as the emperor orders everyone to leave his presence. Terrified subjects withdraw while eunuch Lin reports that the eldest princess is requesting an audience.
The eldest princess enters and greets her father with a respectful bow.
The emperor sternly asks if she finished copying the house rules as punishment. Nervous, the black-haired woman claims she is only there because she was worried about her ninth sister. She hides her face in her sleeve, pretending to be deeply concerned about Granny Li's strictness. The emperor growls in annoyance at the perceived trouble his youngest daughter is facing. He orders his attendants to take him to the Fairy Sea Palace at once. Behind his back, the eldest princess smirks, considering her plan a success. Back at the palace, Sister Ling announces she has found the teacher and is looking for the princess. A soft, quick gasp sounds as the maid searches through the lush green bushes.
Zhao Zhao giggles from her hiding spot, confident she won't be found while her caretakers search.
A sudden voice from above startles the princess, asking if she is having fun. Zhao Zhao gasps as she spots her father standing over her while the attendants kneel in respect. The princess cheerfully invites her father to play, but he flatly refuses such a childish game. Zhao Zhao looks up with large, sparkly eyes and says she simply likes him. She continues to plead, saying she would like him even more if he played with her. A firm, sudden hug sounds as Zhao Zhao clings to his leg, ignoring his inner monologue about her defiance. The emperor glares, thinking the little princess is practically begging for a punishment. A sudden, tense pause sounds as he looks down at the hopeful child. Retracted his hand, the emperor clears his throat and demands to know if Granny Li acknowledges her mistake. Zhao Zhao is shocked by the reminder of her father's tyrannical nature as the instructor begs for mercy. The emperor stares blankly as the princess calls out to him. Tears well up in Zhao Zhao's eyes as she takes the blame and asks to be punished instead. The father sternly tells her to stop crying, refusing to be swayed by her tricks. Angrily hugging his leg, Zhao Zhao warns that her mother will punish him for being mean. The emperor's face pales as he recalls a painful memory of being beaten with a bamboo pole. He clenches his fist, privately fuming that the daughter of that woman is truly trouble. Snapping back to reality, he orders eunuch Lin to bring the etiquette booklet immediately. A sudden, sharp flinch sounds as Zhao Zhao realizes her father is being serious about the lessons. The princess quickly promises to be good and learn etiquette if he spares her servants. Eunuch Lin notes that the princess is too thin to hold a stance, but the emperor scoffs. The emperor claims her round cheeks prove she is fat enough to handle the harsh training. Zhao Zhao fumes with anger, declaring that her mother called her the prettiest princess and that she is definitely not fat. The little princess throws a major tantrum, shouting at the top of her lungs that her father is inhuman. Standing tall over her, the emperor mocks her claim of him being inhuman, while Eunuch Lin watches with concern in the background. The emperor's expression turns sinister as he asks if he should sew her mouth shut or simply throw her to the wolves. A sudden, timid energy radiates from Zhao Zhao as she backtracks, claiming her mother's words weren't her own and telling him he is handsome. A silent glare from his red eyes. The emperor walks away coldly, ordering the little girl to stand still for a full 2 hours without any rest. A faint memory surfaces of a gray-haired boy asking the blue-haired girl if she is a fish while she is in her mermaid form. The princess stands alone and crestfallen. The eldest princess approaches with a laugh. The black-haired woman gloats, calling Zhao Zhao a wildling and claiming that the imperial father has never been angry with her because she is more important. Zhao Zhao argues back defiantly, stating that harsh deeds are just a demonstration of love, and that the emperor simply doesn't like her eldest sister enough to be angry with her. The eldest princess is visibly shaken by the child's logic, demanding that she stop speaking such nonsense immediately. The elder sister warns Zhao Zhao not to try and steal her father away, while the little girl responds by sticking her tongue out. Zhao Zhao huffs in annoyance, realizing that her eldest imperial sister was the one who intentionally called their father over to the palace. A soft, quick dig sounds as the princess clenches her dress, rationalizing that her father's punishment is only because she is too cute. Clinging to her hope, Zhao Zhao holds a blue orb and remains certain that her father will eventually return to see her. A vision appears within the orb. Later that night, Zhao Zhao wakes up in the dark and cries because her father hasn't come back to visit her and she cannot sleep. The princess groans in physical distress, realizing she was so busy with her etiquette lessons that she forgot how thirsty she was. The tiny girl wanders through the shadowy palace halls in her nightgown, desperately searching for water. She bangs on a large wooden door, pleading for Sister Ling or Granny Li to open it before she collapses from the heat. Sobbing on the floor, the little princess laments that there is nobody to help her and that she doesn't want to become a baked fish. A small hand picks up a marble. Holding the glowing orb, Zhao Zhao wishes to be sent to the large fish pond immediately so she can bathe. The scene shifts to the imperial study where a voice shouts out a harsh insult toward the subjects present. A loud, sudden crash sounds as the emperor overturns a table, ordering his guards to drag several old men out and execute them. Eunuch Lin tentatively suggests that the emperor should visit the little princess, but the father dismisses her matters as none of his business. A servant rushes into the room with a look of pure panic, announcing that something terrible has happened and the little princess has disappeared. The maid Ling Yun bows low, tearfully reporting that the little princess has mysteriously vanished from the locked and heavily walled Fairy Sea Palace. The emperor rages, ordering his men to turn the entire palace upside down to find the 9th princess or face execution themselves. A glowing hand reaches for water. Zhao Zhao lies exhausted on the grass, noting that using her teleportation powers has completely drained her of energy and left her feeling like a limp fish. A young boy with gray hair finds her and looks confused, wondering if the child lying on the ground is actually a pork bun. A quick grab sounds as she reaches. Zhao Zhao begs for water while the gray-haired boy is shocked to realize he is looking at a human and not a piece of food. The boy offers his help, telling her to hang on because he will get her to water very soon. Back in her mermaid form, Zhao Zhao floats happily in the water, relieved to finally be hydrated and comfortable. A soft, quick splash sounds as the girl resurfaces with a joyful smile, no longer feeling thirsty. The boy asks if she is all right, while Zhao Zhao recognizes him as Mo Shiyi, the eldest prince who was kind to her in a past life. Mo Shiyi looks down from the bank and asks the blue-haired girl if she is a fishy. Zhao Zhao huffs that she is a little mermaid, secretly worrying that she might have scared her eldest imperial brother. The gray-haired prince smiles radiantly, expressing that he likes fish and asking if they can be friends. A sudden, firm hug sounds as the emperor picks up the child, vowing not to let those responsible for her disappearance go unpunished. The boy repeats his request with a bright smile, hoping to become friends with the little girl in the water. Zhao Zhao happily agrees to be his friend, her face lighting up with happiness as they talk. The prince explains that his consort mother calls him Little Yi, but he remains confused as Zhao Zhao insists he is right.
The princess sternly corrects him, declaring that he is the eldest imperial brother and his name is Mo Shiyi.
Mo Shiyi looks bewildered, repeating his name and the word fishy to himself. The boy claps his hands with glee, calling her powers fun witchcraft, while Zhao Zhao explains it is actually magic. The little princess looks intensely serious. Floating in the water, Zhao Zhao offers to show Mo Shiyi magic as long as he promises to keep her mermaid form a secret, and the gray-haired boy happily agrees to her terms. A sudden shout from guards searching the nearby bank for the missing ninth princess startles the children, causing Zhao Zhao to panic as she realizes she is about to be discovered. A soft, quick splash sounds as the little mermaid hurriedly crawls toward the grassy bank to hide. Mo Shiyi watches in absolute shock as the girl miraculously transforms from a fish-like creature back into a human child right before his eyes. Exhausted from the exertion, Zhao Zhao lies on the ground complaining of extreme dizziness. A sudden, heavy thud sounds as the princess faints, prompting the gray-haired boy to cry out in worry, while approaching guards recognize the blue-haired child as the missing royal. One of the palace guards orders the other to immediately report to the emperor while the eldest prince holds the unconscious girl. A formal announcement rings out declaring the arrival of the emperor, catching the attention of the startled gray-haired boy. Mo Shiyi begins to greet his imperial father as the black-haired man arrives at the scene. The emperor looms over the group, looking down with a silent, cold expression. A firm, sudden grab sounds as the emperor reaches down. Holding the sleeping child, the emperor furiously demands that the imperial physician be summoned to the Hall of Mental Cultivation immediately. The emperor strides away with Zhao Zhao in his arms, while the gray-haired prince and an attendant watch from the bank. A soft, low whimper sounds as the boy remains behind. The scene shifts to the Grand Hall of Mental Cultivation, where the princess lies resting in a large bed. Looking down at the sleeping girl, the emperor notes that her small hand feels incredibly cold. A sudden, angry rustle sounds as he shoves the covers aside, fuming that she managed to get herself into such a state after being out of his sight for only half a day. Eunuch Lin arrives with Physician Li, who is huffing and gasping for breath after running to the hall.
The white-bearded physician carefully checks the unconscious girl's pulse.
The doctor informs the emperor that the princess isn't actually sick, but has fainted from a combination of malnutrition and dehydration, advising that she will be fine with proper meals and water. Zhao Zhao begins to stir and mumbles for her father, while Eunuch Lin joyfully notes that she is finally awake. Sobbing as she wakes, the princess claims she was bullied by bad people who locked her away without any food or water. A sudden, desperate grab sounds as Zhao Zhao clings to her father, begging him to take revenge on the people who mistreated her. The emperor bluntly reveals that he was the one who ordered her confinement and mocks her for being so useless that she fainted from a little hunger. The little girl wails loudly, calling her imperial father a big baddie for being so mean. The emperor glares with glowing red eyes, visibly offended by the child's insult. He leans in menacingly, daring her to speak another word. A sudden, sharp hiccup sounds as Zhao Zhao recoils in fear from his intense gaze. The princess quickly backtracks and cries that she won't do it again, while the emperor scoffs at her for being a wimpy child who doesn't understand boundaries. The emperor coldly orders his guards to execute the staff of the Fairy Sea Palace, causing Zhao Zhao to gasp in horror at the thought of people being killed. Zhao Zhao pleads with her father to show mercy, arguing that being a wise ruler is better than being spurned by others for his cruelty. The emperor scoffs at her mention of him being a wise ruler. Zhao Zhao wonders how she can possibly handle such a fierce and stubborn father. The princess beckons him closer, asking him to lower his head so she can share a little secret with him. She smiles brightly and whispers that regardless of whether he is a wise ruler, she will always like him. Clinging to him, Zhao Zhao declares that he is her only father and that she likes him more than anyone else. Her expression quickly turns serious as she warns that she will stop liking him if he continues to kill people. The emperor is silenced by her ultimatum, looking completely stunned. He eventually snaps back, claiming he doesn't care for her affection and tells her to stop talking nonsense. The emperor changes his mind and orders the guards to be beaten and enslaved instead of executed, leaving Eunuch Lin shocked that his master spared their lives. The father growls at his servant to leave them immediately unless he wants to lose his own head. Eunuch Lin withdraws while Mo Shiyi is seen peeking tentatively from behind a large pillar in the hallway. The emperor demands to know what the eldest prince is doing at the hall. Mo Shiyi stutters nervously while his father looks on with growing impatience.
The emperor orders the prince to be taken back and forbidden from leaving his quarters again.
Zhao Zhao grabs her brother's hand and defends him, telling her father that he only came to play and shouldn't be sent away. The emperor asks her how she managed to reach the study if she truly never left her walled palace, causing the princess to recoil in shock. Looking away guiltily, Zhao Zhao lies and claims she escaped by climbing a tree and going over the palace wall.
The blue-haired girl nervously changes the subject by offering to demonstrate her tree climbing skills.
A sudden, firm grab sounding as the child is hoisted into the air. The emperor sternly forbids her from climbing again, while the little princess cheekily agrees with his assessment. Mo Shiyi watches the interaction from a distance with a silent, contemplative expression. Zhao Zhao is delighted by the massive dinner spread and enthusiastically praises her father. The emperor dismisses his care as mere medical compliance, while the girl requests some milk. A sudden, sharp realization sounding as the father urgently orders the servant to prepare the drink. The emperor impatiently takes over the task of preparing the milk himself. A sudden, quiet pouring sounding as the black-haired man carefully mixes the drink. He stares at the final product in his hand with a look of extreme suspicion. The emperor rejects the task of future preparations, while the girl privately mocks his lack of skill. A sudden, gentle hug sounding as the princess tightly clutches her new bottle. Zhao Zhao sticks her tongue out in disgust, refusing to drink the poorly made concoction. A sudden, slow sliding sounding as the tired girl moves toward the edge of the bed. The princess wishes her father a good night as she wanders toward another part of the room. A sudden, quick rustle sounding as the emperor notices the girl heading for his own imperial bed. The little girl lies fast asleep.
The father looms over her, annoyed that she has claimed his bed for herself.
A sudden, sharp cough sounding as the emperor clears his throat while the servant nervously defends the child. He begrudgingly allows the girl to stay for the night, much to the servant's surprise. A sudden, quiet swish sounding as Eunuch Lin gratefully takes his leave. The emperor sits alone, looking down at the sleeping princess and muttering about her weakness. He acknowledges the child as his daughter and notes that she doesn't look too bad. A terrifying man in a dream threatens to eat the princess's eyeballs. A sudden, low groan sounding as the sleeping girl whimpers under her father's touch. A sudden, firm hug sounding as she clings to her bottle in her sleep. The princess raises a tiny fist and threatens to hit anyone who takes her things. A sudden, quiet chuckle sounding as the emperor reacts to her sleeping threats. A sudden, quiet whimper sounding as he playfully takes the bottle away from the sleeping child. The girl restlessly kicks and flails about in her sloop. A sudden, quick grab sounding as her hand searches the empty space. Zhao Zhao mumbles for more milk while trapped in her deep slumber. A sudden, firm shove sounding as the emperor puts the bottle back in her arms. A sudden, quick rustle sounding as he pulls the covers over her and criticizes her poor sleeping posture. Eunuch Lin finds the emperor already awake and standing by the door the next morning. A sudden, sharp realization sounding as the father threatens his servant with beatings for asking too many questions. A sudden, heavy stomp sounding as the sleeping girl kicks the emperor in her dreams. The emperor looks completely exhausted, complaining that the child made it impossible to sleep all night. He coldly orders his servant to take the princess back and forbid her from returning. The black-haired girl Qiao reacts with intense shock to the news of the guest. She fuming over the fact that she was never allowed such a privilege and questions the other girl's worth. A sudden, sharp shout sounding as someone calls out to the young princess. A sudden, quiet rustle sounding as an elegant woman enters the room. A calm voice demands that the princess maintain her royal dignity at all times. Empress Wang appears and harshly criticizes Chu Yao for acting like a common woman. A sudden, quiet sigh sounding as the empress settles onto the sofa and warns of the uproar the girl could have caused.
Chu Yao looks visibly terrified at the mention of violence.
A sudden, sharp gaze sounding as the empress's eyes pierce through the air. A sudden, low hush sounding as the room falls into a tense silence.
Chu Yao tries to explain that their father actually dislikes the other girl and that she only went there to annoy him. Chu Yao reassures Empress Wang while the older woman looks on skeptically.
Empress Wang holds the girl's hand and calls her a good child. The empress warns Chu Yao not to forsake her upbringing while the girl promises she understands.
Chu Yao's eyes burn with determination as she vows to win her father's favor and become the greatest in the land.
A sudden, quiet knock sounds as Cao Cao arrives at a door and calls out for her pretty brother to let her in. The blue-haired princess pauses as she notices something moving in the bushes nearby. A sudden, sharp gasp sounds as Zhao Zhao spots a small snake slithering toward her. The little girl panics and cries out for the snake to stay away, insisting she doesn't taste good. A sudden, quiet sob sounds as a black-haired boy in green robes appears and complains about the girl being troublesome.
The boy picks up the snake and orders it to return to its nest and stop scaring people.
A sudden, quiet wow sounds as Zhao Zhao watches the older boy handle the creature with ease.
Jiao Jiao hugs his arm and praises him for being cool, while the boy asks what she is doing there. The princess excitedly shows off the basket of snacks she brought to share.
Zhao Zhao asks him which snack he likes the most while the boy remains silent and unimpressed. The boy teases her by asking if she really wants to know, prompting an enthusiastic response from the girl.
Jiao Jiao suddenly covers her eyes and screams in denial as if anticipating a scary answer.
A sudden, firm grab sounds as the boy catches the little girl's hands in his.
Jiao Jiao looks up at him with teary eyes and asks if he is unwilling to be her friend.
A sudden, quiet sob sounds as the girl's eye wells up with a large tear.
Jiao Jiao runs away in a panic, begging the boy not to dig out her eyes.
A sudden, loud bam sounds as the running girl trips and falls flat on the ground. The princess lies on the floor while the boy laughs at her from the background.
Jiao Jiao gets up and calls him a baddie before vowing never to play with him again, to which he dismissively tells her to leave.
A sudden, quiet huff sounds as the little girl sticks her tongue out and agrees to go.
A sudden, loud bam sounds as Jiao Jiao accidentally runs straight into another person.
Chuyao criticizes her for being careless while privately lamenting the bad luck of bumping into the younger girl.
Chuyao greets the boy as brother Jinglan and offers him soup while secretly insulting Jiao Jiao.
Jinglan smiles and thanks the eldest princess for her capability.
Chuyao suggests they go on a trip tomorrow since the weather will be overcast.
Jinglan declines the offer, citing his status as a lowly hostage and his concern for her health.
Jiao is deeply moved, convinced that Jinglan's rejection is actually a sign of his affection and worry for her.
The princess insists she doesn't care about slander and prepares to confess her feelings.
Chuyao blushes and declares loudly that she likes brother Jinlan.
Jinglan stares at her in stunned silence.
Realizing what she just did, the girl covers her face in extreme embarrassment.
Chuyao makes a hasty exit while dragging Jiao Jiao away, leaving Jinglan staring after them.
The boy scoffs at their stupidity once they are gone.
Jinglan's attention is caught by a sudden, quiet glint on the ground. He notices 3 glowing blue pearls and realizes they are mermaid pearls.
Jinglan kneels to inspect them, wondering if they belong to the merfolk clans.
Elsewhere, Tu Yao accuses Zhao Yao of intentionally going against her to see Jinglan every day.
Jiao Jiao angrily retorts that it was her sister who bullied her and stopped her from playing with her brother. Chuayo blames the girl for the death of her longtime maid, while Jiao Jiao maintains she is a good person who harmed no one.
The eldest princess rages that their father had the maid executed because of Zhao Zhao.
Chu Yao storms off in a huff while the younger princess looks on in confusion. Jiao Jiao worries that her father broke his promise not to kill people recklessly.
At the Hall of Mental Cultivation, the emperor sits silently before a grand feast. Eunuch Lin asks why he isn't eating, while the emperor privately wonders why the imperial kitchen's food tastes worse than the girl's cooking. A sudden, quiet pitter-patter sounds as Zhao Zhao rushes in, and the emperor asks if she came to freeload again. A sudden, quiet huff sounds as the little princess clenches her fist in frustration.
The blue-haired princess stares up with wide eyes and asks if her father has killed anyone in the last 2 days.
The emperor flatly denies the accusation, while Eunuch Lin privately notes that the sovereign is becoming an increasingly poor liar.
A sudden, sharp realization sounding as the little girl asks specifically if he killed Sister Kayer.
The emperor justifies the execution by stating the maid deserved death for framing his daughter, then asks if the girl has an objection.
Jiao Jiao looks down at her blue shoes in stunned silence, realizing her father lied to her.
The little princess breaks into tears and reminds him that he promised not to kill anymore.
Declaring him a bad man, Jiao Jiao vows never to speak to her father again and runs away while he stands by the table.
A sudden, heavy thunk sounding as a dagger strikes the wall, prompting the emperor to catch the girl while she cries for a hug. A central banner features the black-haired emperor seated with the blue-haired mermaid princess and the black-haired boy Jinglan.
The little girl continues her angry flight from the room as the frustrated father looks on.
The emperor furiously orders his servant to retrieve the girl immediately so he can personally deal with her.
A sudden, low groan sounding as the emperor massages his forehead in irritation, while the servant remains motionless nearby. The father suddenly calls for a halt, making the old servant wonder if he has finally changed his mind about the punishment.
The emperor coldly instructs the servant to ensure the imperial kitchen provides no food to the child starting immediately.
He mutters angrily to himself about the girl's audacity in taking advantage of his goodwill.
Back at the Fairy Sea Palace, the little girl lies crying in her bed while calling her father a bad person. A sudden, gentle pat-pat sounding as a hand reaches out to comfort the sobbing princess. Sister Ling smiles warmly and tells the little princess that she is always available to listen to her troubles. Zhao Zhao rages about her father's lies and declares that she will never believe a word he says again. Sister Ling holds the girl's hand and explains that the emperor suffered from a severe lack of affection during his own childhood. A flashback reveals the former emperor physically and verbally abusing his son, calling him a useless humiliation to the family. The narrative explains that the emperor's cruelty was a result of his desperate vow to obtain the throne and his father's acknowledgement. Sister Ling notes that it was only after the little princess appeared that the emperor smiled for the very first time. The maid reassures the girl that the emperor truly loves her despite his harsh exterior. Zhao Zhao begins to feel deep remorse for her angry words, realizing how alone her father must truly feel. Back at the Hall of Mental Cultivation, the emperor stands over prisoners and orders them to be brought forward for execution. A sudden, firm grip sounding as the emperor seizes a man by the throat while the victim begs for mercy. Zhao Zhao suddenly intervenes and warns her father that he will go to hell if he continues to kill people. A sudden, quiet whimper sounding as the girl warns him that she will stop liking him if he kills again. The emperor tosses the man aside and orders everyone to leave the room immediately. A sudden, quiet click sounding as the door closes, leaving the emperor standing alone in the empty hall. The father mutters to himself in confusion, wondering why he cannot stop thinking about his daughter. A sudden, quick rustle sounding as the emperor senses a hidden presence and notes that his daughter's mother makes her unworthy of care. The black-haired man demands that whoever is hiding show themselves as he throws a project toward the screen. A sudden, heavy thunk sounding as a dagger pins itself into the wood just above the little girl's head. Terrified by the near miss, the little girl clings to her father and begs him for a protective hug. The emperor looks startled and asks what the child is doing in the hall so late at night. Zhao Zhao explains that she was hungry and simply wanted to eat with him while they talked. Looking up at him with wide blue eyes, the princess admits that she simply missed her father. A sudden, slow, softening sounding as the man's cold expression begins to fade while he looks down at her. He tells the girl that missing him is none of his business and sets rules for her future visits. A sudden, firm grab sounding as the princess takes hold of his sleeve and apologizes for her past behavior. Zhao Zhao realizes that her father's heartless nature is only because no one ever showed him true care. The little princess hugs him tightly and promises to care for him and provide him with warmth in the future. Zhao Zhao runs away giggling, teasing her father about being embarrassed and wanting to silence her as a witness. The emperor reflects on the fact that no one has ever told him if his actions were right or cared for his well-being before. A sudden, gentle hug sounding as the father agrees to her request and holds her close. Zhao Zhao demands that he stop killing recklessly except for bad people, while the emperor asks what reward he will receive. The little girl taps her chin thoughtfully as she tries to think of a benefit worthy of his promise. Zhao Zhao presents a glowing blue pearl and tells her father that she is giving him her little heart. The emperor holds up the glowing blue pearl with a skeptical expression and asks why he would want such a thing, or if she truly believes she can bribe him with it. A sudden, quiet huff sounds as Zhao Zhao declares she won't give him the pearl then, but the man quickly tells her to wait. The emperor decides he will take the pearl after all, but notes that the current benefits she is offering are not enough to satisfy him. The little princess giggles and asks her father to come closer while he looks at her with a questioning expression. A sudden, soft chew sounds as Zhao Zhao leans in and plants a sweet kiss right on her father's cheek. Looking incredibly pleased with herself, the little girl looks up and happily declares that she likes her father the most. The emperor closes his eyes with a small, satisfied smirk as he privately admits to himself that he is indeed the most important person in the child's heart. The father instructs Eunuch Lin to escort the girl back to the Fairy Sea Palace since it is late, then begins to warn her about the consequences of future disobedience. A sudden rhythmic snore sounds as the emperor realizes with shock that the little girl has fallen fast asleep right in his arms. With a resigned sigh and a faint, genuine smile, the man decides to let her stay while he holds her small form protectively.
Zhao Zhao wakes up in a massive, ornate bed the next morning and realizes with a start that she actually spent the night in her father's sleeping chambers. A sudden, quiet pitter-patter sounds as the little girl approaches her father and asks why he didn't attend the morning court session today.
The emperor claims several officials were sick, so he canceled court, prompting eunuch Lin to privately marvel at how shamelessly his master can lie to a child. Ignoring the politics, Zhao Zhao looks up at him with wide eyes and mentions that she is hungry and wants to eat breakfast.
The emperor looks toward his servant and asks why he hasn't gone to prepare the meal yet, causing the old man to hurry off immediately.
The little princess is delighted as a feast of congee, water chestnut cake, and soup is laid out before her.
Zhao Zhao asks her father why he isn't eating before reminding him that her mother always said health is wealth and one must never be lax with breakfast. The emperor looks at her with a sharp, questioning gaze and asks if her mother was the one who taught her such things.
The girl happily lists her mother's many skills, including scolding and hitting her father, while eunuch Lin begs her not to say such reckless things.
A heavy silence falls as the emperor covers his mouth, while Zhao Zhao innocently asks if he is currently feeling angry.
A sudden, quiet hee-hee sounds as the princess teases him by asking if he feels embarrassed about being beaten by her mother.
The emperor calls out the girl's full name, Mo Zhao Zhao, and sternly tells her to shut her mouth before he loses his patience.
Zhao Zhao runs away giggling and teases her father about being angry from embarrassment and wanting to silence her as a witness.
Elsewhere in the palace, a black-haired girl hums to herself while celebrating the fact that she finished her homework early and anticipates a compliment from her father.
The girl suddenly stops as she hears the sound of Zhao Zhao's laughter and wonders what the noise is. Peeking around a corner, she looks completely stunned by the sight greeting her in the hall.
Chu Yao watches in disbelief as the emperor tells Zhao Zhao to sit and finish her meal, while the elder sister privately refers to the girl as a little wildling.
The elder princess is shaken, noting that her father has never smiled at others or shared a meal with anyone before this moment. Looking distressed, she wonders if her father truly treats her differently than he treats the younger princess. A preview of the next chapter shows a sudden, firm grab as a different, tearful girl begs for help because her mother will die in the cold palace. A sudden, deep breath sounds as Chu Yao tries to compose herself before stepping out into the room. The elder princess enters the room and pays her respects to her father while he asks her why she has come. Chu Yao explains that she has come to hand in the work she's done over the last few days, and the emperor agrees to take a look at it. While Zhao Zhao eats her bun with pure joy, the elder sister watches her with hidden malice and hopes the younger girl becomes obese. The emperor hands the book back and tells the girl that her work is good and she should keep at it, making her beam with pride.
Chu Yao smiles triumphantly to herself, certain that Zhao Zhao must be incredibly jealous of the praise she just received.
A sudden, loud burp sounds as Zhao Zhao interrupts the moment, leaving both her sister and father staring at her in shock. The little princess holds up her last bun and looks at it thoughtfully while everyone remains silent. Zhao Zhao holds the bun out to her father and asks if he can help her finish it, because her mother taught her never to waste food. The emperor looks disgusted and loudly declares that he does not eat leftovers, ordering the girl to get away from him. Chu Yao watches with inward glee, thinking that it is only right for their father to rebuke the girl for her lack of manners. A sudden, quiet sob sounds as Zhao Zhao begins to cry, claiming her father is fierce and that she will run away because he cares for another child more. The emperor stares at the sobbing girl with a look of pure irritation and speechlessness. A sudden, quick snatch sounds as the emperor grabs the bun and tells the girl to shut up before he throws her to the wolves. A sudden, quiet hee-hee sounds as the princess watches her father eat the bun and tells him he is indeed the best. Qiao is horrified, wondering how their father could eat the bun after the younger girl touched it with her supposedly dirty hands despite his mysophobia. The elder sister's face darkens with resentment as she wonders why the little wildling is able to get everything that she is denied. Eunuch Lin approaches and whispers to the emperor, who looks up with a serious expression. The man rises from the table and tells Zhao Zhao that he must go to morning court now, instructing her to return to her own palace without causing trouble. Zhao Zhao gives a happy salute while the emperor tells Tu Yao to take good care of her younger sister, to which the elder princess obediently agrees. Tuao sternly reminds Zhao Zhao that their father considers her troublesome and expects her to stay out of trouble. Zhao Zhao giggles and teases her sister about being jealous of her relationship with their father, much to Chu Yao's annoyance. The elder princess grows furious, telling the girl she has only been back a few days and should stop being so boastful. Unfazed, the little princess declares that Chu Yao is simply jealous of her cuteness before landing gracefully on the floor.
Zhao Zhao runs off with a playful farewell, leaving her elder sister shouting that they were ordered to stay together.
Elsewhere, a tearful boy named Little Yi begs Imperial Physician Li to help his mother, even if it means he must suffer. The physician explains that he cannot help because the cold palace is forbidden ground and his life would be in danger. A sudden, firm grab sounding as the old man tries to pull the kneeling boy to his feet while the prince continues to plead for his mother. Zhao Zhao suddenly appears and curiously asks what her eldest imperial brother and the physician are discussing. A sudden, firm grab sounding as Zhao Zhao takes the prince's hand and learns that his mother is dying in the cold palace where no one will go.
Chu Yao catches up and tries to pull Zhao Zhao away, insisting that she should not get involved with those the emperor hates.
The elder sister warns Zhao Zhao that associating with the prince will only make their father hate her as well. Zhao Zhao looks down at her clenched fist, appearing deep in thought as she listens to her sister's warnings. The little princess firmly declares that she cannot ignore someone in danger and is determined to save Consort Ru.
Zhao Zhao boldly tells the physician that the emperor has agreed to let him treat the prince's mother, though a caption notes it is a fake decree.
The physician and prince are overjoyed, while Chu Yao watches from a distance, baffled by Zhao Zhao's desire to help. The elder princess watches with suspicion as the group prepares to head toward the cold palace. The boy leads the way into a room, excitedly telling his mother that he has brought help. Zhao Zhao is shocked by the poor condition of the cold palace, noting that it is far worse than where her pretty brother lives. The little princess peeks cautiously around a screen into the inner chamber of the palace. She is struck by the beauty of the sick woman who coughs weakly as the young prince clings to her side. The boy introduces Zhao Zhao to his mother as his new friend, while the princess watches them with a soft expression. Consort Ru looks toward the visitor with a weary but kind gaze. The sick woman studies Zhao Zhao's face, her expression one of quiet observation. The boy introduces her as his friend Fishy, while Zhao Zhao is visibly startled by the odd nickname he has given her. Zhao Zhao introduces herself politely, mentioning that she is 3.5 years old. The consort wonders who the girl's mother is, but Zhao Zhao admits she doesn't know her mother's official title. The little girl tells the sick woman that she is very pretty, just like her own mother, which earns her a kind smile. A sudden, loud cough sounding as Consort Ru's condition worsens, causing the young prince to cry out in alarm. Physician Li informs the children that the illness is serious and asks them to step aside so he can check her pulse. An hour later, the physician gestures for silence as he steps out and informs the prince that his mother has fallen asleep. A sudden, quiet cough sounding as the boy muffles his voice while Zhao Zhao asks the doctor about the nature of the illness. The physician reveals it is tuberculosis and mentions a rare herb that could cure her, but notes that a guilty person is forbidden from using it. A sudden, loud sob sounding as the prince breaks down in tears, fearing his mother will die without the medicine. Zhao Zhao comforts the crying boy, promising him that Consort Ru will recover because she will plead with their father. She assures him that the emperor is actually a good person at heart, even as a small panel shows the man sneezing elsewhere. The boy looks hopeful and asks if she truly thinks their father can save his mother, which she confirms with a confident thump on her chest. Excitedly, the prince lifts Zhao Zhao into the air, calling her his good friend and startling her with the sudden movement. A sudden, loud cheer sounding as the boy carries the princess away to play, leaving the physician impressed by the girl's influence. The prince brings Zhao Zhao into a sparsely furnished room and identifies it as his sleeping chamber. He offers to show her his treasures, but Zhao Zhao is saddened by how empty and cold the room feels. The little girl notices that the room is covered in small pieces of paper and wonders why they are stuck everywhere.
The boy admits he is dumb and writes notes for himself because he is afraid of forgetting things.
Looking dejected, the prince confesses that neither their father nor their other brothers like him or want to play with him. Zhao Zhao quickly reassures him that she likes him the most and compliments his intelligence, making him feel better. The boy is genuinely touched, asking if she truly likes him. He presents her with a box, telling her that he made little animals and wants her to have them all. Zhao Zhao is delighted by the intricate carvings and suggests he show them to their father, believing the emperor would be happy. The prince sadly explains that their father doesn't want them, and Zhao Zhao realizes the boy has been secretly watching the emperor from afar. A sudden, quiet drop sounding as Zhao Zhao watches the pearl fall and decides her father must know about her brother's handiwork. The princess waves goodbye to her brother, explaining that she has urgent matters to handle and must leave first. Little Yi picks up the pretty blue pearl Zhao Zhao left behind, wondering about its beauty. In the Supreme Harmony Hall, ministers beg the emperor to reconsider his plans for war, offering their family fortunes for disaster relief instead. Looking deeply irritated, the emperor challenges his subjects to repeat their words while looking him directly in the eye. The man grows furious and threatens to kill everyone present if they don't bring him his sword, prompting the officials to beg for mercy. A sudden, heavy thump sounding as a falling pearl interrupts the emperor's rage, leaving him confused. The emperor looks at the blue pearl in his hand, realizing it was a gift given to him by the boy he considers wimpy.
Zhao Zhao appears with a bright smile and playfully asks her father not to kill anyone today. The man sighs to himself, privately labeling the little girl as a troublemaker, despite her cute appearance.
Abruptly, the emperor dismisses the court and cancels the military campaign, much to the surprise of his subjects. A sudden loud crack sounding as the officials are left in total shock by the emperor's unexpected decision.
Elsewhere, a brown-haired boy mocks Zhao Zhao by calling her a fat little piggy while her brother watches in alarm.
The newcomer identifies himself as Mo Jingxuan, the third prince, and demands to know the little girl's name. Back inside the palace, the emperor sits in quiet contemplation while holding the blue pearl. A sudden, quick pitter-patter sounding as the emperor notices the sound of small footsteps approaching him. Zhao Zhao waves happily as she runs toward her father, eager for his attention.
The little girl asks if her father missed her, but the man bluntly denies it while she hugs his side.
Zhao Zhao begins to sob at the rejection, while her father looks on with a complicated expression. A sudden, firm pickup sounding as the emperor lifts the crying girl and tells her to stop. The man asks if she has come to cause more trouble, but Zhao Zhao quickly denies it. Beaming with pride, the princess explains that she has come to give her father a special present. The emperor is impressed by the carved animal, believing his daughter is truly superior to others for making it. Zhao Zhao hesitates, preparing to explain the true origin of the gift. The girl admits the carvings are actually from her eldest brother, who makes them for the emperor every year on his birthday. Zhao Zhao reveals her true motive is to ask her father to save the sick consort Ru by providing special medicine. The emperor asks who the woman is, and eunuch Lin explains she is the mother of the eldest prince living in the Cold Palace. Infuriated, the man accuses the girl of manipulating him with fake sweet talk and orders her to leave immediately. A sudden, tight pull sounding as the little princess grabs her father's robes to keep him from leaving. Desperate, Zhao Zhao pleads with her father, insisting that saving consort Ru is her only request. The girl promises that she will love her father even more if he agrees to help the woman in the Cold Palace. The emperor scoffs at the mention of love, appearing completely unmoved by her offer. The man declares he has no interest in her love and demands she leave his sight forever. With a stern gesture, the emperor orders the little girl to get out.
Zhao Zhao is devastated, tearfully repeating her father's harsh words about never wanting to see her again.
The princess remembers her past life, where her father's stubbornness led to rebellion and the downfall of the state. Overcome with grief, the girl sobs and expresses how deeply sad she has become. Panicked by her intense crying, the emperor tells her to stop and claims he won't be swayed by her tears. A sudden, quiet tsk sounding as the man's resolve finally begins to weaken. A sudden, warm hug sounding as the emperor tells the girl to stop crying while she clings to his robes. The man gives in and agrees to save the consort, making Zhao Zhao look up with hopeful eyes. The emperor orders his servants to instruct physician Li to use whatever medicine is needed to heal the sick woman. A sudden soft rub sounding as Zhao Zhao nuzzles her father's face and thanks him for being the best. The man smiles warmly at his daughter, though he still privately thinks the eldest prince deserves a beating. The following day, the princess returns to the Cold Palace to visit her brother. A sudden loud thud sounding as the girl bursts through the door and accidentally trips. Zhao Zhao pauses as she sees her brother practicing a formal greeting, wondering what he is doing. A sudden quick clap sounding as the girl praises her brother's practice while he calls out her nickname. The boy feels like a fool, confessing that he always becomes too nervous to follow formalities when he sees their father. Little Yi fears their father hates him for his clumsiness, but Zhao Zhao quickly tries to comfort him. Zhao Zhao encourages her brother, telling him that her mother taught her that how others think is their own business, and they only need to do their best. A sudden, low grrr sounding as Zhao Zhao suggests he should just imagine their father as a little black rabbit wearing a tiger skin to stop being afraid. The little girl winks and points upward with a confident, cheerful expression. The boy looks at her in surprise, repeating the silly idea of a little black rabbit in his head. Beaming with joy, the prince claps his hands and declares that he likes the idea of the little black rabbit because it isn't scary.
A boy with brown hair and a smug expression watches them from a distance, demanding to know the name of the girl he hasn't seen before. A title illustration shows the emperor sitting regally with the eldest prince and Zhao Zhao, who is depicted as a happy little mermaid. Sitting high on a rooftop, the brown-haired boy mocks the pair below, calling them dumb and demanding they say something. Frightened, the eldest prince grabs Zhao Zhao's hand and tells her to run, leaving the confused girl wondering where they are going. A sudden, heavy fall, sounding as someone trips and lands hard on the stone path. The brown-haired prince asks his attendant, Mu Yi, about the girl, and the servant identifies her as the new little princess. Looking thoughtful and mischievous, the third prince decides that his new imperial sister is actually quite interesting. A sudden, tired huff sounding as the two children crouch on the ground, struggling to catch their breath after running away. Zhao Zhao looks back in confusion, asking her brother who that person was and why they had to run away. Looking terrified, the boy explains that the person was their third imperial brother, who is very bad and even bites. Zhao Zhao is struck by a terrifying memory of her past life, where the third prince threatened to dig out her heart after she accidentally entered his chambers. The boy warns her that their 4 younger imperial brothers aren't human and tells her she must never play with them. Zhao Zhao agrees, but secretly thinks that if she stays friends with her pretty brother, she can stop the others from revolting in this life. At the princess's palace, a maid's shadow appears at the door as she calls out that it is time for dinner. Entering the room, the maid is surprised to find the chamber completely empty and deserted. The emperor arrives suddenly, frightening the maid, who immediately bows and greets his majesty. Looking irritated, the man demands to know where the little troublemaker is, and the nervous maid admits she was just about to look for her. The emperor narrows his eyes in frustration, wondering if his daughter has managed to get herself into trouble again. Furious, the man issues an imperial decree that the 9th princess must be found before the sun goes down. Under the light of a crescent moon, a voice praises the little princess for her awesome work. Zhao Zhao holds a calligraphy brush and proudly shows off her work, asking her brother if he thinks it looks nice. A sudden, happy hee-hee sounding as a small hand points to a scroll featuring a simple, smiling stick figure drawing of their father. The boy feels dejected about his own skills, but Zhao Zhao promises to teach him until he can draw just as well as she can. Looking toward the window, the little girl is startled to realize that it has already become dark outside. Zhao Zhao waves goodbye, promising to return to the Cold Palace tomorrow, while her brother waves back cheerfully. A sudden, quiet, sneakily sounding as the princess tries to creep back into the Fairy Sea Palace without being seen. Peeking around a door, the girl whispers to herself that it seems like no one is around to catch her. Zhao Zhao breathes a sigh of relief, glad she wasn't caught by the maid, but is shocked when a voice from the shadows asks if she has returned. The emperor looms over her with a dark expression, asking if she had a fun time playing all day. Nervous, the girl claimed she spent the day memorizing classics and learning to draw, though she can tell her father is unhappy. She excitedly offers to show him her drawing, but the emperor flatly calls her a liar before she can even unroll it. Looking stern and grave, the man demands that she tell him the truth about where she really went. Zhao Zhao finally admits that she went to play with her eldest brother and simply lost track of the time. The emperor is enraged that she visited the fool in the Cold Palace after he spent the entire day worrying about her safety. The little princess clings to his robe, apologizing and begging him not to be angry while trying to present her drawing as a gift. The man says her full name, Mo Zhao Zhao, in a cold tone, and she responds with a small, hopeful voice. He scolds her for being dishonest and tells her she is just like her mother, constantly pushing her luck. Taking his words literally, the little girl shouts an objection, claiming she didn't use a ruler to draw anything. The emperor scoffs and turns his back on her, prompting the girl to cry out and ask him to wait. A sudden, desperate stretch sounding as Zhao Zhao holds out the scroll, pleading with her father to accept her gift. A sudden, loud bam sounding as the emperor violently knocks the scroll out of her hands, sending it tumbling to the floor. Looking down at her with cold, unforgiving eyes, the man tells her never to touch him again. Zhao Zhao is frozen in shock, her eyes filling with tears as she whispers a soft plea for her father. The emperor stands tall and distant, leaving the devastated girl standing alone over her discarded drawing. The man with long black hair scoffs. The blue-haired princess grabs her father's robes as he walks away. Zhao Zhao's eyes fill with tears as a sudden, pained sob sounding escapes her. Wailing loudly, the little girl says she will go find her mother because her father clearly dislikes her.
Eunuch Lin explains that the emperor was only angry because he worried about her all day, then offers to help persuade him to forgive her. Sitting in the Hall of Mental Cultivation, the emperor reflects on how ungrateful his daughter is, before irritably deciding to stop caring about her altogether. A servant announces that the eldest princess has requested a meeting, catching the man's attention. A black-haired girl enters to greet her imperial father, secretly relieved to see that Jiao Jiao isn't there, and explains she brought herbal soup and her recent homework for review. Looking back at his book, the emperor coldly tells the princess to set the items down. The girl asks if someone at court has angered her father again, but he bluntly tells her it is none of her business. The man tells her to leave if she has nothing else, prompting her to call out to him in distress. Looking hurt, the girl recalls how they used to speak freely and expresses her confusion over his sudden cold attitude toward her. The princess reminds him of his promise to teach her to draw and asks if he can find time to visit her palace the next day. As the girl offers to dedicate a drawing to him, the emperor is haunted by the memory of Jiao Jiao trying to give him her own painting. The man agrees to visit if he has free time, and the girl politely excuses herself after wishing him well. While the eldest princess leaves with a smile, the emperor covers his face in frustration, wondering why he can't stop thinking about the little troublemaker. When Eunuch Lin tries to present the discarded drawing, the emperor loses his temper and orders him to get out. As the servant turns to leave, the man suddenly changes his mind and demands that the scroll be brought to him. Unrolling the scroll, the emperor privately scoffs at how ugly the drawing is. This simple drawing of a stick figure emperor is accompanied by a message wishing for his happiness every day. A sudden, warm, softened sounding occurs as the man looks at the drawing with a gentle smile. At the fairy sea palace, a soft, pained sounding escapes Jiao Jiao as she tosses and turns in her sleep. Panicked, the emperor demands that the doctor check if the girl is feverish, while Eunuch Lin tries to calm him down. The servant reports that the princess only had a nightmare, just as she mumbles a sleepy plea for her father. Tightly gripping the bedsheets, the girl begs her father not to abandon her and insists that her eldest brother loves him very much. Jiao Jiao continues to mumble in her sleep, saying she only wants her father to be happy and to have someone by his side. Looking down at the sleeping child, the man realizes she is only 3 years old and feels a deep regret for losing his patience with her. The emperor gently strokes the girl's hair, whispering for her not to be afraid and promising to stay with her. Awakening to the bright morning light, Jiao Jiao is startled to realize that it is already daytime. The little princess looks around with a bewildered expression. Spotting her father sleeping beside her, the girl wonders if she is still dreaming while admiring how handsome he looks. A sudden, wet feeling sounding makes Jiao Jiao realize she has drooled on her father's robe, and she panics at the thought of his anger. The girl freezes as the emperor wakes up and asks what she is doing. A sudden, sharp eek sounding escapes the girl as she flinches from her father's reaching hands. The princess peers out from behind her sheets with wide, cautious eyes. The emperor gently pats her head, retracting his previous harsh words and asking for a chance to be a better father.
Jiao Jiao stares at him in stunned silence.
The girl checks her father's forehead to see if he is sick, while the man feels a twinge of irritation at being called wimpy. Beaming, Jiao Jiao tells her father not to be angry anymore and promises that she forgives him. The girl asks why he hates her mother, explaining that she often sees her mother crying at night because she misses him. The emperor recalls a vision of the woman laughing with other men and assumes she is an ungrateful person who is likely thinking of someone else. The man tells his daughter that the matter is between him and her mother and promises to treat the two of them as separate people from now on. Looking stern, the emperor privately vows to torment the girl's mother if they ever meet again. At breakfast, Eunuch Lin offers to feed the little princess, but Jiao Jiao happily declares she is about to start eating. A sudden, freezing chill sounding fills the room as the servant senses a change in the atmosphere. The emperor fixes his servant with a terrifying glare. The man takes the bowl and declares he will feed the girl himself, leaving the old servant in a state of utter shock. A single small spoonful of rice is held out for the girl. Jiao Jiao cries out that the food is too hot, while Eunuch Lin silently notes that the emperor should have blown on it first to cool it down. A sudden, dry cough sounding escapes the black-haired emperor as he asks his daughter if she was the one who drew the picture. Jiao Jiao confirms it, explaining that she helped her talented eldest brother complete the drawing together. The man scoffs at the poor quality of the art, while his daughter focuses entirely on her meal. The emperor announces that he has ordered the ministry to prepare a banquet in her honor in 2 days. The blue-haired princess's eyes widen as she wonders if this celebration will include a lot of food. Holding the girl close, the man declares his intent to show the whole world that she is his daughter. Zhao Zhao asks if she is allowed to invite her eldest brother to join them for playtime. Her father grants permission for her to bring other brothers provided she stays out of trouble, sparking a joyful cheer. A masked servant informs a black-haired boy that the emperor is throwing a banquet for the princess. Yang Jinglan is surprised the emperor is doing so much for the girl he previously worried might be bullied. A sudden, quick swoosh sounding occurs as the boy retracts his hand when Zhao Zhao arrives to see him. The princess climbs up to see her friend, claiming she returned simply because she missed him. A sudden, rhythmic pitter-patter sounding of footsteps precedes Zhao Zhao inviting her friend to the upcoming banquet. The little girl excitedly describes all the delicious food that will be served at the party. She explains that since they are friends, they should share a meal together. Looking serious, the black-haired boy places a hand on the girl's head and tells her to listen well. He reveals that the emperor is his enemy who took him hostage, making Zhao Zhao the daughter of his foe. The little princess is shocked and confused by his harsh words. The boy threatens to harm her eyes if she doesn't start crying immediately. A sudden, loud wail sounding as Zhao Zhao bursts into tears. Noticing her tears have turned into pearls, the boy comments that she really is a little mermaid. He smirks, noting that her secret identity has finally been exposed. Terrified, the girl realizes she accidentally revealed the truth her mother told her to keep hidden. Yan Jinglan taunts her as she hides her face, fearing her friend is a monster who will eat her. A sudden, frantic charge sounding as the princess runs away as fast as she can. A sudden quiet appears sounding as the shadow guard returns to ask about the banquet plans after the girl flees. Furious, the boy refuses to go and yells at his servant for appearing again. On the day of the banquet, the subjects gather at the palace to offer their well wishes to the emperor. The emperor looks out over the assembly and invites his subjects to take their seats. The gathered crowd responds with gratitude to His Majesty. Watching the princess enter, a woman wonders what she did to gain so much of the emperor's favor. Zhao Zhao is officially introduced to the court and feels overwhelmed by the massive crowd of people. The blue-haired princess introduces herself and her age to the gathered guests with a polite wave. A sudden collective shock sounding as the crowd is overwhelmed by the little girl's cuteness. The emperor calls for his daughter to come sit beside him, and she agrees with a nervous voice. A sudden, heavy bam sounding as the girl trips and falls flat on her face while running. Reaching up for a hug with watery eyes, she asks her father for comfort after her tumble. The emperor embraces her, causing the court ladies to marvel at how kindly he treats his daughter. The man orders specific treats to be served, and the girl happily starts snacking. Looking toward the pillars, Zhao Zhao spots her eldest brother trying to hide from the crowd. The boy recites his lessons quietly while the princess calls out that she has found him. Zhao Zhao asks why he is hiding, while the boy explains he is practicing his recitations. The boy admits he's afraid of angering their father, but the girl encourages him to show his progress. The princess drags her brother forward to pay his respects, though the emperor initially dismisses him. Offering a formal greeting, the boy wishes his father health and prosperity for the state. The black-haired boy bows deeply to his imperial father. A sudden, quiet, stunned sounding as the emperor realizes the boy is speaking with unexpected clarity. Interested, the emperor asks what the boy has been studying recently. The boy lists the classic texts he has mastered and is told to recite them aloud. The court is amazed as the prince recites his lessons perfectly without a single stammer. The black-haired boy stammers as he recites, while Zhao Zhao wonders why her eldest imperial brother is reciting the little tricks she taught him. Correcting himself, the prince explains that if there is no teaching, nature will deteriorate, and that the right way to teach is with thoroughness. The emperor is impressed by the boy's massive improvement and credits his daughter for the positive change. Pleased with his progress, the man tells the prince that he has done well and will arrange for an imperial tutor to begin his lessons the next day. The prince stammers out his thanks to his imperial father, while Zhao Zhao beams and cheers that her papa is the best. A sudden, rhythmic pitter-patter sounding of footsteps occurs as the girl runs to the emperor's side and clings to his robe, declaring her love for him. The man gazes at his daughter, noting her beautiful features, and privately deciding that she truly is worthy of being his child. The emperor issues a formal decree conferring the title of Delicate on Mo Zhao Zhao and officially acknowledging her as his state's 9th princess. Sneakily making her way away from the festivities, the blue-haired girl carries a large snack in both hands. Looking over her shoulder, the girl feels relieved that she has seemingly managed to escape the banquet without being noticed. Surrounded by consorts pinching her cheeks and calling her cute, the girl feels as if she is being suffocated by their attention. Celebrating her hard-won freedom, the girl prepares to enjoy her meal in peace.
A reddish-brown-haired boy smirks as he calls the girl a little fatty and asks her where she thinks she is going.
Confused by her third imperial brother's sudden appearance, Zhao Zhao explains that she is returning to her palace and asks why he is outside. Crouching down to her level, the prince comments on how delicious her pig trotter snack smells. When the boy asks for a taste, Zhao Zhao refuses and insists that the food was a gift from her father. A sudden, sharp snatch is sounding as the boy takes the food for himself, leaving the girl to sob and beg for its return. The third prince looks back with a smug expression. Yan Jinglan arrives and questions if it is appropriate to bully his sister, while Zhao Zhao calls out to her pretty brother with relief. The third prince asks if the boy has a hidden motive for meddling, while Yan Jinglan faces him with a severe frown. Looking stern, the black-haired boy in green tells the prince that it is none of his business and orders him to return what belongs to the girl. Laughing at his fierce tone, the third prince mocks the boy and suggests that he has hit a nail on the head. Calling the interaction boring, the prince walks away as Zhao Zhao cries out for the loss of her delicious snack. Zhao Zhao asks what the two of them were talking about, but Yan Jinglan simply tells her to follow him. Outside, the girl asks why he brought her there and wonders if he defended her because he actually likes her. Yan Jinglan privately wonders how the bastard emperor could have such a stupid daughter, while the girl smiles up at him. The boy claims he was only acting because he hates bullies, but Zhao Zhao privately thinks he is being insincere again. Looking at him with large, sincere eyes, the princess tells her friend that she has already forgiven him for his past actions. The girl admits she didn't consider his feelings when inviting him to the banquet and says it is okay if he chooses not to go. Yang Jinglan stares at her with a stunned expression. Zhao Zhao offers the boy her snack, explaining that it was given to her by her imperial father and she wants him to have it. The boy asks if she still has her mermaid pearls, causing the princess to look up at him with a puzzled expression. Beaming with pride, the little girl confirms his question with a happy nod. A sudden quick picks-up occurs as the boy lifts the girl into the air. The boy holds the girl over the water and prepares to drop her. The scene shifts as light reflects off the rippling water. A close-up focus on the boy's intense purple-tinted eye. Floating in the water with her tail visible, the girl remarks on how beautiful the pond looks from below. Zhao Zhao asks the boy to help her keep her secret, and he asks how she plans to bribe him for his silence. The girl asks the boy to lean a bit closer toward her. A sudden, soft chew sounding as the little princess plants a kiss on the boy's cheek. Zhao Zhao offers a second kiss if one wasn't enough and begs the boy not to tell anyone what he has seen. A sudden, firm grip sounding as the boy takes the girl's wrist. Looking fierce, Yan Jinglan demands to know who else knows her secret, while Zhao Zhao realizes her kisses are not as effective on him as they are on her papa. Terrified, the girl swears that no one else knows, fearing that the boy will be mean to her eldest brother if he finds out. A sudden, quiet hug sounding as the boy pulls her close and calls her a good girl. Smirking, the boy declares that from today onwards, he is the only one who can know her secret. At the Phoenix Gift Palace, a woman in red robes complains that the 9th princess has already won over the emperor in less than a month. Addressing the girl as Chuao, the woman claims she is considering things on her behalf while the princess looks on sadly. The woman warns her daughter that if she gives way, others will trample her, and she declares that the 9th princess cannot be left to live. Looking determined, the black-haired girl decides she cannot afford to be soft-hearted toward her rival. A sudden, rhythmic, hurried sounding of footsteps occurs as the prince rushes around his room to pack his things. Holding a radish from behind a wall, the blue-haired girl challenges her eldest brother to guess her identity. The boy immediately identifies his sister as Fishy, and she cheers at his successful guess. Looking stressed, the prince asks what his sister is planning to do. The little girl asks if he is busy arranging his books, though she stumbles over her words in a way that sounds like she is calling him uncle. Mo Yi happily informs his mother that he will begin his studies at the academy starting today. Consort Ru looks concerned as she wonders if attending the academy will ultimately be a good thing for her son. The woman carries a tray filled with warm buns and soup to share with the children.
Zhao Zhao promises to escort her brother to class and vows that she will never let anyone bully him again.
The prince suggests they head to the academy together after finishing their lunch, while his mother smiles at how adorable they are. Walking through the gardens, the eldest princess feels confident that her early homework will earn her praise from both her tutor and her father. Hearing a familiar voice singing nearby, the girl realizes that the 9th princess is nearby once again. The eldest sister shouts at the singer to stop, while Zhao Zhao gasps in fear at her sudden appearance. Telling her brother that the academy is straight ahead, the girl quickly slips away as her sister orders her to stop. The eldest princess demands to know why the girl is running, while Zhao Zhao retorts that she doesn't want to stay and be bullied. Panting for breath, the older girl admits she can't run any further as the little princess looks back. Gloating about her popularity, Zhao Zhao claims her sister is just jealous because everyone likes her and she is too slow to catch up. A sudden, sharp caught sounding occurs as the eldest princess snatches the girl by the arm and laughs at her failed escape. A sudden, loud help sounding as the little girl is dragged away across the palace grounds. Reaching the remote back mountain, Zhao Zhao begs her sister to let her go. The older girl threatens to leave her sister alone in the cold mountain night to teach her a lesson about arrogance. Looking up defiantly, the little girl calls her eldest imperial sister a baddie. A sudden, sharp bite sounding as the princess clamps her teeth down on her sister's hand, causing a cry of pain. Furious, the eldest princess orders her to let go and threatens to beat her up. A sudden, quick step sounding as the little girl backs away and loses her footing on the grassy slope. Noticing the danger, the older girl shouts a warning for her sister to watch out.
The blue-haired girl tumbles backward down the steep hill.
Clinging to the grass, the girl is surprised to find that her fall didn't actually hurt. Realizing she is sitting on her sister's back, Zhao Zhao looks shocked as the older girl groans in pain and tells her to get off. Getting to her feet, the eldest princess fumes and vows that she will make her sister pay for all the trouble she has caused. A sudden, painful hobble sounding as the girl tries to walk away while clutching her injured leg. Tripping over a rock, the girl curses at the stone for daring to bully her. A sudden, intense, furious sounding as the princess pouts in absolute rage. A sudden, startled start sounding as the girl asks why her sister is approaching her again. The older girl threatens to report her injuries to their father, while Zhao Zhao can't help but let out a little laugh. The little princess privately thinks that her angry eldest sister is actually quite cute when she's flustered. Zhao Zhao reaches out toward her sister, causing the older girl to look on with deep suspicion. The princess demands to know what the girl thinks she's doing. A sudden, firm pull sounding as Zhao Zhao lifts the hem of her sister's dress to examine the wound on her leg. Noticing the injury, the little girl offers to help bandage it for her. The older girl snaps at her to stay away and insists that she doesn't need any help. Watching her sister's trembling expression, Zhao Zhao realizes that the tough princess is actually very afraid of pain. The girl offers her sister a piece of candy to help her feel better, though the princess pridefully denies being afraid. The older girl continues to yell that she doesn't want the candy or any help. A sudden, loud scream sounding as the girl begins to bandage her sister's leg, reciting the medical advice her mother taught her. Zhao Zhao proudly announces that she is finished, while her sister stares at the clumsy, ugly knot on her ankle. Looking downcast, the eldest princess privately notes that even her own imperial mother has never shown her this much care. The older girl finally asks why her sister is being so kind when she has been so mean to her. The blue-haired girl gazes up at her older sister with a thoughtful expression. Zhao Zhao explains that her mother taught her the importance of learning to be grateful to others. Despite the past bullying, the little girl offers her sincere thanks to her imperial sister for saving her. Beaming with happiness, the princess reaches out to touch her sister's white robes. Looking curious, the older girl asks where the child's mother is and why she was left alone in the palace. Becoming visibly upset, Zhao Zhao admits that her mother is in a very distant place and she cannot see her right now. A sudden, soft cry sounding as a close-up focus reveals a tear forming in the girl's large blue eye. Surprised by the sudden, wet sobs sounding as Zhao Zhao admits how much she misses her mother, the princess frantically tries to get her to stop crying. The older girl suggests that the child's mother left because of her constant crying, boastfully claiming that she never cries and thus has both her parents' love and praise. Looking up with hope, Zhao Zhao asks if her imperial sister will love her if she works harder, leaving the older girl stunned and at a loss for words. Dismissing the interaction as a waste of time, the princess turns to leave while the little girl asks if she will still receive any praise. A sudden, sharp irk sounding as the older girl winces and clutches her side in obvious discomfort. Admitting that her injury is too painful to stand on, the princess sits on the grass while Zhao Zhao attempts to diagnose her condition. The little princess excitedly identifies the injury as a cow, but her older sister angrily corrects her, stating that it is actually called a sprain. Looking worried, the eldest princess wonders what she should do since she will be forced to miss her upcoming lessons. Comforting her sister, Zhao Zhao promises that their father will find them, causing the older girl to privately marvel at the child's lack of a grudge. Reasserting her dignity, the princess claims she needs to rest and tells her sister not to bother her anymore. As night falls over the forest, the little girl passes the time by drawing cows in the dirt with a small stick. Jojo asks when their father will arrive to rescue them and mentions that she is starting to feel very hungry. A sudden, eerie howl sounding as the terrified girl clings to her sister, fearing that wolves are nearby. Rebuffing the girl, the princess explains that the imperial battle wolves are well-trained and will not harm anyone without their father's permission. A sudden, terrifying howl sounding as the princess flinches in fear, causing Zhao Zhao to shout about the presence of tigers.
A sudden, gentle pat-pat sounding as the little girl comforts her trembling sister and tells her that everything is fine now.
Looking at the woods with a smile, Zhao Zhao tells her sister to listen to the animals playing together. Feeling embarrassed, the older girl orders her sister to keep her moment of weakness a secret, while Zhao Zhao agrees but notes she has a question. The little girl asks why her sister acts so differently when she is in front of their imperial father. Furious, the princess explains she must be dignified to gain her father's love and accuses the girl of being a scheming child who stole all his affection. Beaming, Zhao Zhao explains that her mother taught her that sincerity is returned with sincerity and suggests her sister should just be herself. Staring in silence, the eldest princess privately wonders if she has misjudged the girl or if she is simply being led astray. The two girls look up as they hear voices calling out for the missing princesses in the woods. Joyfully, Zhao Zhao shouts for her father and Uncle Lin, while her sister looks surprised by their sudden arrival. A group of men led by a figure in dark robes arrives at the scene, illuminated by a flickering torch. A sudden, frantic wave sounding as Zhao Zhao calls out to her father. A sudden, warm lift sounding as the emperor picks up the crying girl and tells her that he is here to protect her. Watching the scene, the eldest princess feels frustrated that her sister managed to gain their father's attention yet again. Bowing low, the princess takes responsibility for the incident and asks to be punished for not looking after her sister properly. Looking stern, the emperor orders his eldest daughter to copy the house rules 20 times once they return to the palace. The princess accepts her punishment while the emperor prepares to lead the party back to the Hall of Mental Fortitude. Back at the palace, the little girl sits on the bed and tearfully tells her father that she is injured. The emperor orders his attendant to bring out his rare jade dew cream, leaving the man shocked due to the item's immense value. A sudden, soft handoff sounding as the attendant presents the precious medicinal cream to the emperor. The little girl whines in pain as she waits for her tribute. Applying the cream, the emperor admits he was wrong for not disciplining the eldest princess more strictly, but Zhao Zhao quickly interrupts him. The girl argues that her sister is actually a good person who is simply lacking in affection and wants her father's acknowledgement. Staring at the girl with a skeptical frown, the emperor asks if what she is saying is truly the case. Zhao Zhao insists that her sister only acts dignified to please him and suggests that he needs to look at her from a different perspective. Reflecting on her words, the emperor realizes he has been negligent and decides that he should pay the eldest princess a visit later. Noticing the change in his expression, the little princess smiles, realizing she has successfully changed his mind. The emperor playfully asks why the girl is changing her tune after previously calling him a baddie. Elsewhere, the eldest princess sits alone by her bed, clutching a container and bitterly thinking that her father only cares for the little wilding. Eldest princess finishes bandaging her own leg and reflects that while she was starting to see her sister differently, it is safer to follow her mother's harsh advice. A sudden, loud announcement sounding as the girl is startled to hear that the emperor has arrived at her chambers. A sudden, quick arrange sounding as the princess fixes her hair and greets her father with a poised, dignified bow.
Looking nervous, the girl listens as the emperor states he has something to discuss regarding the day's events.
Thinking she is about to be scolded, the princess tries to apologize for framing her sister, but her father surprises her by asking how her injury is doing. The emperor admits that Zhao Zhao told him he wasn't showing her enough care and suggested he try to understand her from a different perspective. Looking stunned, the princess is speechless to learn that her sister actually spoke up in her defense. Clutching her robes in disbelief, the girl wonders why someone she treated so poorly would ever choose to protect her. Bowing low, the princess tearfully asks to be punished, insisting that her father is already very caring and that she was the one at fault. A sudden, heavy sigh sounding as the emperor looks down at his daughter with a conflicted expression. Reaching out, the emperor gently pats his daughter's head and calls her by her name, Chu Yao. The man explains that as a daughter of the imperial line, she does not always have to struggle to be a perfectly cultured and respectful girl. Looking up with shimmering eyes, the princess is overwhelmed by her father's rare show of physical affection. The emperor tells her that when she is with him, she only needs to be herself, which causes her to look on in silent shock. Bursting into tears, the girl hugs her father while he comforts her and tells her it is time to rest. The emperor informs her that the imperial physician is on his way, while Chu Yao thanks him with a heartfelt, relieved expression. Gazing up at her father as he keeps a comforting hand on her shoulder, the princess feels a warmth she has never known before. Privately reflecting, the girl realizes she deeply misunderstood her sister and vows to make things right the next time they meet. The scene shifts to the bright morning light over the palace gardens as a new day begins. Zhao Zhao watches her father with a curious stare as he sleeps soundly in his bed. A sudden, soft poke sounding as the little girl giggles and decides to take the chance to sneak away while her father is still asleep. A sudden, quick tiptoe sounding as Zhao Zhao gingerly slips out of bed and makes a break for it. Beaming with joy, the girl plans to surprise her eldest imperial brother at school and escort him back home. A sudden, sharp irk sounding as the girl is caught by her father's voice, asking where she thinks she is going. Looking flustered, the princess claims she is heading to the academy early, but the emperor points out that it's far too early for the doors to be open. The man suggests that since she loves reading so much, she should simply accompany the eldest prince to school from now on. A sudden, sharp slap sounding as Zhao Zhao imagines a fierce teacher with a paddle making her hands swell as punishment for mistakes. Looking terrified, the girl quickly changes her tune and insists that she actually doesn't like studying at all. The emperor looks on knowingly, mentioning that he is well aware she was the one who taught the prince his classic lessons. Stunned, the little princess can only manage a confused as her secret is revealed. A sudden, startled eek sounding as the emperor pats the girl's head and watches her squirm in embarrassment. A sudden, dramatic thump sounding as Zhao Zhao collapses onto the floor face down in a fit of despair. A sudden, soft snore sounding as the emperor realizes his daughter is simply pretending to sleep to avoid more talk about school. Looking stern, the man decides that he will arrange for an imperial tutor to teach her in the coming days so she stays out of trouble. The scene shifts to the grand entrance of the academy as classes begin. A sudden, angry kick sounding as the pouting girl calls her father a big baddie for making a 3-year-old go to school. A sudden, playful cover sounding as someone sneaks up and places their hands over the girl's eyes, asking her to guess who it is. Realizing it is her eldest imperial brother, whom she calls Fishy, Zhao Zhao cheers and tells him how awesome he is. Holding hands, the prince promises to teach her how to draw as they begin their walk back home together. The little girl curiously asks what kind of lessons her brother learned at the academy today. The boy lists activities like eating, playing, and reading, making Zhao Zhao realize that school might not be as scary as she thought. A sudden, firm hold sounding as the prince clutches his school bag and his sister's hand tightly. Beaming, the prince laughs and tells her that no one bullies him because she is the best. Joyfully, the two children run along the garden path, shouting about going home together. Elsewhere, the eldest princess holds a special envelope for her sister, wondering if the little wilding will accept her gesture. Looking frantic, the older girl searches all over the palace grounds, frustrated that she can't find her sister anywhere. Spotting her from a distance, Zhao Zhao calls out to her eldest sister with a bright, happy smile. The princess yells at her sister for finally appearing after she spent half the day searching for her. The little girl and her brother greet the sister and invite her to join them at Consort Rue's place to practice drawing. Looking on with a mix of shock and jealousy, the eldest sister asks if the two of them have really become this close. Chu Yao reflects on her sister's casual attitude, wondering if the girl's previous words of comfort were just as lighthearted. Refusing to join the others, the eldest princess calls them immature and stormily walks away as Zhao Zhao and the eldest prince watch in confusion. A sudden, firm rejection sounding as Zhao Zhao pulls her hand away and refuses to stay with her sister. A sudden, rhythmic pitter-patter sounding as the emperor pauses his reading in the Hall of Mental Cultivation. Calling out for her father, the little princess rushes into the room with her arms wide open. Noticing her soaked appearance, the emperor looks up in shock and asks why her clothes are so wet. Hurriedly, the emperor pulls the girl close and orders eunuch Lin to bring a towel immediately. With a dark and serious expression, the emperor demands to know who was responsible for bullying her, while Zhao Zhao is startled by his sudden shift in mood. Privately, Zhao Zhao worries that telling the truth might lead to an execution and spark a war between the two states. Thinking fast, the girl lies and claims she simply spilled a basin, leading her father to suggest she ask for help instead of struggling alone. A sudden, prompt right sounding as eunuch Lin arrives with a towel, while Zhao Zhao insists she is more capable than her father thinks. Reflecting on her previous disdain for school, the little girl remembers how much she used to hate the idea of studying. To the emperor's total confusion, Zhao Zhao suddenly declares that she has completely changed her mind and now loves to study. Speechless, the man stares at his daughter with a look of pure bewilderment.
While Zhao Zhao loudly confirms her decision to attend school, she secretly laments that she is being forced into this choice.
Proudly, the emperor lifts the girl up and beams, noting that she truly is his daughter for sharing his love of learning. The emperor commands the staff to prepare her school supplies for tomorrow, leaving Zhao Zhao frozen in shock at the sudden deadline. Pointing to her bandaged leg, the princess begs for a delay, claiming that her previous injury hasn't fully healed yet. Looking slightly annoyed, the emperor considers her request with a skeptical frown. Softening slightly, the man promises that if she is still in pain by the morning, he will allow the start of school to be postponed. The next day begins with Zhao Zhao crying out in frustration as she realizes her plan has backfired. Looking at her perfectly healed leg, the girl is horrified to see no trace of her injury, just as Ling Yan arrives to wake her for school. A sudden, rustling rap sounding as the little princess hides deep under her covers and refuses to listen. From outside the blankets, a stern voice demands to know if she intends to get out of bed. Looming over her, the emperor asks if she was lying the previous day about her desire to attend the academy. Comparing her father's scary tone to that of her pretty brother, Zhao Zhao quickly concedes and promises to get up. The emperor sighs and prepares to leave, causing the little girl to wonder if he is actually letting her stay home. Her hopes are dashed when the man announces he will personally escort her to school on his way to court. Collapsing into a heap of despair, Zhao Zhao realizes she was happy for no reason at all. Arriving at the academy, the girl is instructed to greet the class, while Chu Ya watches her with a grumpy expression. Clearly unhappy to be there, the little girl stands before her new classmates with a reluctant gaze. The classroom erupts with joy as the other children and the teacher find the new princess incredibly cute. Asking for silence, the elderly teacher kindly asks Zhao Zhao who she is searching for among the students. The little girl asks if the 6th prince of Yan State is absent today, hoping to find the boy she met previously. The teacher points her toward an empty seat next to the prince's desk, and Zhao Zhao celebrates the freedom of his absence. Time passes until the teacher dismisses the class and bids everyone farewell for the day. Cheering, the eldest prince greets his sister and expresses how excited he is to be classmates and walk home together. Hugging the boy tightly, Zhao Zhao proclaims that he is her favorite person in the imperial family. A new red-haired boy approaches and arrogantly asks Zhao Zhao if she likes him. Striking a dramatic pose, the stranger introduces himself while Zhao Zhao stares in complete confusion. The boy is revealed as Shao Jingyu, the son of Lord Shao, though the princess privately wonders if he is having a medical emergency with his eyes. Furious, the eldest prince shouts at the newcomer and makes it clear that Zhao Zhao is his sister, not a potential wife. Looking unimpressed, Zhao Zhao tells her brother they shouldn't talk to fools because stupidity is infectious, much to Jingyu's outrage. As the two siblings run away laughing, Jinyu screams for them to stop, while Chu Yao watches the scene with a blank stare. Chu Yao's deskmate, Li Jingxian, recognizes the 9th princess as the one who previously caused Chu Yao harm. Leaning in closer, the girl continues to push her plan to disrupt the new student's life. Looking skeptical, the eldest princess listens to her friend's proposal without saying a word. Indifferently, Chu Yao tells her friend to do whatever she likes, as long as it doesn't interfere with her own studies. Turning back to her book, the princess dismisses her friend, leaving Jingxian stunned by the cold response. Looking frustrated, Li Jingshen huffs and declares that she doesn't care. While Shao Jingyu says goodbye to his wifey, Li Jingshen decides she will personally handle the situation since Chu Yao is being soft. Walking through the garden, the little princess stops suddenly when she senses someone's presence. Li Jingxian approaches with a fake, brilliant smile and asks if she is Zhao Zhao. Ignoring the girl's question, the stranger claims she saw someone waiting for her by the door and tells her to hurry over. Zhao Zhao asks if the person looks pretty with a high ponytail, and the older girl confirms it with a nervous smile. The little princess worries that her pretty brother has caught her at school despite being on a leave of absence. As the little girl runs toward the door, Li Jingxian smirks at how easily she was fooled.
Chu Yao watches from inside the classroom, wondering what her friend is up to now.
Peeking around a corner, Zhao Zhao calls out for her pretty brother. Finding no one there, the girl is surprised when her eldest sister suddenly appears behind her. Scolding her sister for being stupid, the princess tells her to look at what is on the ground. Looking down at the stone path, the little girl is completely confused. Pointing out a banana peel, Chu Yao claims she saved her sister from falling and getting hurt. The eldest sister sternly warns her to watch where she is walking from now on. A sudden, loud swoosh sounding as a massive pile of white flour drops from the ceiling onto Chu Yao. Standing frozen and covered in white, the eldest princess remains silent while Zhao Zhao stares in shock at the little white person. Enraged, Chu Yao screams for whoever set the trap to show themselves immediately. Li Jingxian rushes over, admitting it was her but claiming she wasn't targeting her friend. Furious, the princess snaps at her friend to stay away and not touch her.
Chu Yao warns her friend to keep herself in check and never pull such small tricks again. Outraged, Li Jingxian asks why she won't take revenge on the girl who previously hurt her.
Looking cold and distant, the eldest princess dismisses the question entirely. Chu Yao declares that Jiao Zhao is her imperial sister and family, telling the outsider not to interfere. Walking away without another word, the princess leaves her friend stunned and Zhao Zhao calling out for her to wait. A sudden soft pitter-patter sounding as the rain falls over the garden flowers. Running up, the little girl grabs her sister's robe and begs her to wait. Beaming, Zhao Zhao explains that she hasn't had the chance to thank her sister for helping her yet. Caught off guard by this sincere gratitude, Chu Yao looks away with a blush. The princess huffs and claims she only helped to avoid reporting to their father, though Zhao Zhao privately thinks she is quite cute. Reaching into her bag, the little girl offers some candies and a new blue pearl to her eldest sister. Gently, the princess places the small treasures into her sister's open hands. Looking touched, Chu Yao admits that she also has something for her. A sudden, firm bam sounding as the princess slams a letter into the girl's hand while accepting the gifts. Examining the blue object, Chu Yao wonders what kind of pearl it actually is. Looking at the blue glass marble, she thinks it is incredibly beautiful. From behind the trees, the emperor watches the interaction and notices the blue object in his daughter's hand. Looking deeply offended, the man remembers being told that only he would receive such a pearl. Clenching his jaw, the emperor feels betrayed that she gave his special gift to someone else. The man orders Eunuch Lin to keep the wimpy kid away from him tonight, much to the eunuch's confusion. Back at the academy, the eldest prince wonders where his sister went after class. Shifting back to earlier that morning, Ling Yan enters the room and asks what the princess wants for breakfast. Happily, the girl explains that she is going to school to eat with her eldest brother instead. Elsewhere in the palace, the emperor smiles smugly, assuming his daughter will miss him after being ignored for a night. A sudden, fast swoosh sounding as Zhao Zhao zips past her father like a gust of wind without acknowledging him. Stunned, the emperor realizes she just left while Eunuch Lin comments on how much she seems to love studying. Inside the academy walls, someone asks about the lunch menu for the day. Having finished morning court, the emperor arrives to fetch the girl for lunch, expecting her to cry tears of gratitude. Smiling as he spots her through the window, the man announces that it is time to eat. Zhao Zhao waves enthusiastically to her brother while completely ignoring her father's presence nearby. Eunuch Lin offers to fetch the princess, but the emperor angrily insists on returning to his palace to rest instead. A sudden, sharp stop sounding as the emperor freezes in place when his daughter finally calls out to him. Zhao Zhao wonders if her father is there for lunch, but he pridefully claims he was just passing through. The little girl questions why Uncle Lin is carrying a food hamper if her father wasn't planning to eat with her. Sighing in frustration, the emperor complains that she has become distant and neglected him since starting school. The little girl looks shocked as she realizes she actually ran into her father by accident. Trying to make amends, Zhao Zhao offers her father a piece of candy as a sincere apology. Skeptical, the emperor asks how many other people have received the same candy from her. As Zhao Zhao lists all the people she has gifted, the emperor irritably compares her flirtatious nature to her mother's. Relenting, the man pats his daughter's head and tells her it's okay. The emperor possessively demands that from now on she only give him candies, making Zhao Zhao think he's being very petty. Happily, the father and daughter head off together to share a meal. Jinglin watches the scene with cold eyes. The scene shifts across palace rooftops. Sitting in the garden, the eldest princess sighs deeply while Zhao Zhao watches her from a distance. Zhao Zhao surprises her sister by asking why she is so unhappy. Tu Yao tries to dismiss her, but then realizes the younger girl might have useful information from her wandering. The princess asks about Jinglan's whereabouts, making Zhao Zhao wonder why she is interested in her pretty brother. Disappointed, Chu Yao calls her sister useless when she claims not to know anything. Suddenly, brother Jinglan appears in the garden, catching the attention of both sisters. Hiding behind some plants, Zhao Zhao admires how pretty he looks, but is too intimidated to approach him. A sudden, soft sob sounding as Zhao Zhao watches Chu Yao check on Jinglan's well-being. Jinglan glances toward the bushes and mentions that he knows about the previous events that took place. From her hiding spot, the little princess desperately hopes she hasn't been spotted.
Tu Yao is delighted when Jinglan addresses her formally by her title.
The boy gestures for the princess to follow him so they can speak in private. Both sisters are stunned by the sudden and bold request for a private conversation. Peeking from afar, Zhao Zhao wonders if the two of them are going to fall in love. The girl recalls a letter from her sister demanding she stay away from Jinglan because he belongs to the princess. Zhao Zhao is confused as she watches her eldest sister run away while covering her face. Concerned, the little girl rushes over to see what happened to her sister.
Looking flustered and teary-eyed, Chu Yao huffs and turns away from her younger sister.
The princess remains in a state of distress, leaving Zhao Zhao even more bewildered. Staring at Jinglan, the little girl wonders what on earth he could have said to her sister. Brave and angry, Zhao Zhao shouts at the boy and accuses him of bullying her sister. Jinglan looks back with a serious expression. The boy claims he cannot hear her from such a distance and tells her to come closer. A sudden, quick startle sounding as Zhao Zhao cowers when the boy quickly approaches her. Leaning down close, Jinglan touches her forehead and possessively declares that she belongs to him alone. The boy warns that he will not tolerate anyone else interfering with what he considers his. Looking terrified, the little girl tries to defend her sister, claiming she didn't do anything wrong. A sudden, heavy stern sounding as the boy's eye narrows in a cold, intimidating glare. Completely intimidated, Zhao Zhao quickly agrees to whatever he says, earning a smile and praise from him. A sudden, quick ties sounding as the boy fastens a red cord around the girl's wrist. When she asks about the red string, Jinglan explains it is a protective bracelet to keep her safe. Jinglan announces they will attend school together starting tomorrow, making Zhao Zhao excited about their new friendship. The following morning at Linhua Palace, the princess calls out to her brother that it's time for school. Beaming with joy, the little girl raises her hand to show off her new red bracelet. As Zhao Zhao peeks into the room, Jinglan greets her with a warm and gentle smile. Jinglan agrees to walk together while Zhao Zhao is completely captivated by his pretty appearance. The two share a quiet, lingering look as they stand near each other. Playfully, Jinglan asks what she is looking at while tussling her hair, causing Zhao Zhao to panic about potentially going bald. The black-haired boy sighs that she is troublesome as he finally releases her from his gentle grip. Hand in hand, Jinglan leads the way as he announces it is time for them to go. Zhao Zhao gazes up at him, happily noting that her pretty brother seems to be smiling more often lately. A sudden, loud shout echoes as Mo Yi calls out for Zhao Zhao with an angry expression. Startled, the little girl realizes she spent too much time with Jinglan and completely forgot her promise to her eldest brother.
Zhao Zhao tries to offer a candy as a peace offering, but Mo Yi huffs and stubbornly refuses to take it.
The girl begs for forgiveness and asks him not to be angry about her forgetting their meeting, but he remains visibly upset. To appease him, Zhao Zhao declares that her eldest imperial brother is the best, leaving him speechless and slightly flustered. Mo Yi argues that a single candy isn't enough to bribe him, so the girl quickly offers him two instead. Seeing his hesitation, Zhao Zhao happily offers a third candy to ensure her eldest brother is fully satisfied. Suddenly, Jinglan reaches down and lifts the little girl up by the back of her robes, telling her to get over to him. He orders her back to her seat because the tutor is arriving soon, while Mo Yi watches the rough handling with shock. A sudden, firm hold sounding as Mo Yi's hand shoots out to grab Jinglan's arm. Mo Yi angrily demands that the boy stop treating the little girl in such a disrespectful manner. Jinglan notes the prince's surprisingly strong grip and wonders if the rumors about him being a fool are actually false. The boy asks if the prince has an issue with his possession, while Mo Yi furiously argues that the girl belongs to no one. Clenching his fist, the prince orders him to let her go immediately. Jinglan wears a cold smirk as he challenges the prince to see what he will do if he refuses to comply. A sudden, heavy, tense sounding as a chilling atmosphere settles between the two rivals, while Zhao Zhao looks on in confusion. The little girl is completely lost, wondering what on earth is happening between them. Later, Zhao Zhao tells her father that her eldest brother is incredibly smart and memorized his books even before the tutor taught them. Looking thoughtful, the emperor suspects the girl is trying to force a closer bond between him and the eldest prince. Students whisper among themselves about the earlier scene just as the imperial tutor finally enters the classroom. A sudden, soft sits sounding as Jinglan takes his place at a desk, leaving the confrontation behind for now. Mo Yi and Zhao Zhao share a happy moment together, while Jinglan watches from his seat, thinking the prince is an eyesore. Jinglan quietly orders his attendant, Wu Xin, to find a way to have the eldest prince sent away to the National Academy. The attendant is visibly surprised by the sudden and specific command from his master. Wu Xin points out that the prince is a fool and no threat, questioning why his master feels the need to take such action. Looking enraged, Jinglan explains that his motivation is simple revenge because the prince dared to take away his pet. After school, Zhao Zhao arrives at the palace and loudly announces her return to her father. Eunuch Lin expresses deep concern, asking the little princess why she is burdened with so many heavy books. The girl looks exhausted but proud as she carries her large backpack through the palace halls. The emperor irritably asks if she caused trouble at school again, but Zhao Zhao huffs that he always asks the same bad question. She claims to be a perfect student and insists that even the tutor gave her compliments during the day. Eunuch Lin excitedly presents some papers to the emperor, claiming the little princess has become exceptionally good at writing. The emperor is initially delighted and proud, boasting that such great talent is expected from his own daughter. He begins a speech about her finally finding the joy of learning, only for Zhao Zhao to reveal the papers were written by her brother. A sudden, long silence follows as both the emperor and Eunuch Lin are left speechless by the revelation. Enraged, the man orders the papers taken away and blames Eunuch Lin for making him happy over a misunderstanding. Jiao Jiao continues to praise her eldest brother's academic brilliance, noting how well he writes and memorizes his lessons. Staring intensely, the emperor realizes he should probably discuss a certain important matter with his daughter. He acknowledges that he has already received reports about the eldest prince's outstanding grades and performance. He explains that the tutor recommended sending the prince to the National Academy and asks if he should sign the edict now. Excitedly, Zhao Zhao asks what the academy is and wonders if she can attend school there as well. The emperor dismisses her, saying she isn't qualified for the top academy and privately thinks she won't be able to stay still once her brother leaves. A sudden, firm sit sounding as Zhao Zhao cheers for her brother's success, making the emperor hope she might actually be inspired to study. Patting her head, the man says it's a blessing if she just avoids trouble, privately admitting he shouldn't have held high hopes for her. The following morning, Mo Yi reacts with a sudden and intense shout of absolute disbelief. Jiao Jiao explains that the emperor wants to transfer him to the National Academy, but the boy breaks into tears and refuses to leave his younger sister. The little girl tries to coax him with the promise of learning and making new friends, privately thinking her eldest imperial brother is more childish than she is. She uses a stern warning that neither she nor their father will like him if he refuses to go, leaving the boy sobbing in despair. Watching the scene from his desk, Jinglan mocks the prince for being a coward, while Zhao Zhao and the crying Mo Yi look on in shock. Mo Yi suddenly snaps back with a defiant shout, declaring that he will attend the academy just to prove he isn't scared. Later in the classroom, a tired Jiao Jiao lets out a sudden, soft yawn, sounding as she greets her pretty brother while he reads at his desk. A red-haired boy behind them desperately tries to get the princess's attention, causing her to look back in confusion. Zhao Zhao gazes at Jinglan and notes that he seems to be in a particularly foul mood today. The black-haired boy stares intensely, his expression fixed in a cold and displeased frown. Jinglan clenches his fist around a pearl and gold pendant, his frustration evident in his tight grip. Jinglan asks if she thinks he can be bribed as easily as Mo Yi, but Zhao Zhao insists that she likes him the most out of everyone. The boy is left momentarily speechless by her sudden and honest declaration of affection. A sudden soft cough sounding as Jinglan clears his throat and finally agrees to accept her candy offer. He warns her that she is strictly forbidden from giving candy to anyone else in the future and demands her understanding. To his surprise, the boy realizes the little princess has already drifted off into a deep sleep at her desk. Jinglan watches her closely, his gaze softening slightly as he observes her peaceful face. Patting her head, the boy quietly mocks the emperor's daughter for being such a lovable fool. Suddenly, the red-haired boy approaches and calls out for his wifey to wake up immediately. Groggy and confused, Zhao Zhao looks up and mistakenly calls the red-haired boy her eldest imperial brother. The boy, shouting "you," laughs and mockingly clarifies that he is certainly not that fool of a prince. Enraged by the insult to her brother, Zhao Zhao declares she will no longer play with him because he isn't her friend. Xiao Jingyu quickly tries to apologize, claiming his brain wasn't working and agreeing that the prince isn't a fool after all. She pauses for a moment, looking curious as the unfamiliar term lingers in her mind. Confusion written all over her face, Zhao Zhao asks what on earth a wifey is, much to the red-haired boy's surprise. Xiao Jingyu smiles warmly at her, seemingly amused by her innocence. He explains that a wifey is a special title for two people who have a very close relationship and share everything together. To win her over, the boy presents a bag of expensive candies and promises to bring her daily treats if she agrees to the title. Zhao Zhao points to the whale design on her bag and declares she wants the little whale to be her wifey instead so she can have candy every day. Looking slightly exasperated, Xiao Jingyu gives her the candy anyway and tries to maintain a generous and cool appearance. Suddenly, Jinglan appears behind the boy, casting a dark and intimidating shadow that makes Xiao Jingyu freeze in terror. Terrified, the red-haired boy suddenly discovers a passion for studying and scurries back to his seat as class begins. Jinglan looks down at the girl and asks what the two of them were doing together, while she greets him with a happy smile. Beaming with joy, the little girl holds out a handful of treats and invites her pretty brother to have some of her new candy. Jinglan looks suspicious, noting that the style and wrapping of these candies are completely different from her usual ones. The boy's eye narrows in a sharp and cold glare as he processes the change. Glancing toward the sweating Zhao Jingyu, Jinglan realizes the red-haired boy was the one who gave the sweets to the princess. Unaware of the tension, the little girl looks up and wonders why her brother is just staring at her. A sudden, firm take sounding as Jinglan seizes the entire bag, declaring she is limited to 5 candies and has already reached her quota. Stunned and devastated, Zhao Zhao stares at her empty hands as she tries to process the sudden loss of her treats. Jinglan warns her that her teeth will rot if she eats too much, while the girl cries out that she is just a small child. He pats her head and promises more candy tomorrow if she behaves, though the little girl remains visibly upset. Zhao Zhao begins to sob, mourning the loss of her delicious candy bag. Jinglan reaches out a hand and announces that class is over, telling the little girl it is time for them to go home. Looking at her empty hands, Zhao Zhao realizes that her pretty brother is simply using the excuse of protecting her to bully her instead. She pouts and thinks to herself that he is actually not nice to her at all. Noticing her delay, Jinglan turns back and asks why she is still standing there like she is in a daze. Defiant and angry, Zhao Zhao sticks out her tongue and yells that she refuses to go home with a baddie like him. The black-haired boy calls out a warning as the little girl runs away from them. Waving his hand, the red-haired boy shouts for his wifey to wait up for him. Zhao Zhao stops and looks back at the boy with a suspicious and annoyed expression. The little girl demands the red-haired boy take revenge on Yang Jinglan for stealing all her sweets. Xiao Jingyu tries to calm her down by offering to give her every single candy he has left. He defends the black-haired boy, claiming he isn't bad, but just too pitiful to eat any treats. The little princess looks up with wide eyes and genuine surprise at the sudden revelation. Xiao Jingyu continues to praise the pretty brother's character, urging her to drop her quest for revenge. Zhao Zhao mentions that her pretty brother claimed to dislike candy, but the boy says he was just humoring her. Looking thoughtful, the princess begins to feel bad for her brother's supposedly tragic lack of snacks. She decides to be generous and leave all of her treats for her pretty brother to enjoy instead. The little girl begins counting her various candies as she lays them out on a stone bench. Beaming with happiness, she celebrates her small pile of delicious treats and waves her hand. A brown-haired boy appears and teases her for not sharing the candy with her third imperial brother. The boy demands the candy, but Zhao Zhao yells a refusal and holds onto her bag as tight as possible. He makes a scary face and jokingly threatens to take her heart if she doesn't let go of the sweets. The princess insists the candy is for her pretty brother, causing the older boy to mock their close relationship. He suddenly snatches the treats away, leaving the little girl pleading for him to give them back. Her attention is captured by a sudden, quick nom sounding as she reacts to the older boy's teasing. Laughing, the brown-haired boy calls her a little idiot and admits he was only joking before standing up. He beckons her closer, while the little girl stares at him with a confused and teary gaze. A sudden, loud shout sounding as the boy lifts the little girl high above his head. He places the startled princess high up on a sturdy tree branch and lets go. The boy smugly asks if he treats her well, while Zhao Zhao clings to the tree in absolute terror. Terrified of the height, the girl screams that she doesn't want to feel the wind anymore. The older boy demands she call him brother before he agrees to help her down from the tree. He insists she repeat the title, enjoying her desperate cries for her third brother as she sobs. To her horror, the boy suddenly changes his mind and tells her to stay up there to sleep. Enraged by his betrayal, the little girl yells that her third brother is a big liar. The boy nonchalantly remarks that deceiving others is a habit as a black-haired girl walks by them.
Zhao Zhao spots her eldest imperial sister and screams for help from her high perch on the branch.
The black-haired girl calls the boy a lunatic and demands he release the princess immediately. Defiant, the boy asks what she can do to stop him, prompting her to bring up a past banquet incident. She warns him that their father will be furious if he hurts his favorite daughter, while Zhao Zhao sticks out her tongue. The boy looks increasingly nervous and sweats as his sister continues her stern lecture from below. She threatens to report his truancy to the emperor, forcing the boy to finally back down and apologize. While the boy grumbles about the threat, the little girl clings to her sister and sobs about her ordeal.
The eldest imperial sister grabs the girl's hand and firmly tells her to follow along.
She warns Zhao Zhao to stay away from the third brother, but the girl clings to her robe and calls her cool. Blushing, the older sister tells her to go home and mentions she is leaving the palace tomorrow. The princess remembers her mother's words about the many fun things found in the capital city. Looking hopeful, the little girl asks her sister if she can tag along on the trip tomorrow. She looks up with big, pleading eyes, repeating her request to go with her eldest imperial sister. The sister flatly refuses, shouting that she won't be responsible if the child gets lost outside. Zhao Zhao insists she will be perfectly obedient and won't wander off if she's allowed to go. She tries to sweet-talk her by calling her sister Chuyao with a wide, happy smile. Stunned, the older girl asks what the princess just called her as she processes the affectionate name.
The eldest imperial sister turns bright red as a sudden, intense blush covers her entire face.
She relents and says the girl can come as long as she doesn't cause any trouble during the trip. A sudden, soft whisper sounding as the sister promises to fetch her early the next morning. The marketplace is alive with the bustling cries of vendors selling hot buns and sweet tanghulu. Peering out from the carriage, the blue-haired girl gazes at the vibrant city sights with wide-eyed wonder. Pointing excitedly at the birds and treats, Zhao Zhao asks about the red snacks while her sister mocks her for being so inexperienced. The eldest imperial sister explains that the treats are candied fruits called tanghulu and asks if the princess has truly never seen them. Mesmerized by the unfamiliar snack, the little girl admits she has never seen anything like it before. Watching her, the older sister feels a wave of pity, wondering if the girl's rural upbringing kept her from such simple joys. Looking up with pleading eyes, Zhao Zhao asks what the treats taste like and begs for a chance to try one. The black-haired girl remains silent for a long moment as she considers the request. Suddenly breaking into a grin, the older sister offers to buy some and tells the princess they are heading into the market. She tells the girl to wait by the carriage while she goes to make the purchase as vendors call out nearby. A sudden, loud swish sounding as the older girl is yanked backward with a terrified expression.
Zhao Zhao is suddenly lifted into the air and pulled away by thin, invisible strings.
A sudden, low rumble sounding as the gray-haired vendor watches the scene unfold. He leans in close and remarks on how delicious the sweet treats smell.
The vendor asks the little princess how many sticks she wants, noting that each one costs 5 copper coins.
Looking downcast, Zhao Zhao nervously admits that she doesn't have any money to pay for them. She holds out her hands and asks the man if she can trade all her other candy to buy 2 sticks of tanghulu. Touched by her innocence, the vendor calls her a good child and offers her the treats for free. Passers-by watch the interaction and remark on how beautiful and well-mannered the little child appears to be. As the crowd praises her obedience, Zhao Zhao stands holding her new treats with a dazed and blank expression.
A sudden, loud shout sounding as the eldest imperial sister demands everyone get out of her way.
Rushing forward, the black-haired girl scoops the princess into a protective hug and declares no one is allowed to touch her sister. She sternly scolds the princess for running off and threatens to never bring her out again, prompting a tearful apology. Zhao Zhao happily offers a stick of tanghulu to her sister, leaving the older girl stunned that the child actually bought it for her. The older sister looks irritated and thinks to herself that it would be a shame if such a cute child learned bad habits. Taking the girl's hand firmly, she announces that they are leaving the area immediately. The scene shifts to a quiet, empty alleyway between the tall city buildings. While they walk, the older girl asks where the princess lived before she turned 3 years old. Zhao Zhao explains that she and her mother lived in a very remote place, and this is her first time ever coming out to play. The older sister thinks it makes sense the girl lacks etiquette if she spent her entire life in the deep countryside. Patting the girl's head, the older sister promises to bring her along whenever she wants to leave the palace in the future. A sudden, sharp crack sounding as the older girl hears a noise and turns her head in alarm. Looking up with concern, Zhao Zhao asks her eldest sister what is wrong. A sudden, firm push sounding as the black-haired girl warns that someone is following them and orders the princess to hurry. The two girls break into a frantic run across the stone pavement of the alley.
The older sister urges Zhao Zhao to hide in the nearby alley while she promises to stay and protect her.
Screaming at the girl to move out of her daze, the sister realizes they are being cornered. A masked man in black appears and mockingly asks where they are running, offering to escort the princess himself. Terrified, the black-haired girl screams for the princess to run as the kidnapper looms over them.
A sudden, muffled irk sounding as the masked man grabs the girl and covers her mouth with a cloth.
Horrified, Zhao Zhao screams out for her eldest imperial sister as the man captures her. As she begins to lose consciousness, the older girl thinks only of the princess and begs her to run away. The scene fades into the pitch-black darkness of a starry night sky. A sudden, low, sounding as the black-haired girl groggily begins to wake up.
She realizes she has been tied up inside a carriage and wonders if their kidnapper has already left them alone.
Her panic grows as she thinks about how anxious their father will be if anything happens to the princess. Looking over, she sees Zhao Zhao lying face down and groggily mumbling about being too full. A sudden, sharp wakes sounding as the sister kicks the girl and shouts for her to stop sleeping. The older sister notes that the girl woke up before she could even land a kick, while Zhao Zhao asks why she looks so messy.
Zhao Zhao asks if they have been kidnapped, and the older sister confirms it while telling her to get up and stop laying around.
The older girl asks how she managed it, and the princess claims she did it randomly while secretly culminating her mermaid powers. The girl asks if her sister knows their kidnapper's identity, but the older girl admits she is just as clueless. While the sister ponders who would dare offend them, Zhao Zhao peeks outside and notices the coast is clear. The sister suspects their mother's involvement until they realize they have been taken outside the city to the back mountain. The older girl tells the princess to follow her lead and run later, though Zhao Zhao suspects her harsh words hide genuine concern. Determined, the little girl vows to protect her eldest imperial sister from now on. The sister is left speechless by the child's sudden and bold declaration. A sudden, loud rustle sounding as the sister hears footsteps and fears their captors have returned. A hand reaches out and begins to pull back the heavy curtain of the carriage. A masked man peeks inside and notes with interest that both princesses are now awake. The sister haughtily demands their release, warning of their father's wrath, while the kidnapper mocks her arrogance. The man scoffs and declares they do not fear the emperor, whom he refers to with deep disrespect. He abruptly drops the curtain, plunging the girls back into the dim interior of the carriage. Zhao Zhao panics about the returning villains, but her sister sternly tells her there must be a way to survive. Outside, the men discuss trading the two girls for someone called the Sixth Highness, which the sister overhears. The sister reacts to the mention of the Sixth Prince, while Zhao Zhao wonders if they mean her pretty brother. Zhao Zhao realizes the kidnappers are indeed talking about her pretty brother and feels a wave of worry. The princess defends her brother's character, but the sister scolds her and calls the boy an ingrate. When asked why her attitude changed, the older girl claims her past feelings were just childish ignorance. Zhao Zhao insists she still likes him, but her sister fiercely forbids her from having any such feelings. The kidnapper shouts a threat to stitch their mouths shut if they don't stop their loud arguing. The sister despairs over their lack of escape options as the princess quietly begins to form a plan. The older girl scoffs at the idea of a small child helping, but Zhao Zhao remains confident. The princess winks and insists that even little children can come up with brilliant ideas. Zhao Zhao begins her plan by repeatedly calling out to the masked man outside. Despite the man's angry threats, the little girl persistently demands some water to drink. She cleverly warns that if she dies from dehydration, they will lose their leverage against her father. Looking at the girl's pale face, the sister starts to believe the child actually needs water. The sister joins in, threatening the man with death if anything happens to her father's most beloved daughter. A sudden, wet gulp sounding as the masked man relents and gives the princess a flask of water. Zhao Zhao finishes the entire bottle and thanks her captor with a sweet, innocent smile. The man orders them to sit quietly before closing the curtain once more. The princess tells her sister to be good and close her eyes for a moment. A sudden, soft shut sounding as the sister obeys, wondering what tricks the little girl is about to perform. Outside, the two masked men notice a strange, glowing light and wonder what is happening. A sudden, wet glug sounding as water spheres manifest and begin to drown the confused kidnappers. Hearing the commotion, the sister peeks out and finds Zhao Zhao collapsed on the floor, groaning for a pond. The older girl worries about the two men standing guard just outside the carriage. Despite the danger, she decides to prioritize the princess's life and promises to find water. A sudden, sharp swish sounding as the sister bursts out of the carriage, demanding water for the dying child.
She is baffled to find the area completely deserted and realizes they finally have a chance to escape. The older girl flees into the woods while begging the princess to wake up and stay alive. A sudden soft trickle sounding as the sister's ears pick up the sound of nearby water.
She stops at the edge of a vast green field that leads toward a sparkling river.
The sister collapses on the grass by the water's edge, still holding the weak princess.
She looks around frantically, realizing she has nothing to use to carry the water to the girl.
A sudden, loud splash sounding as something enters the water right next to her.
The older girl stares in shock at the ripples where the princess has suddenly disappeared into the depths. Terrified, she screams out for the girl as she gazes at the empty surface of the water. The black-haired girl screams for Mojaja as the child splashes into the water. She stares in horror at the bubbles where the girl vanished. Fear consumes the girl's gaze. Zhao Zhao reveals her true form as a mermaid, swimming happily. The black-haired girl is speechless at the sight of the mermaid princess. Zhao Zhao panics, realizing her secret identity has been completely exposed. Clinging to her sister, Zhao Zhao tearfully explains she didn't mean to keep secrets. The sister remains in stunned silence. Zhao Zhao reacts with surprise as her sister reaches for her shimmering fins.
Zhao Zhao asks if her sister is afraid, but the older girl thinks an extra tail is nothing to fear.
A sudden, loud rustle sounding as the girls hear footsteps approaching through the woods. The sister frantically orders the princess to hide her tail and prepare to flee.
The girl senses imminent danger.
Standing protectively, the sister shouts at the approaching figures to stay back. She freezes in absolute shock. The girl is stunned to find her imperial father standing before them. Mo Yinyuan demands to know exactly where Mo Zhaozhao is hiding. The sister is baffled to see a human, drenched Zhao Zhao, crying for her papa. Mo Yinyuan's expression darkens with cold, silent rage. He commands the imperial physician to be summoned for their immediate return to the palace. Back home, the emperor demands an honest explanation for their sudden appearance outside the city. The older sister lies, claiming they were drugged and kidnapped without their knowledge. Zhao Zhao interrupts the interrogation with a loud, distracting shout. The little girl begs for a hug, complaining that everything hurts. Zhao Zhao claims her throat is sore because the kidnappers refuse to give them water. Mo Yinyuan promises to find the culprits as he personally gives the princess a drink. A sudden, loud thump sounding as an attendant requests an audience with the emperor. The man reports that the kidnappers were attendants of the sixth prince seeking a trade for Yan Jinglan. Zhao Zhao fiercely defends her pretty brother, insisting he would never do such a thing. Mo Yinyuan questions his daughter's unwavering loyalty to the boy. Zhao Zhao gazes up with pleading eyes. Yan Jinglan reveals the painful, fresh lash marks covering his bare back. A masked attendant offers to help treat the prince's severe wounds. While being bandaged, the prince reflects on being framed for the princess's abduction. He is enraged that someone touched his property and pinned the blame on him. The subordinate offers to clear his name, but the prince declines the help. Yan Jinglan believes the emperor will eventually deduce his innocence without outside interference. The weary prince dismisses his attendant to rest alone. He stands in silent contemplation. The boy feels bitter that the girl who claimed to like him hasn't visited. A sudden, soft rustle sounding as he hears a noise from the balcony. He's surprised to see the princess peeking into his room. Zhao Zhao shyly watches her pretty brother. Zhao Zhao announces her arrival, and the prince helps the little girl climb inside. Concerned, the princess asks about his wounds and offers to help him heal. Zhao Zhao presents a jar of special cream, promising it will take the pain away. The prince is stunned to see the emperor's private medicine and wonders how she got it. Looking down, the boy notices a large, painful bruise on the little girl's exposed knee. The prince realizes Zhao Zhao knelt for a long time to beg her father for his medicine. Zhao Zhao reassures her brother that she no longer feels any pain and demonstrates how quickly she has recovered. The boy reaches out and takes hold of the princess's wrist while she grips the medicine jar. A sudden, soft touch sounding as the boy takes the silver container from the girl's hands. The boy scolds the princess for her recklessness, claiming he never asked for her to worry about him. When questioned about her captors, Zhao Zhao describes two masked men and suggests they were not local to their state. Looking serious, the boy realizes he must send someone to investigate the identity of the people who dared to touch the girl. The princess continues to call out to her pretty brother to get his attention. She defends her father's actions, believing his harshness was only born out of worry for her safety. The boy looks skeptical and wonders if the child's only concern is for her father, whom he views with resentment. He makes a deal, promising not to hate her father as long as she remains obedient, which the princess happily accepts. The boy smiles and praises her, though Zhao Zhao secretly worries she has just walked into another one of his clever traps.
Later, the princess struggles in the heat, worrying that the high temperature will turn her into a dried fish. Standing before a closed door, the girl is startled when her father loudly orders her to stay away.
Determined to apologize, Zhao Zhao begs to be let in and offers to sing a song about a white rabbit to cheer him up. Inside the hall, Mo Yinyuan reviews documents and notes that his daughter is singing the lyrics completely wrong. The emperor eventually relents and commands his attendant to allow the noisy princess inside. The elderly servant greets the little princess warmly as she thanks him and slips through the door. Zhao Zhao rushes to her father's side with a bright greeting, but he remains aloof and dismissive. The princess claims she has come to atone for her behavior from the previous day, though the emperor seems unimpressed. He tells the girl that he is too busy checking the second imperial brother's schoolwork to entertain her. The mention of her other brother catches the little girl's curiosity. Zhao Zhao suddenly feels the weight of an unfriendly gaze staring at her from across the room. She turns and finds a gray-haired boy sitting in a wheelchair, identified as Mo Zizou, the Mo State's second prince. The princess recalls a dark memory from her past life, where this brother led a rebellion that resulted in her father's death.
Mo Zizou formally requests to leave, and the emperor dismisses him with a cold acknowledgement.
As the prince rolls away, Zhao Zhao feels an ominous chill from the way he looked at her, despite them being strangers. The emperor asks about her plan for atonement, and the princess excitedly offers to cook a special meal for him. She reminds him how much he enjoyed the fish she prepared for him in the past. Mo Yinyuan mocks her skills, suggesting the royal kitchen did most of the work, but Zhao Zhao credits her mother's recipes. Intrigued by the mention of her mother, the emperor decides to give the girl one final chance to prove herself.
A short time later, Mo Zizou sits alone in his wheelchair outside the Hall of Mental Cultivation. A reddish-haired boy peeks out from behind a pillar and asks the prince if he'd just met the new little sister.
The older boy pushes the wheelchair while noting that everyone in the palace seems to adore the ninth imperial sister. The boy tells his brother not to take his observations the wrong way. He claims he only wants to ensure there is no hatred between them, but the prince insists the girl is an irrelevant outsider. Mo Zizou demands to be let go, and the other boy laughs as he releases his hold on the wheelchair. The reddish-haired boy watches the prince leave, finding his claim of having no connection to the girl quite amusing. He suspects that his brother was actually the one responsible for the princess's recent kidnapping. Elsewhere, the eldest imperial sister stares in confusion at a bowl of golden fried sticks. The sister worries that the strange food might be poisonous, but Zhao Zhao insists it is perfectly safe for their father. The princess explains that her mother learned to make this foreign delicacy called French fries. Zhao Zhao offers a fry to her sister, who remains deeply suspicious of the unusual snack. Reluctantly, the older girl takes a bite while continuing to voice her concerns about poison. Her eyes suddenly widen as the flavor hits her. The sister exclaims that the food is incredibly tasty, much to the little princess's delight. Hooked on the taste, the girl demands that Zhao Zhao cook only for her and their father from now on. A sudden, quick dash sounding as Zhao Zhao flees with her lunchbox, promising to make more for her sister later. Wandering through the garden, the princess recalls a guard saying her father would be in this area. Holding her container tightly, the little girl looks around and wonders where her father is hiding. The little princess spots her father. Zhao Zhao brings snacks to her father. The emperor asks what she has, and the girl explains she has brought the snacks they agreed upon. Zhao Zhao presents the box, claiming she made the food herself. Mo Yinyuan thinks about the child's devotion. The emperor dismisses the girl to attend to business, while the elderly servant offers to take the container, and Zhao Zhao reminds her father to eat. The princess waves goodbye to them. Uncle Lin waves a friendly farewell. Mo Yinyuan demands the box, and the servant reacts with a surprise sound. The elderly man asks if the emperor wants to eat now or have the food brought to his chambers. Mo Yinyuan takes the box in tough. He opens the container and wonders what the yellow sticks are. A sudden sharp bite sounding as the emperor tastes one of the snacks. Mo Yinyuan is shocked by the flavor. He wonders if the child learned how to cook from her mother. The man reflects on his growing interest in Rao Li as the scene shifts. The story moves to the academy. Zhao Zhao slumps over a huge pile of books, complaining about the return to school and the burden of homework. She wonders about the prince's recovery. The girl gazes out in silence. Other students ask the princess if it is true that her brother was beaten and seriously injured. A brown-haired girl notes that the boy was even bleeding, which worries the little princess. The other children begin offering gifts for her to bring to the wounded prince.
Zhao Zhao is surprised by the boy's popularity.
Someone shouts for a boy to stop. A reddish-haired boy tells a girl named Li Jingxian that he does not like her, and they exchange demands to stop running and chasing. The girl continues her angry pursuit, a sudden quick swoosh sounding as the two students dash through the classroom.
Xiao Jingyu places a hand on the princess's head and loudly announces that Mo Zhao Zhao is the one he likes, which stuns the little girl.
The boy runs off and invites his wifey to play house while Li Jingxian screams in rage. Holding the boy's hand, Zhao Zhao asks why he does not like the other girl. The reddish-haired boy describes her as a nasty person who spreads lies about him and his family. The princess suggests it is only because of his good looks, which catches the boy off guard. They share a laugh together. Watching from behind a wall, Li Jingxian fumes that the princess is a thief and insists the boy belongs only to her. Zhao Zhao walks home feeling exhausted. A hand reaches out to stop her. Li Jingxian blocks the princess's path. The girl challenges the princess and refuses to let her go home. Li Jingxian asks what the girl's mother taught her about stealing men and expresses confusion at the princess's reaction. She repeats her taunt about the mother. The girl claims the emperor abandoned her mother because they are both the same, causing Zhao Zhao to tremble with fury. Zhao Zhao pushes the girl and shouts for her to stop insulting her mother. An elderly man arrives to investigate the commotion, and Li Jingxian begins to sob. The girl lies to Tutor Chen, claiming the princess blocked her path and attacked her, which Zhao Zhao fiercely denies. While Zhao Zhao tries to explain the insult, Li Jingxian plays the victim and suggests she can only be wronged because of the emperor's protection. The girl fakes a generous attitude while the princess struggles to get the truth out. Other students begin whispering that the princess is a bully who should be punished. Zhao Zhao clenches her fists and decides to have her father judge the situation since everyone is being mean. A sudden, soft t sounding as someone nearby comments on the noise. The reddish-brown-haired boy complains about someone interrupting his peace and causing him to fall from a tree. Wide-eyed, the blue-haired girl gasps and calls out to her third brother. The older boy notes that he coincidentally saw exactly what happened just now. Looking nervous, Li Jingxian stares ahead as the boy asks if she would like to listen. The gray-haired girl points a finger and begs Tutor Chen not to listen to the boy's nonsense, claiming he cannot be trusted. The third brother warns the girl not to point at him and offers to help her remember what she said. He reveals that the girl spoke arrogantly and insulted the little princess's mother to provoke her into pushing. The boy explains that Li Jingxian purposely fell on the ground the moment she saw Tutor Chen coming, making the gray-haired girl panic. He adds that the girl even claimed the imperial father purposely abandoned the princess's mother. Trembling with rage, the girl tries to defend herself by claiming she only wanted to scare the princess and didn't say it on purpose. A hand reaches out as the boy tells her not to start with apologies. The third brother asks the tutor what the punishment is for slandering the princess and dishonoring the imperial family, while the girl looks on in horror. Tutor Chen sighs and acknowledges the situation, promising to punish those who break the rules and provide justice for the little one. The elderly man commands Li Jingxian to follow him, leaving the girl looking distraught. Other students walk away, deciding there is nothing more to see, while Zhao Zhao watches them go. A sudden, quick flick sounding as a hand hits the princess's forehead, causing her to cry out in pain. The boy asks his 9th imperial sister if her anger has finally diffused. Looking surprised, the princess realizes that her brother has a special side she didn't expect. Zhao Zhao smiles brightly and calls the boy a good person as he looks down at her. The princess hugs her brother's leg, asking if he only realized how good he is now. Zhao Zhao declares that she likes her brother and that they will be friends from now on. The boy pats her head and agrees that his sister is a good girl, admitting that he likes her too. Later, Mo Yinyan reacts with shock to news of the fight and asks what the other girl said to his daughter. Uncle Lin explains that the girl claimed the emperor purposely abandoned the princess's mother. The servant adds that the girl compared the princess to her mother regarding her treatment of men, prompting the emperor to slam the table in fury over the audacity. Mo Yinyuan reflects on the Li family's arrogance and decides they'd crossed a line by mentioning that woman. The emperor orders his servant to find out the crimes of the Li family, while the elderly man acknowledges the command. Back at home, the princess picks at her food and wonders why it doesn't taste good today. She jumps up as a servant announces her father's arrival, wondering why he is there. Zhao Zhao greets her father excitedly, claiming she was focused on her books and was not being picky with her food. The emperor asks if it is true that she was bullied at school. The princess tries to downplay the situation, worrying that her father might kill her schoolmate. The emperor sighs in silence. He picks up the girl and tells her she is his baby, insisting she should never be wronged and must tell him immediately if it happens again.
Jojo realizes that what her classmate said was completely wrong. She hugs her father, claiming her mother is the best and misses him a lot. Mo Yinyuan asks how the girl can stay in contact with her mother if she is in a faraway place. The princess points to a large conch shell on the table.
Zhao explains that her mother gave her the shell so they can talk whenever they want.
As the emperor examines the shell, the little girl suddenly feels that something is not right. She laughs nervously and claims that sometimes she cannot get in contact with her mother. Zhao panics about exposing her mermaid identity, while Mo Yinyun assumes the strange item is typical of his wife's ramblings. The emperor whispers into the shell, asking if Ru Li is there. A voice from the conch asks who dares to disrupt its slumber, much to the curiosity of the emperor and his daughter. Under the water, a blue-haired mermaid holding the shell realizes that her daughter has gone to find Mo Yinyuan. Mo Yinyuan yells into the conch, accusing Shenro Li of playing him for a fool and threatening her with no mercy. A sudden, loud bang sounding as the startled woman falls off her bed. The emperor asks where his shell went and wonders if the woman fell off her bed. A sudden, quick click sounding as the woman tries to claim he has the wrong person and quickly hangs up.
Mo Yinyuan smiles and notes that nobody but that mother and daughter would dare to call him by his full name. Uncle Lin laughs and suggests the princess is too young to truly understand what it means to like someone. Zhao peeks between the adults.
The emperor looks deeply annoyed. Mo Yinyuan demands the girl explain what she likes about the Xiao family boy compared to himself.
Zhao explains that she cherishes her father more because she only has one of him, prompting a satisfied, soft humph sounding.
The emperor dismisses his daughter to school, and she skips off happily while thanking him.
Mo Yinyuan notes that she likes anyone with candy and wonders about the unfortunate man who will marry her.
The third brother drinks tea until a sudden, heavy thump sounding disrupts his peace.
Zhao falls on the floor and cries out in pain while her brother watches her in silence.
Helping her up, the boy advises her to use the main door next time so she does not fall.
Zhao presents her blue bundle and explains that she brought something special just for her brother.
The prince is surprised by the gesture.
The princess explains that the bundle contains gifts from the sisters at school and asks him to keep them well. The boy rejects the gifts and tells her to take them away since he does not want things from others. Zhao walks away feeling dejected, noting that she came there specifically to see him.
A sudden, loud ah sounding as the prince stops the girl by grabbing her hair bun.
The third brother asks if it is true that she likes a boy named Zhao Jinyu.
Zhao waves her hands frantically and tries to explain that she does not like him. He offers her a piece of candy, explaining that he bought it just for her. Zhao wonders why her brother changed his attitude and worries the treat might be very sour.
The girl refuses the gift, claiming she wants to avoid getting cavities and becoming sour-faced.
A hand pats her head gently.
The boy offers to feed her the candy, but Zhao insists she can eat it herself.
A sudden, quick chomp sounding as the princess bites into the tree. Her eyes sparkles with delight.
The prince asks if it is nice, and Zhao is surprised to find that it is unexpectedly yummy. The third brother smiles warbly.
He makes a bold claim, insisting he can do anything for her that her schoolmate can.
The boy holds her hand and tells her to always let him know if there is something she wants to eat. A servant reports that the Li family was exiled for corruption, suspecting it was because of the princess.
A brown-haired girl asks the gray-haired boy in the wheelchair if he is jealous of the emperor's favor toward their sister.
A sudden, loud bang sounding as the second brother slams his desk, realizing he underestimated how much the emperor dotes on her. Gripping his robe, the boy wonders what he must do to satisfy his imperial father. A voice asks why he called them over. The second brother declares that he intends to personally test the little princess. Zhao skips along until a sudden, soft rustle sounding from the bushes startles her.
The girl stops and calls out, but she is met with a heavy silence.
She assumes no one is there, but a large black sack is suddenly lowered over her head. From inside the dark sack, someone asks who is there.
Zhao sobs from inside the bag.
A hand reaches out as someone speaks to her, leaving the girl looking confused. A reddish-brown-haired boy leans in and remarks that she smells very delicious. The boy asks for permission to eat her, which leaves Zhao completely stunned. The girl asks if he is a monster that catches mermaids, but he clarifies that he is human.
He stares at her closely and notes that a specific part of her looks really delicious.
A sudden, sharp pinch sounding as the boy's fingers grab her cheek.
Zhao begs him not to bite her, insisting that she is not yummy.
The boy explains that he is hungry and simply wants to eat when he feels that way.
Outside the Hall of Mental Cultivation, Uncle Lin scolds the gray-haired and brown-haired princes for throwing tantrums while they kneel in the courtyard. Zhao Zhao arrives and asks her brothers what they are doing.
Uncle Lin informs the princess that the two princes had a fight and are being punished by the emperor, advising her not to interfere. The gray-haired prince urgently claims he was only defending Zhao Zhao's honor after the other boy spoke poorly of her. Tearing up, the brown-haired prince begs for her attention, insisting his injuries are far worse than those of his older brother. Distraught by their pain, Zhao Zhao decides to seek mercy from her father and rushes away despite the servants' protests. Her approach is marked by a sudden, rhythmic pitter-patter sounding as the princess calls for her father. The emperor asks his daughter why she has come so suddenly and if she has eaten dinner yet, as she continues to call out to him. A sudden, tight hug sounding as Zhao Zhao clings to her father's robes and begs him to release her brothers from their punishment. Mo Yin-Yuan remains silent in response to her plea. The girl is lifted by a sudden, steady carry sounding as the emperor picks her up from the ground. He tells the girl to accompany him for dinner, ignoring her protests about her brother's condition. Mo Yin-Yuan reflects on how the princes never fought before and concludes the dispute must be about Zhao Zhao, deciding they need to be taught a thorough lesson.
Zhao Zhao looks down with a somber and thoughtful expression.
Looking up at her father, the princess asks if he finds her to be useless.
She expresses her sadness at being unable to help him manage the burdens of the imperial palace.
Mo Yin-Yuan advises her to avoid the other princes and only stay close to her eldest brother, leaving her confused.
A sudden, soft poke sounding as the emperor touches her nose.
He smiles warmly and tells the princess she will understand his reasons when she grows older. Mo Yin-Yuan orders food to be brought while Zhao Zhao sits at the table, still looking puzzled by his words. The emperor watches his daughter, thinking about the great effort he exerts to ensure her protection. Darkness falls over the palace as the two princes continue their punishment in the cold courtyard. The gray-haired prince looks up in surprise at a sudden arrival. Zhao Zhao appears and offers a bun to her eldest brother, urging him to eat it quickly while no one is looking. The eldest brother is delighted and thanks her, while the brown-haired boy watches them with a frustrated pout. The third brother sighs and complains about the unfairness of his sister being biased toward the eldest. The princess reveals another hidden treat. Zhao Zhao beams as she presents a second bun specifically for her third brother. She tells them they are allowed to stand up because their father has finally forgiven them. The girl strictly warns them not to fight again and reveals she knows the eldest brother was the one who started the conflict. She commands the gray-haired boy to apologize to his brother, much to his shock. The eldest prince erupts in anger, accusing the other of being a bad person who uses Zhao Zhao for amusement and warning her not to be fooled. The brown-haired prince laughs and mocks his brother for being overbearing, which the eldest fiercely denies. Zhao Zhao looks between them, feeling overwhelmed and unsure of who is actually at fault. Trembling with rage, the eldest brother grips his robe tightly and mutters in frustration. He storms away in a huff, declaring he will no longer care for either of them, while Zhao Zhao watches him go. The princess runs after him into the night, begging him to wait for her. Remaining behind, the brown-haired prince smirks and decides the situation has become far more interesting. He winces in pain as he realizes his knees are incredibly sore from the long hours of kneeling. The next morning, Zhao Zhao reflects on how her brother ignored her the previous night and wonders if he is truly angry. She reassures herself that they must surely still be friends. The princess spots her eldest brother walking toward the National Academy. She waves cheerfully and offers him a morning greeting. He responds with a cold and walks right past her, leaving her stunned.
Zhao Zhao watches him walk away, realizing that her brother truly intends to ignore her.
Deeply saddened, she rests her head on her arms and wonders if she misjudged his character. A black-haired boy approaches and offers her a piece of candy to cheer her up. Zhao Zhao flatly refuses the gift, and the boy notices she hasn't been herself since the morning. He wonders if her bad mood is caused by her conflict with the eldest prince or something related to Xiao Jingyu. Tutor Chen calls for silence and announces that afternoon classes are canceled in favor of fieldwork instructed by the emperor. Zhao Zhao asks if the National Academy students will participate, and the tutor confirms the plan for everyone to relax in the wilds. Zhao Zhao expresses her joy at seeing her eldest imperial brother. The black-haired prince in dark robes notes he must keep a close eye on the little girl. Tutor Chen instructs everyone to group up as Zhao Zhao clings to her sister and asks to be together. The silver-haired prince refuses the invitation to join the group with a dismissive humph. A sudden, quick climb sounding as the boy ignores her and enters the carriage alone. The eldest sister tells the girl not to mind him and offers to carry her inside. Xiao Jingyu runs toward them and loudly calls for his wifey to wait for him.
The little princess asks her sister to let Little Whale join their group.
Once inside, Xiao Jingyu presents a variety of yummy treats to his wifey. The princess notes the assortment of fruit candy, malt candy, and pastries before her. Xiao Jingyu claims he memorized all her favorites, which makes the girl very happy. Jojo offers the treats to her silver-haired brother and sister, but they both flatly refuse. The princess wonders why the interior of the carriage has suddenly become so cold. Xiao Jingyu nervously offers an apple to the silver-haired prince as a peace offering. The prince fiercely tells him to watch his words and questions if he is worthy of the girl.
Xiao Jingyu argues that she must marry eventually, while the prince insists she never needs to.
Looming over him, the sister states the girl will never like someone like him. She threatens to kick the boy out if he continues to speak any more nonsense.
Xiao Jingyu promises to shut up while the silver-haired prince watches him intently.
Zhao Zhao enjoys her yummy snack and finds the argument between the others quite interesting. After 2 hours, they arrive at a beautiful garden filled with rows of colorful flowers. A brown-haired student points out the pretty lotus flowers in a pond nearby. The princess stops the boy as he reaches for a flower, warning him not to do that. She lectures him about stealing and explains the importance of asking for permission first. Zhao Zhao asks Tutor Chen for permission to pick the lotus flowers for her group. The girl realizes they are only allowed one each and wonders which blossom to choose. Looking closely at the pond, the little princess realizes she has found the perfect one. Zhao Zhao spots her silver-haired brother sitting alone by the edge of the water. She presents him with the flower and begs him not to be angry with her anymore.
She whispers that she saved this special flower only for him and no one else.
The princess admits she likes her imperial brother much more than she likes Little Whale. A sudden, sharp high-five sounding as the prince high-fives her and agrees to forgive her. They walk away together as the black-haired prince watches them from a distance. He notes with frustration that the little princess has not looked at him once since they arrived. Looking closely at her, the prince concludes that she does not have him in her heart. Tutor Chen announces a corn collecting competition and mentions a secret reward for the winners. Zhao Zhao is excited for the game and asks the tutor if the prize is candy. A sudden firm picks up, sounding as the siblings lift the princess by her arms. They set her down safely on a stone bench away from the cornfield. The siblings explain she is too small and would likely get lost among the tall stalks. They argue about who will collect more as the princess watches them in silence. Sitting alone, the girl feels sad because she is too small to help her siblings. She wonders where the pretty brother went and looks around the field for him. A sudden, soft ah sounding as she finally spots him in the distance. The princess points him out and identifies his location among the green plants. The scene shifts to the black-haired prince sitting alone by a small fire. Jojo thinks he looks very lonely roasting corn all by himself in the field. She runs toward him and offers to help with the task.
Jojo feigns sadness, telling Yan Jinglan she'll leave since he clearly doesn't want her company.
The boy quickly calls out for her to wait.
He tells the girl to sit down and help him count the corn instead of leaving. Giggling happily, the princess agrees as a corn cob is tossed toward her. Zhao Zhao begins her counting task while the black-haired prince silently calls her a fool. He asks if this is her first countryside visit, which she cheerfully confirms. The girl praises the beautiful scenery and promises to tell her mother all about it. The black-haired boy remains silent. Zhao Zhao reacts with surprise as she is suddenly lifted into the air. The boy picks her up and tells her to look at what is ahead of them. He holds the girl up to reveal a stunning field, and she marvels at the beauty. Clinging to him, she recalls how her mother often took her to the countryside back home in Yan State. He somberly admits that war prevented him from ever returning to his own mother's side. Zhao Zhao realizes the boy is deeply missing his mother. The eldest princess interrupts with a shout, demanding to know what they are doing. She scolds the girl for running off while Zhao Zhao explains she just wanted to accompany her brother. The sister and the boy exchange a very tense cold glare. Pulling the girl away, the sister tells her to count her own corn instead of his. Yan Jinglan watches them go with a silent, heavy heart. That night, Zhao Zhao asks her sister why she was so mean to the boy earlier. The sister worries about a prophetic dream where Yan Jinglan destroys their state and wonders if she should warn the girl. She asks Zhao Zhao if she believes dreams can come true. The girl confirms it by describing a dream about food, leading the sister to lose hope in her, as Tutor Chen announces that losers must roast corn while winners feast. The eldest princess offers a freshly roasted cob to the girl. The gray-haired prince offers his own, sparking a small competition between the siblings. As her siblings argue over who roasted the better cob, Zhao Zhao happily enjoys her snack. The princess takes a big, satisfying bite of the corn. Nearby, the black-haired boy continues to roast his corn all by himself.
Zhao Zhao notices how lonely he looks doing everything on his own. A sudden, clever idea strikes the little princess. She calls out to her pretty brother to get his attention.
The girl gives him a bright, cheerful smile.
She tells him she only wants to eat the corn that he roasts himself.
Yang Jinglan is visibly taken aback by her request. He lets out a small cough to hide his surprise.
He hands her a corn cob and tells her to take it.
A sudden, loud crunch sounding as the princess takes a bite. Watching from the shadows, the eldest princess fumes over the boy constantly luring her sister away. She decides she must find a way to teach him a lesson and protect the girl from his influence.
A sudden rhythmic chirp sounded echoed through the trees as Xiao Jingyu wonders why the princess called him out while he is so tired. A sudden startled shock awake sounding as the princess asks if he wants to help her teach Yan Jinglan a lesson.
The boy tries to dismiss her, but she angrily insists she is being serious.
Xiao Jingyu brings up her past feelings for the hostage, but she claims she was just young and ignorant.
She pressures him for an answer while he tries to avoid getting into trouble. After a terrifying glare from the princess, he quickly swears he wants to help more than anything. He claims Yan Jinglan has always been an eyesore, much to the sister's satisfaction. The princess shares her plan while the boy asks for more specific details. She outlines a scheme to lure the boy to a mountaintop, distract him, and then ambush him from behind with a sack.
The sister asks for his thoughts, but Xiao Jingyu worries about being caught by Tutor Ken.
The eldest princess aggressively grabs Xiao Jingyu by his collar, demanding to know if he is brave enough to follow through with her plan. Wu Xin suggests that Yan Jinglan should return and rest early after his tiring day, which the prince acknowledges. Yan Jinglan is caught off guard as a girl in white robes lunges at him from behind with a wooden stick. A sudden, clumsy trip sounding as the girl loses her footing and falls face first onto the ground. The eldest princess declares her intent for revenge, while Yan Jinglan silently judges her failed attempt at a sneak attack. Yan Jinglan dismisses Wu Xin's concerns, insisting that the girl is too harmless to cause him any real injury. A sudden, sharp woof woof sounding as the girl growls like a fox, while the servant bows and departs. Wu Xin watches his master walk away, noting that the prince's formerly cold and merciless personality seems to be shifting. Yan Jinglan playfully challenges the eldest princess to a battle of wits, which she confidently believes she can win. A sudden, heavy thump sounding as the princess's heart races while she gazes up at the prince's face. The prince calls her a fool before continuing on his way, leaving her momentarily stunned. Yan Jinglan notices a small, mysterious slip of paper that has been slid beneath the doorway of his quarters. He looks down at the white envelope resting on the cold stone floor. Shivering in the moonlit forest, Zhao Jingyu and the princess regret choosing the middle of the night for their ambush. A sudden, soft rustle sounding from the undergrowth forces the two conspirators to quickly hide behind the trees. Yang Jinglan arrives at the designated location in the dark woods, appearing alert and cautious. He turns in surprise as a hand suddenly reaches out from behind him and grabs his long hair. Pointing a finger at him, the veiled princess boldly tells him that he has always been an eyesore to her. Yan Jinglan instantly recognizes her as the eldest princess, causing her to reel back in shock at her blown cover. He moves in close and dares her to remove her veil if she is truly brave enough to face him. The princess bristles with intense anger at his condescending challenge. She orders Zhao Jingyu to seize him, and the boy lunges forward with a large black cloth sack. A sudden, agile twist sounding as Yan Jinglan effortlessly pivots out of the path of the incoming attacker. Xiao Jingyu, wearing a blue mask, realizes too late that he has grabbed the wrong person in his haste. The princess cries out in protest as she finds herself being shoved into the very sack intended for the prince. A sudden fast swish sounding as Yan Jinglan leaps away to a safe distance from the pair. A sudden pained ah sounding as the boy and the princess crash onto the grassy forest floor together. The eldest princess asks if he is all right, while the prince remarks that he has no time for their childish games. Yan Jinglan instructs the pair to return home, but they stubbornly continue to deny their obvious identities. The prince expresses his annoyance at how troublesome they have become. Yan Jinglan's gaze sharpens as he detects a hidden threat lurking nearby in the shadows. A sudden, crisp rustle sounding echoes through the forest as something moves within the dense foliage. The two masked figures stare intently into the woods, sensing that they are no longer alone. A sudden, bright glint sounding from the darkness catches the prince's eye. An arrow flies through the air, narrowly missing the princess and embedding itself in the ground.
Yang Jinglan shouts for everyone to be careful as more arrows begin to rain down upon them. Xiao Jingyu anxiously asks the princess if she has been injured by the sudden attack. The girl's eyes widen as she realizes the severity of the situation through her veil. She looks over at Yan Jinglan and concludes that he is the primary target of these mysterious assassins. A masked man wielding a sword emerges, laughing as he credits the princess for making the prince an easy catch. The assassin lunges with a lethal strike, commanding the prince to die as he attacks. Yang Jinglan winces as he realizes his arm has been slashed during the brief but violent confrontation. He decides to flee, knowing he cannot remain in his current vulnerable position. As he runs, the prince questions who is so determined to kill him that they would risk harming the princess. The chase reaches its climax as the prince's boots skid to a halt at the edge of a sheer cliff. The assassin corners Yan Jinglan at the precipice, declaring that this day will be his last. A sudden, loud stop sounding as a small, glowing figure intervenes in the deadly standoff. The assassin is bewildered as he is suddenly engulfed by strange, glowing bubbles of water. Mo Zhaozhao runs toward the prince with open arms, promising that she has come to save her pretty brother. Yan Jinglan urgently orders the little girl to turn back, fearing for her safety on the dangerous cliffside. The prince's reflection shimmers in her eye. Falling through a sea of bubbles, the blue-haired girl calls out to her pretty brother, while the black-haired prince looks up in shock. Standing at the edge of the clearing, Zhao Jingyu and the princess stare down into the darkness with horror. Peering over the rocky precipice, the eldest princess screams for Zhao Zhao. She watches the silent abyss in despair. Collapsed on the ground, the eldest princess weeps and apologizes to Zhao Zhao, blaming herself for luring Yan Jinglan out and causing the girl to go missing.
Xiao Jingyu tells the princess to stop crying and suggests they report the situation to Teacher Chen in hopes that the pair can still be saved.
The emperor sits alone with his thoughts. An attendant bursts into the room to inform the emperor that the 9th princess is missing, causing him to react with sudden shock.
Bowing deeply, the servant explains that, according to Teacher Chen, the princess was attacked in the woods and a search is currently underway.
The emperor clenches his jaw in fury. The emperor furiously orders his men to find his daughter immediately, threatening to behead everyone if she is not found by the end of the day. Jiao Zhao weakly calls out for water. Cradled in the prince's arms, the girl asks if he is all right, and Yan Jinglan admits his back is painful, despite being otherwise fine. Looking out from a tiny ledge, the girl asks about their location, and the boy confirms they are trapped somewhere on a cliffside. A sudden, pained ouch sounding escapes the prince as the little girl cries out to her pretty brother. The little princess panics as she realizes she cannot find the medicine she intended to use for the prince's injuries. Her blue eyes shimmer with unshed tears. Hugging her tightly, Yan Jinglan thanks the girl for saving him and offers a sincere apology while she asks what is happening. The prince recalls his past, remembering how he was always ignored in the palace during his youth. He remembers how his state offended the Mo Yuan state when he was only 5, leading his father to send him away as a hostage. In his memories, shadows of other children mock him for being a hostage and demand to know why he remains so quiet. He remembers finding warmth and light. The memory of their first meeting returns, showing a young Zhao Zhao introducing herself and asking how he is doing. She offers a wide, toothy grin. The young prince stares back with sadness. He smiles gently at the girl. The little girl tells her pretty brother not to be afraid because she will protect him. Looking at her with surprise, the prince asks if she is serious, and she cheerfully confirms her intent to keep him safe. The girl smiles brightly, explaining that her mother taught her that best friends should always help each other. Yang Jinglan looks at her in awe. The prince tells the girl to hug him tightly as he leans his head against hers. Zhao Zhao stares ahead with wide, curious eyes.
Her small hand rests on his shoulder.
An hour later, a voice from above calls out to see if the prince is trapped down there. Hearing the shouts, the little girl tells the prince that someone has finally come to rescue them. A rope drops down from the heights. The girl tells her pretty brother to climb up first, insisting that her father will eventually come to get her. The prince ignores her suggestion and tells her to hug him tightly instead, as she admits she is feeling frightened. A scout lands on the rocky ledge. Wu Xin asks if the prince is injured, and Yan Jinglan assures him that he is fine while holding the bro. The servant reports that the Doggy King is approaching and reveals that the assassins were sent by the second prince. Yan Jinglan remarks that the Doggy King sent a significant gift, while the girl asks why he is talking about her father. The princess presses for more information, asking what is going on with her father. The prince asks if she is truly worried about her father, and she confirms it because he is her daddy. The girl pleads with the prince not to be angry with her father since she was the one who saved him. Looking at her with a soft expression, the prince promises that he will not kill her father, much to her relief. Celebrating the news, the girl urges them to go because her father is waiting for them. Carrying the girl away, Yan Jinglan secretly decides he won't kill the emperor only because he wants to watch him suffer instead.
The eldest princess waits anxiously for news.
The eldest princess spots the group returning in the darkness. Spotting her sister, the little girl cries out with joy as Yan Jinglan carries her.
The eldest princess pulls the girl into a frantic hug, scolding her for being so reckless while she offers a soft oops.
She expresses her fear of wolves, but the girl happily credits her pretty brother for her safety.
Glaring at the prince, the princess warns her sibling not to mention him, blaming him for the ordeal.
The princess orders her servant to fetch the imperial doctor to check on her sister immediately. A voice announces the king's arrival as the group stands together in the night. The little girl is surprised and delighted to hear that her father has come. Crying out for him, the girl runs toward her father with her arms outstretched.
The emperor lifts the little girl into a warm embrace, comforting her.
She notices that her father's clothing is messy, realizing he must have rushed through the night for her.
The girl apologizes for making him worry, but her father blames his own lack of guards for the incident.
The emperor is consumed by fury, swearing to kill Mo Zishu if any harm comes to his daughter. Gazing at him, the girl reflects on her father's intense devotion as her pretty brother looks on. She asks her father directly if he was the one who tried to kill her pretty brother.
A sudden, heavy silence sounding hangs in the air as they lock eyes.
The emperor denies the accusation, prompting the girl to wonder who could have sent the assassins that injured her sister.
He instructs the girls to return to the palace and rest, promising to investigate the situation.
As she leaves, her father watches her and thinks about how vital she is to his life.
The next day, the royal carriages prepared to depart from the estate.
The girl stops at the carriage door, noticing something small and curious on the ground. She finds a tiny gray puppy and declares it incredibly cute.
The little princess asks the puppy if it would like to follow her home.
Her elder sister calls out from the carriage window, ordering her to get inside.
The girl pleads to bring the puppy along, but her sister rejects the dirty stray.
She offers a desperate, wide-eyed plea that leaves her sister speechless. The princess finally gives in to her sister's request, and the girl cheers with joy. A serene pavilion stands amidst the morning mist as the scene shifts. Back at the palace, the girl calls out in search of her new pet. She huffs in anger as she realizes the puppy has gone off wandering.
A voice from above asks if she is looking for the animal.
The purple-haired boy holds the tiny gray puppy in his arms.
The girl beams with joy and thanks her fourth brother for finding him.
He holds the puppy out to her by the scruff of its neck. The boy reminds her that she broke her promise to bring him food, and she is shocked he still remembers. She offers a sheepish apology for her forgetfulness. The girl promises to cook a variety of delicious dishes for him later that day. The boy reacts with concern when she mentions visiting his palace. He warns her not to come because their father is currently scolding their second brother. The boy reveals that the second brother was the one who tried to kill the prince, much to her surprise. He explains that the prince had secret reasons for his actions that they do not know. The girl thinks back to her past life, recalling how the second brother betrayed and killed their father. The boy walks away as the girl calls out to ask where he is going. The emperor confronts Mo Zishu in a tense meeting within his study.
The prince in the wheelchair denies any knowledge of the attack, but the emperor reveals that the assassins were traced to him.
He demands a full explanation for the attempt on the hostage's life as the prince remains silent.
The prince breaks into a nervous sweat, realizing his secret has been discovered.
He bows his head and admits to his grave mistake. The prince acknowledges that there is nothing more to say and begs for forgiveness while accepting any punishment. The black-haired emperor furiously scolds the prince for recklessly endangering himself and the princesses. Looking downcast, the gray-haired prince sardonically remarks on the emperor's sudden concern for his royal status. The prince vents his bitterness, claiming he felt spiritually buried when his mother died 5 years prior. Enraged, the emperor orders his guards to seize the prince and administer 20 lashes as punishment. Small feet run across the floor as a quick pitter-patter sounding echoes through the hall. The blue-haired girl rushes into the room, prompting her surprised father to ask why she is there. Clinging to her father's robe, the little girl tearfully begs him not to punish her second brother. The emperor remains unmoved, declaring that the prince failed to appreciate the previous chances he was given. Turning to leave, the emperor orders the prince to be removed from his sight immediately. Looking back at the prince, the girl promises to keep trying to persuade their father to forgive him. The gray-haired prince glares at her and harshly rejects her offer of help. Standing by the prince's wheelchair, the little girl wonders about the tragedies that shaped her brother's past. A sudden, sharp,
ouch sounding escapes as a hand touches a series of fresh red welts on skin. The purple-haired boy warns the prince about potential infection and offers him healing ointment, which is refused. Looking frustrated, the purple-haired boy remarks on how incredibly stubborn the prince is being.
Standing alone, the purple-haired boy asks why the prince feels the need to constantly fight with their father.
The prince rests inside a room.
Sweating in his sleep, the prince cries out for his mother during a troubled dream.
In a memory, a young Mosey Shu comforts his dying mother as she asks if the king has arrived.
The dying woman smiles sadly, lamenting how the man who brought her to the palace ultimately abandoned her.
He remembers her final plea for him to take care of himself before the scene shifts to him bringing her desserts too late.
A younger Mosey Shu stands alone in a cavernous hall.
Despair consumes the boy as he reaches out, screaming for his mother not to leave him alone. A tiny hand touches a larger one. Waking from his nightmare, the prince softly whispers that he misses his mother. The blue-haired girl gazes at her brother with deep sympathy and concern.
She reflects on the maid's stories about how the prince's mother died young and how the king neglected him afterward.
Holding his hand, the girl realizes that these past hurts are the reason for her brother's hatred toward their father. Tucking him in, the little princess softly whispers a goodnight wish to her sleeping brother.
The prince's eyes snap open funnily.
Sitting up in bed, the gray-haired prince wonders aloud how long he has been asleep.
He stares out with confusion. A small silver container lies nearby.
Picking up the tin, the prince realizes it is the medicine the purple-haired boy mentioned earlier. A small smile touches the prince's face as he acknowledges that the purple-haired boy is actually kind-hearted. The tired girl rests her head. The eldest princess asks if her sister is feeling unwell, but the girl claims she was only sleepy.
The girl hides a smile, resolved to keep her secret visit to the prince a mystery.
Sitting together, the elder sister explains she is writing an essay for Teacher Chen that is due tomorrow. The princess shows her work, which details her observations of nature and the value of not wasting food. Impressed by the writing, the little girl listens as her sister offers to teach her how to write an essay.
An attendant's voice rings out to announce the arrival of the king.
Excitedly, the blue-haired girl presents her father with a paper, claiming she now knows how to write essays. The emperor smiles warmly, praising his daughter for her hard work and supposedly well-written text. His expression shifts to pure shock as he reads the text, which actually lists his own violent threats and secrets. Oblivious to his reaction, the girl asks if she can have extra candies as a reward for her effort. The emperor's eyes bulge in horror as he shouts his daughter's name. Leaning in close, the father sternly instructs the girl to never repeat any of the private things he told her.
The emperor sighs in relief, glad he didn't divulge any confidential state matters to the talkative child.
A messenger from Yan State arrives. The black-haired emperor leaves his daughters, claiming he has urgent work to attend to. A messenger from the state of Yan offers an apology and gifts for an accidental injury caused to the little princess, but the emperor questions why their prince didn't deliver them himself. The messenger explains that the young prince was severely punished for his actions and is currently unable to leave his bed. Hiding behind a door, the blue-haired girl realizes that both her father and the king of Yan are completely misunderstanding the situation with her pretty brother. Her elder sister sadly remarks that some parents don't love their children unconditionally and labels the prince as simply having bad luck. The princess sternly warns her sister to stay far away from the prince in the future, and Zhao Zhao quickly promises to obey. A fierce storm rages over the palace, with lightning illuminating the dark, rainy night. A quick pitter-patter sounding of feet echoes as the little girl runs through the rain, calling out to see if her pretty brother is still awake. A heavy silence sounding hangs in the air as she stands alone in the rainy courtyard. Worried that he is hiding in fear of the dark and the storm, she prepares to check on him. A sudden, sharp click sounding from the doorway catches her off guard. She notices that the door to the prince's quarters was left slightly ajar. Entering the dark room, the girl calls out for her pretty brother. A hand suddenly grabs her from the shadows, leaving her breathless with shock. The prince pulls her into a tight, protective embrace against the cold, rainy backdrop. Gazing up at him, she confirms he is indeed her pretty brother. He asks why she has come, and she explains she wanted to check on him after hearing about his punishment. She insists she is there to keep him company because she knows he is afraid of the dark. The prince stubbornly denies being afraid and urges her to return home as thunder lets out a loud rumbling sounding. Seeing through his act, the girl refuses to leave and insists on telling him a bedtime story. She leads the prince back to his bed, telling him it is time to rest. Tucking him in, she begins a story about a monk in the woods as he listens intently. The prince reflects on how the sound of her voice brings him a rare sense of peace as his eyes begin to close. The little girl continues her animated storytelling. She leans over and realizes that he has finally drifted off to sleep. A satisfied smile plays across her face. Morning light fills the room as the girl sleeps peacefully beside her brother. A sudden, loud "Hachoo" sounding escapes as she wakes up.
Realizing she caught a cold from the open window, the girl worries about how to explain her illness to her father.
The prince offers to help her get a medical leave from school, noticing she isn't feeling well. She frantically rejects the offer, claiming she must finish her homework, which leaves him surprised by her newfound studiousness. A happy woof sounding greets her as her small gray pet runs into the room. Beaming with joy, she asks the little animal if it missed her. The prince observes the animal's sharp ears and silver gray fur with growing suspicion. He realizes with a start that the creature is definitely not a dog. He asks the girl why she brought a wolf into the palace, much to her surprise. He points to its distinct features as proof of its wild nature. He advises her to send the animal away before her father catches them and gets angry. A sudden growl sounding erupts as the wolf cub leaps at the prince, catching him off guard. The girl begs them both to stop fighting. A voice calling her name startles the girl. Zhao Zhao greets her elder sister and realizes she got so distracted by the prince that she forgot her appointment. The sisters hold hands as they stand before the prince. The princess calls out to the prince, gaining his attention. She offers a sincere apology for her past rudeness and thanks him for saving her sister. The princess invites him to a royal birthday celebration, while the prince privately wonders about Mo Chu Yao's hidden motives. He accepts the invitation with a polite smile, acknowledging he cannot refuse her. The little girl is delighted to see her siblings finally getting along. She happily suggests they all go to school together as they walk through the palace gardens. The princess and the prince share a final competitive glance over who truly has the girl's favor. A promotional graphic requests reader support for their hard work. The blue-haired girl considers various birthday presents for her third brother. Looking quite distressed, the little girl expresses her intense frustration. She softly calls out for her elder sister while looking around. The blue-haired girl happily greets her big brother as he arrives to take her home. Vibrant purple and yellow flowers bloom under a warm sunlight. Her big brother reminds her of Jing Xuan's upcoming birthday, making her realize it's time to prepare. The prince struggles to recall his younger brother's interests, remembering only his playful antics. He suggests they create a drawing together since their father previously enjoyed her artwork. The third brother suddenly appears, startling them both by asking what they are planning. He questions their secret discussion while the older brother tries to hide his nervousness. The red-haired boy teasingly asks if they are trying to hide something from him. He expresses his curiosity about their activities with a mischievous glint in his eyes. The little princess marvels at the breathtaking beauty of the grand Zhaohua Palace. She asks if he lives here now, and he confirms their father allowed them to leave the cold palace. Concubine Ru warmly welcomes the little princess and inquires about her health. Feeling much better, the gray-haired woman graciously invites the children into her home.
The little blue-haired girl is taken aback by a sudden realization.
Concubine Li, the mother of the fourth princess, stands before them with a worried expression. Concubine Ru explains that this woman cared for her when her son was away. The purple-haired princess excitedly offers the little girl food, telling her not to be afraid. Recalling warnings about strangers using food to kidnap children, the girl becomes extremely suspicious. Declaring her desire to draw with her brother instead, she pulls him away and leaves. The purple-haired princess bursts into tears as her offer is rejected. She asks her mother why the little princess fled when they only wanted to be friends. With a proud smile, the eldest prince celebrates completing their drawing project. The girl praises his talent, though he responds with a humble but satisfied huff. She asks why he seemed so afraid earlier when they encountered their third brother. Looking distressed, the orange-haired prince declares that Jing Xuan is actually a very bad person. He reveals how the third brother used to prank him and then pretend to be innocent. He laments having to endure the bullying in silence simply because he is the eldest son.
He fiercely warns her to stay away from the third brother and promises to protect her.
Having overheard their conversation, the third brother anticipates that tonight's birthday party will be very interesting. Readers are urged to support the original creators on their official website. At Jingshuan Palace, the girl admires the flowers while her attendant urges caution. A sudden, sharp ouch sounding rings out as the little girl trips and falls onto the stone path. The concerned attendant checks on the girl, who offers a brave smile and thanks her. A finely dressed woman watches the interaction from a distance. Concubine Shu asks her servant to confirm the identity of the little girl who recently arrived. Furious that the king has neglected her because of the child, she labels the girl a manipulator. After playing among the flowers, the blue-haired girl realizes she is feeling very thirsty. Approaching the grand lady, the little girl politely asks if she has any water to share. The lady servant shouts in outrage, demanding to know how the child could be so disrespectful. The little princess apologizes and explains that she is still learning palace etiquette. Concubine Shu harshly criticizes the child for her lack of manners despite her age. As the servant raises her hand, the girl screams for help as she fears being hit. A sudden hand reaches out and firmly stops the servant's strike in midair. Concubine Li stops the servant's hand and asks Concubine Shu why she would shamefully bully a little girl. Concubine Shu warns her to mind her own business and leave, but Concubine Li defiantly refuses to go. Concubine Shu looks intensely frustrated. Letting out a cold humph sounding, the lady walks away with her servant as the sisters watch. Sparkles fill the air as Zhao Zhao looks up with immense admiration. Beaming with joy, Zhao Zhao thanks Concubine Li and declares her a good person. The little princess promises to bring a gift next time and asks the woman what she would like. The purple-haired woman suddenly pulls the girl into a hug, gushing about how cute she is. Laughing heartily, the woman tells Zhao Zhao not to worry because she isn't a bad person. A voice calling out Mo Zhao Zhao's name suddenly interrupts the scene. The princess greets Concubine Li and apologizes for her sister's rudeness before taking her away. The princess leads the girl away through the palace courtyard. Concubine Li watches them leave, thinking about how cute the child is. The elder princess scolds Zhao Zhao, asking if she is stupid and reminding her not to associate with those concubines. Zhao Zhao argues that Concubine Li is good because she just protected her from Concubine Shu's servant. The princess warns her that the woman is simply pretending to be kind. She reveals that the woman is actually the mother of the fourth prince. She explains that the fourth prince looks like a girl because of how his mother treated him. The little girl looks confused. The princess relays rumors about the concubine mistreating her son since birth and sternly tells the girl to be careful.
Zhao Zhao recalls the woman's kind words and affection from moments ago.
Her sister warns her that they cannot know what is truly hiding behind the woman's mask. The scene shifts to a grand, brightly lit banquet hall filled with guests. At the party, the little princess is delighted by the abundance of delicious food. The blue-haired girl notices a cup of tea being offered. The princess offers a drink to Yan Jinglan as an apology, while secretly hoping the chili water inside will make him look foolish. A sudden, loud drink sounding follows as the prince takes a sip. A sudden cough sounding echoes through the hall as the prince reacts to the spicy liquid. Worried, Zhao Zhao asks her pretty brother if he is okay and offers him some candies to help. Wiping his mouth, the prince claims he simply choked on some water to hide his discomfort. The little girl offers to get him fresh water later and assures him he will be fine. The princess is visibly annoyed that her prank didn't have the desired effect. The emperor asks the children if they have all prepared birthday gifts for the third prince. Zhao Zhao cheers with excitement, ready to present her gift. She announces that she and her big brother have a wonderful present for their third brother. She presents the drawing and wishes him a happy birthday while he thanks her. The third prince examines the drawing, noting with a smug expression that it was clearly drawn by someone else. He addresses his father, announcing that he has prepared a special performance for the occasion. A sharp clap sounding rings out as he signals for his surprise to be brought in.
A large object under a red cloth is wheeled in, leaving the guests wondering what is underneath.
A fierce roar sounding erupts as the cloth is pulled back to reveal a massive white tiger in a cage. The prince boasts that the beast is his pet and is far too wild to be tamed by anyone. Seeing the girl's shock, he tells her not to be afraid because the predator is safely behind bars. He watches with a devious grin, fully expecting the little girl to burst into tears. To his utter disbelief, Zhao Zhao's eyes light up as she declares how cool the tiger is. She eagerly pulls on his sleeve to get a closer look, leaving him baffled by her lack of fear. She asks him why she should be afraid of something so adorable. An attendant warns her to be careful, but the emperor commands that she be allowed to approach the cage. Tiny and fearless, the little girl stands directly in front of the giant, snarling tiger. The blue-haired girl greets the white tiger, asking if it misses its mother. A sudden, loud roar sounding is followed by a sharp O sounding as the tiger snaps. Zhao Zhao gently pets the giant cat, promising it will return home eventually. The red-haired prince is stunned to see Zhao Zhao conversing with the beast. He watches in disbelief, marveling at the little girl's absolute lack of fear. The purple-haired boy asks his third brother to stop antagonizing the little princess. The third prince wears a devious, satisfied grin. Attempting to provoke the predator, the third brother dangles food before the cage. A thunderous, angry roar sounding follows as the white tiger strikes at the bars. The cage's lock snaps with a sudden, sharp, broken sounding. Seeing the danger, the fourth brother desperately screams for his sister to be careful. He lunges forward to shield her, suffering a bloody scratch as she cries out. Zhao Zhao screams for her brother, horrified by the injury he took for her.
The emperor's intimidating presence looms over Jingzwen as the boy tries to explain.
The third prince trembles with fear before his father's gaze. Cradling his wounded son, the emperor demands that the imperial doctor be called immediately. The scene shifts to the tranquil exterior of the Zonghua Palace. The fourth prince rests peacefully in his bed while recovering. A doctor informs the emperor that the prince passed out but is now stable. The emperor dismisses the doctor, who politely bows before departing.
Overwhelmed with guilt, Zhao Zhao tearfully blames herself for her brother's injury.
Her father comforts her, reminding her that the fierce tiger was responsible, not her. The little princess pleads with her father not to kill the misunderstood white tiger. He reassures her that he released it into nature and banned tigers as pets.
He carries Zhao Zhao home, telling her it is time to rest for the night.
The emperor carries her through the dark palace grounds. The little girl notices someone watching from the shadows. She wonders if the woman standing in the distance is concubine Li.
Zhao Zhao jumps down, telling her father she must speak with her brother alone.
Inside the room, the prince asks the purple-haired woman why she has come here.
He rejects her touch, but she begs for a chance to make up for her past mistakes.
The boy coldly claims he isn't angry but demands she leave because it is late. A quiet evening passes within the palace walls. Watching from the window, Zhao Zhao wonders what history lies between the two. Concubine Li walks away into the night, visibly heartbroken. Zhao Zhao greets the woman, who asks why the little princess is still awake. The woman confesses that she selfishly forced her son to dress like a girl from birth. She laments how the teasing he faced at school caused him to distance himself. Concubine Li regrets her selfishness, and Zhao Zhao promises to help them reconcile. The girl vows to do her best to help her new friend. Zhao Zhao questions why a boy shouldn't be allowed to wear whatever he likes. She expresses her admiration for the pretty brother's cool and smart appearance. From the shadows, the fourth prince watches the interaction with a conflicted expression. Ziran remains silent as he watches them from a distance. A few days later at Shanyu Palace, Zhao Zhao lets out a long, heavy sigh sounding. Her sister asks why she is so upset, and Zhao Zhao explains her deep distress.
The older girl enthusiastically encourages her sister to share what is bothering her.
Zhao Zhao worries that her fourth brother is ignoring her because she spoke with concubine Wayne.
Furious and jealous, the princess yells that Zhao Zhao only cares about other boys.
Zhao Zhao clarifies that Mo Ziran is her brother, but her black-haired sister remains stubbornly jealous. Clinging to her sister, Zhao Zhao begs for her assistance just one time. The older girl suggests trying something the person enjoys to win them over. Zhao Zhao beams as she recalls that her fourth brother loves to eat. Thanking her sister, the little girl runs off while the princess feels neglected.
Arriving at Zonghua Palace, a loud knock-knock sounding follows as Zhao Zhao offers food.
The hallway remains quiet with no response from the room.
Zhao Zhao decides to leave the basket at the doorstep as she heads home.
A pitter-patter sounding of footsteps catches the attention of the purple-haired boy. Mo Ziran peeks through the door and spots the basket left behind. He gasps with excitement upon seeing a large drumstick inside. The boy reaches out his hand to pull the gift inside.
Zhao Zhao suddenly jumps out and surprises him, shouting that she called in.
He asks why she is here, and she reveals she wants to chat. The prince warns her not to waste time if she is acting for his mother. Claiming illness, he asks her to leave, but Zhao Zhao insists she has news. The little princess asks him to visit a place with her as a final veil. Seeing a carriage, the purple-haired boy asks if they are leaving the palace. Letting out a standing-up sounding, he agrees to see what her plan is. The two children walk together as the prince accepts the deal.
Zhao Zhao excitedly announces their arrival at the bustling Jing City.
The prince's hand trembles slightly as they prepare to exit. Zhao Zhao notices his hesitation and asks what is wrong. He worries people will recognize them and suggests staying inside the carriage. The boy's eye is visible through a thin, white veil.
Zhao Zhao places a veiled hat on him and asks if he feels safe now.
The blue-haired girl cheers with joy at her success. The boy reflects on Zhao Zhao's irresistible charm and hidden depths. Zhao Zhao asks for help because the carriage step is too high for her. He carries her down and she points out a nearby commotion. Zhao Zhao leads the way into the city to see the show. A street performer amazes the crowd by breathing a giant plume of fire. Observing him, Zhao Zhao notes that her fourth brother seems happy. She ponders if the performance. The little girl advises her brother that he needs to love himself. Skeptical, the prince asks if that woman was the one who told her to say that. He expresses his deep humiliation at being dressed like a woman by his mother.
Refusing to listen to excuses, he tells Zhao Zhao she should leave.
A shopkeeper invites them into a newly opened clothing shop. The boy dismisses the offer and states they are going home.
A sudden grab sounding follows as Zhao Zhao stops him. She pleads to stay because she wants to see the pretty dresses. Zhao Zhao looks up tearfully, asking him to accompany her just this once.
He softens, wondering why he would ever be truly angry at a 3-year-old. Zhao Zhao puts on a blue boy's outfit and admires her reflection.
The lady laughs and tells the girl she looks wonderful in the new clothes.
Zhao Zhao turns around and asks her brother for his opinion. He tells her to buy it if she likes it and reminds her it's late. The boy suddenly gasps as he feels his hat moving.
A look of shock crosses his face as he screams about his hat falling off.
A hat lies discarded on the ground.
Looking up at him, the blue-haired girl tells her 4th brother that he is very pretty.
A sudden grab sounding occurs as he takes hold of her wrist. She points out that his eyes and nose are as beautiful as her own. The purple-haired boy stares in wide-eyed shock.
He remains still, taken aback by her unexpected compliments.
He reflects on how the teasing made him avoid mirrors and wonders if he should follow her advice to accept himself.
The moon hangs over the quiet grounds of Xianyu Palace.
Zhao Zhao asks him if he feels better, and he simply confirms that he does.
The little girl wonders to herself if her plan to cheer him up is actually working.
He tells her to go back to her palace while he continues on.
Noticing his path, Zhao Zhao asks where he is going since he isn't heading toward his own room.
The prince explains that he wants to check on their 3rd brother, who has been kneeling in punishment all day.
Zhao Zhao excitedly begs to be brought along to visit him.
She expresses her sincere hope that their brother hasn't been injured.
Watching her, the boy smiles and thinks she is quite a little troublemaker. They arrive at the silent entrance of Jingshuan Palace.
Resting on his bed, the red-haired prince is surprised by Zhao Zhao's sudden appearance. He admits he thought she had forgotten him while he was being punished for the incident at the party.
Zhao Zhao insists the tiger was at fault, but he reminds her that their father is the one who decided his fate. He lets out a pained groan as he complains that his entire body is aching. The purple-haired boy watches his brother with a steady, quiet gaze. The 3rd prince winces as he tries to shift his position. Noticing her basket, he asks if she brought food, and she offers him fried yogurt and guihua cake. He eats happily and tells his 9th sister that she is the best. He chews the treat thoughtfully, noting a change in the flavor.
The boy asks who made the desserts because they taste different, and Zhao Zhao praises his intelligence. She cheerfully explains that she and her 4th brother bought the treats together at the city market.
A sharp gasp sounding escapes him as the news hits him.
Shocked, he asks if his brother really went out with her, and she confirms they were together all day. Zhao Zhao adds that her 4th brother ate so much he even surprised the restaurant owner.
The 3rd prince is baffled, wondering when his withdrawn brother became so close to the little girl.
He thinks to himself that he absolutely cannot allow this development to continue. He asks Zhao Zhao to leave for a moment so he can speak with his brother in private. A soft hum sounding follows as the girl waits patiently outside the room.
Inside, he demands to know exactly what is going on between his brother and Mo Zhao Zhao.
The purple-haired boy explains that they spent the morning eating, shopping, and watching a performance. His brother reminds him of the warning to stay away from her, emphasizing that she is too smart to trust. Mosey Ran claims he is just pretending to play along with the little princess. He confesses that he used to be terrified of leaving the palace walls. However, after their day out, he realizes he is no longer afraid of strangers. He looks at his hands and reflects on how Zhao Zhao opened up the world for him. The boy suggests that instead of avoiding her, they should try to accept her into their lives.
He turns to his elder brother and asks for his honest opinion on the matter.
The 3rd prince looks away, his expression troubled and unsure. He tells his brother to do as he likes, but warns him to avoid mentioning her in front of their 2nd brother.
Outside, Zhao Zhao is relieved to find her brother didn't speak ill of her behind her back.
She feels happy thinking that her 4th brother is finally starting a new life.
A cheerful la 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 sounding follows as the little girl skips away. Her sister asks why she is so excited, and Zhao Zhao explains she is happy because she can finally go to school.
As the blue-haired girl skips away, her older sister watches with a skeptical expression.
Zhao Zhao catches up to Mosey Ran and asks if he is returning to school.
The purple-haired boy confirms he promised their father to study harder from now on.
He admits that their day at the market changed his perspective on attending school.
Zhao Zhao cheers with pure, unbridled joy. The prince offers to answer any questions she might have as they walk together. Watching from a distance, the older sister is baffled by their sudden closeness. She begrudgingly admires her younger sister's talent for winning people over.
A peaceful morning in the Imperial Garden is interrupted by a rebellious thought. Zhao Zhao skips through the garden, admitting that she skipped class because it was boring. She hides behind some tall grass, giggling to herself.
The little girl's eyes widen as she spots someone nearby.
She discovers the black-haired prince resting quietly in the greenery.
He hushes her, asking why she is being so loud.
The boy looks at her curiously and asks why she is there.
Zhao Zhao asks where he has been since he wasn't at school.
Claiming illness, he urges her to leave the area immediately.
The boy looks increasingly flustered as Zhao Zhao continues to stare at him.
Zhao Zhao points her finger excitedly as she realizes they share a secret.
The boy begs her not to tell anyone that she saw him here.
Zhao Zhao laughs at their shared habit of skipping school, while he privately calls her an idiot.
She takes his hand and promises to keep his secret safe.
The girl joyfully declares they are now best friends who must help each other.
He teases her by asking to see her tail, leaving Zhao Zhao thoroughly confused.
Shifting his tone, the boy asks if she will fulfill a wish for her new friend. Zhao Zhao agrees hesitantly, sensing that she might be walking into a trap.
A gentle touch sounding follows as he reaches out to her head.
The black-haired boy smiles and says he was only joking. He suggests they head back before they are caught, but a sudden sound startles him.
Guards storm the area, searching for the escaped hostage from Yan State.
Zhao Zhao asks why the guards are looking for him with such urgency. He pulls her down to hide as the search party approaches their location.
A guard reports their failure to find the prince and decides to notify the king.
Zhao Zhao worries about her father finding out, while the boy realizes he is out of time.
He tells her to reveal his location, and Zhao Zhao agrees to help.
A guard lets out a pew sounding while a sharp whistle echoes.
Zhao Zhao stands up and loudly announces that Yan Jinglan is with her.
The guard turns around in shock at the sudden revelation. He warns the princess that this is a serious matter regarding the sixth prince. A sudden grab sounding occurs as Zhao Zhao seizes the boy's sleeve.
She claims she is punishing Yan Jinglan for losing her perfume satchel.
The girl's eyes burn with a feigned, intense fury.
Yang Jinglan watches her performance with a stunned, silent expression. Zhao Zhao pretends to beat him while he plays along by begging for forgiveness. The guard is terrified by the little girl's surprisingly cruel behavior. Convinced by the act, the guards apologize and leave the two children alone.
The atmosphere settles as the children remain together in the garden.
Zhao Zhao immediately apologizing, explaining that the hitting was just a ruse to save him. Yan Jinglan smiles warmly and assures her that he is perfectly fine.
The black-haired boy reflects on how strong the little girl's fists are despite her small size.
Zhao Zhao explains she followed his instructions and asks him to clarify what actually happened.
Yang Jinglan stares into her eyes, wondering if he should trust her after she saved his life. He explains that he recently traveled to the Yan State to handle several errands. The prince elaborates that he was dealing with family matters involving someone who wants his father to perish. Zhao Zhao tilts her head in confusion as she tries to process his words. He sighs and dismisses the topic, believing the young girl is too young to understand his situation. Shifting the subject, he notes that he heard she has become very close to her fourth brother. Zhao Zhao cheers excitedly, explaining that her fourth brother is different and she likes him very much. Leaning in close, the boy tells her she must remember exactly what she just said. He warns her he won't be forgiving if she finds someone else to like in the future, while she reassures him. Inside the palace, an attendant informs the king that the little princess has been spending time with her brothers. The king is displeased she ignored his warning, but Zhao Zhao suddenly arrives to join him for dinner. She greets him with wide arms, loudly declaring how much she missed her father. Noticing his stern expression, the blue-haired girl nervously wonders why he looks so angry. An intense silence fills the room as the father and daughter stare at each other. The king remains silent, his brow furrowed as he considers his daughter's recent rebellious behavior. Softening his tone, he asks what she wants for dinner, much to Zhao Zhao's immense relief. The little girl cheers with joy at the news that her father isn't truly upset with her. The prince signals his attendant to leave them alone so they can share their meal in private. A piece of meat is lifted with chopsticks as Zhao Zhao prepares to enjoy her feast. The king holds his daughter on his lap as they prepare to eat together at the low table. She holds up the chopsticks and insists that her father must eat something as well. A close-up shows her tiny, determined hands gripping the chopsticks with great care. Zhao Zhao looks focused and slightly strained as she tries to navigate the food toward her father. The little girl successfully feeds him a bite of meat while leaning against a shoulder. He holds her securely as he accepts the food she has so thoughtfully offered him. Her face lights up with a bright, happy smile as she watches him eat. The king confirms the food is delicious, offering his daughter a rare, genuine smile.
Zhao Zhao looks up and asks her father why he still seems to be so worried.
She asks if he is okay and tells him she will be sad if he isn't happy. The king closes his eyes and lets out a pained sigh as he prepares to ask a difficult question. He asks if it's true she has been spending a lot of time with the third and fourth princes. Surprised by his knowledge, Zhao Zhao explains she was only trying to take care of her injured brother. He pats her head gently and tells her he isn't blaming her, so she explains her worry for their brother. She expresses her deep sympathy for her brother, noting that he was sick for many days. The king asks why she felt it was necessary to force the fourth prince to return to his studies. Zhao Zhao admits she isn't sure, but she sincerely hopes he can live a normal and happy life. Fearing his disapproval, she asks if he is angry and promises to stop seeing them if it makes him sad. He reassures her he isn't angry and even thanks her for showing kindness toward her brothers. However, he warns her that she should probably not play with them quite so often. The prince explains that they are much older than her and have grown used to being isolated. Zhao Zhao is touched by his concern, realizing that her father truly cares about her well-being. She happily promises to listen to him and gives him a tight, affectionate hug. As she prepares to leave for a study session with the eldest princess, the king tells her to wait. He reaches out his hand, holding on to a small item he wants to give to his daughter. Zhao Zhao is surprised as he presents her with a small, beautifully crafted yellow bird figurine. The attendant notes the king forced a minister to give him that gift and promises a better one later. The little girl beams with delight as she holds her new treasure in both hands. Zhao Zhao waves a cheerful goodbye to her father as she skips out of the room. Yang Jinglan stares forward with a cold gaze while his elderly attendant looks at him with a mixture of sadness and concern. The attendant apologizes to the prince and asks why he didn't spend more time with the little princess before his scheduled departure tomorrow. Yang Jinglan looks away and notes that the young girl is far more perceptive than others believe. He holds up a hand to dismiss his servant, stating that he needs to rest for the night. The elderly man bows his head, privately reflecting on the fact that the king is doing everything possible to protect the princess. He looks at the back of the black-haired prince and silently asks the little princess to pray for her father's safe return. A series of illustrated bears remind readers to support original content creators and avoid unauthorized websites. A peaceful night descends over the imperial gardens as a crescent moon glows among the stars. Warm lanterns illuminate the intricate lattice windows of the palace buildings against the dark night. A massive gray snake with glowing red eyes peeks from behind a stone pillar with a menacing hiss sounding. Yan Jinglan looks down at the serpent and asks if it was intending to go and play with the little princess.
He tells the creature to stop thinking about it, noting that she has a new pet that is far cuter than it is.
A girl with dark green hair and a high ponytail rushes into the room to report that the king is leaving the palace. She excitedly confirms that their operatives are waiting in a nearby town to eliminate him as soon as he appears. As he prepares his tea, Yan Jinglan sees a reflection of Zhao Zhao pleading with him to spare her father's life. The prince remains silent as he slowly places the porcelain lid back onto his teacup. He shocks his subordinate by declaring that they no longer have to kill the king. The green-haired girl is stunned, questioning why he would pass up a chance to kill the man he supposedly hates. He explains that their home state is currently in civil strife and killing the king now would only cause more chaos, choosing to let his brother handle the situation instead. The scene shifts to the imperial study room as Zhao Zhao arrives with a cheerful skip.
She clutches a paper to her chest, imagining how happy her father will be when he sees her perfect marks.
The little girl stops in her tracks, looking around the large, quiet room and wondering where everyone went. Her older sister appears holding a book and asks what Zhao Zhao is doing there alone. The older princess explains that she checked with the general and was told the king left the palace earlier that morning. Zhao Zhao is deeply confused, recalling that she was just speaking with her father the night before. She holds up her test results and excitedly shares that she obtained full marks on her examination. The blue-haired girl leans in and whispers that their brother, Xiao Jingyu, got 0 marks and was scolded by the teacher. Her sister becomes visibly irritated, thinking that the boy's poor attitude and results will be a bad influence on Zhao Zhao. She points a finger toward the door and demands that the boy be brought to her for personal tuition immediately.
A backdrop of blooming flowers accompanies a poetic verse about turtle doves and a maiden by the riverside.
The eldest princess reads aloud from her book with a focused and serious expression.
She shoots a sharp, impatient glare toward her student as she continues the lesson. With a sudden, loud shout, she calls out Xiao Jingyu's name, causing the red-haired boy to jump in fright. She grabs the boy by the hair and berates him for his poor performance and lack of attention.
A sharp bang sounding follows as the boy offers a sweaty excuse about being kept awake by mosquitoes.
Xiao Jingyu puts his hands together and begs his sister not to be angry with him.
The older girl remains stern and tells him that she will not tolerate another failure in the future. She suddenly stops and turns her head toward the window with a curious expression. The older sister finds Zhao Zhao leaning over a wooden ledge, staring blankly into the distance. She asks Zhao Zhao what is wrong, noting that the little girl looks unusually tired. Zhao Zhao looks away and admits she has a bad feeling that something terrible is about to happen. She looks up at her sister and asks if she thinks their father will really be okay. A view of the grand Yangshin Hall is shown as the morning sun casts bright rays over the palace. Zhao Zhao is on the verge of tears as she prays for her father's safety after hearing a general screams. A maid in a green robe walks quickly past the girls toward the inner chambers. The blue-haired girl gasps in horror as she sees a bowl filled with deep, dark blood being carried by the maid. A palace official stops the two sisters, informing them that the imperial doctor is currently treating the king's wounds. Tears stream down Zhao Zhao's face as she tries to reach for the door to accompany her injured father. Her sister holds her back and warns her not to be capricious, insisting they must not disturb their father while he is being treated. The eldest prince and Xiao Jingyu cry out for their father. Outside the room, the eldest princess asks about the king's condition while the imperial doctor treats his serious wounds. A hand grips a curtain, grab sounding. Zhao Zhao tearfully asks the eldest prince if their father will survive after losing so much blood.
The black-haired boy looks down sadly.
He comforts Zhao Zhao, promising her that their father will recover and protect them.
Xiao Jingyu watches them, resenting the eldest brother while thinking he is foolish.
The prince continues comforting Zhao Zhao.
The red-haired boy lifts Zhao Zhao, telling her he will accompany her so she won't cry. He offers Zhao Zhao a piece of candy to cheer her up.
The eldest prince looks visibly irritated. He scolds Xiao Jingyu, warning him that Zhao Zhao is too young for so many sweets. Xiao Jingyu dismisses his brother's concern, claiming that a single candy is harmless. He taunts the eldest prince, asking if he is just jealous of the candy. The eldest princess demands they stop. She suggests that the brothers hand Zhao Zhao to her since the little girl is in a bad mood. Zhao Zhao spots Dr. Li Amerding. The children crowd the doctor, asking if their father is seriously injured or hurt. Dr. Li reassures the little princess that the king is fine and only suffered minor injuries. Zhao Zhao cries out for her father. She enters the room and gasps. The king lies unconscious and dead. Zhao Zhao accuses the doctor of lying while her sister explains he was only trying not to frighten her. Zhao Zhao wipes away her tears. She holds her father's cold hand and pleads with him to be brave for her. Dr. Li lights a small candle. The doctor advises the eldest princess to leave and get some rest since it is late. The princess decides to stay with Zhao Zhao and tells the doctor to leave first. Zhao Zhao begs her father to wake up because she wants to talk to him.
A tear falls from her eye.
Zhao Zhao sleeps beside her father. A blanket is pulled over her. The eldest princess watches Zhao Zhao sleep. She suddenly shouts with excitement when she sees that her father has finally woken up. Zhao Zhao wakes up feeling confused. She looks up with wide eyes. The king is awake and sitting. Zhao Zhao tearfully embraces her father, telling him how much she worried about him. He tells his daughter to stop crying, assuring her that he is still alive and well.
Zhao Zhao gazes at him worriedly.
The king declines food or drink. He asks if Zhao Zhao is tired from her long vigil, but she insists on staying by his side. She proudly mentions that she finished her homework and received a perfect grade. The king tells Zhao Zhao to sleep and promises they will speak more in the morning. Zhao Zhao asks what happened to him and how he was injured. The king reveals he was ambushed by assassins while traveling back to the pass. Zhao Zhao asks who was responsible and if it was the Yanjing state or another rival. A hand pats her head gently. He promises to investigate the attack and tells Zhao Zhao not to worry anymore. The king glares as the princess watches. The king calls out to Yao Er, asking how long she intends to stand there, which catches the gray-haired girl off guard. Yao Er explains that she only intended to check on her father before checking on Zhao Zhao. A hand reaches out toward the girl with a quiet command to come closer. Yao Er stares forward in surprised silence. The king, holding the sleeping Zhao Zhao, invites Yao Er to come and rest beside her sister as well. Yao Er gazes at her father with an emotional expression. The king sits in bed while holding both his daughters close in a warm embrace. Yao Er notes that he was unconscious for an entire day and asks him to be more careful in the future. The king reflects on how glad he is to have them by his side, wondering how he will protect them if he is ever truly gone. He tells the girls to sleep tightly as a candle burns low in the quiet room. A view of a tranquil park area within the palace grounds is shown. Yang Jinglan listens as a report confirms that the king is awake and will soon be able to run and leap again despite his injuries. The prince notes that the king's luck is simply too good.
He laments that the situation would be far worse if his brother had been the one to successfully strike the king. Zhao Zhao's voice calls out to her pretty brother, causing Yan Jinglan to look up in surprise.
The little girl tells him to go home because of the cold weather, but Yan Jinglan just calls her by her full name.
She reaches out a tiny hand to touch his arm. Zhao Zhao is shocked by how cold the prince feels to the touch. The black-haired prince looks down at her with a blank expression.
Zhao Zhao smiles brightly and tells him that he isn't cold anymore.
Yan Jinglan is left speechless by the little girl's warmth. He asks what she's doing there when she should be having lunch at the palace.
Zhao Zhao explains she finished caring for her injured father and vows to find out which bad guy hurt him.
She comically declares she will seek revenge by spraying seawater at the bad guy.
The prince remains stoic and silent as he listens to her outburst.
Yang Jinglan asks what she would do if he was the one responsible for hurting her father.
Zhao Zhao laughs and tells him to stop joking, certain it could never be him.
He leans in close and asks if she would still seek revenge if he were truly the one who hurt her dad.
Zhao Zhao looks at him with wide, stunned eyes.
He demands an answer while she stammers in wide-eyed confusion. Yang Jinglan suddenly claims he was just joking, leaving the girl shocked as a comical sweat drop appearing sounds. Zhao Zhao turns away and tells him his joke was bad and that she doesn't like it at all. She looks at him and says she trusts him to stick to his promise not to hurt her father.
The little girl asks for confirmation while the prince stays silent.
He thinks to himself that she is simply too cute to say no to. Yang Jinglan smiles and agrees to the deal.
Yao Er's voice calls out for Zhao Zhao from a distance.
Zhao Zhao panics, worrying her sister will be angry if she finds out they were playing together again. She says a quick goodbye and runs off as the prince watches her gal. Yao Er spots her sister coming from the garden. Zhao Zhao asks why her sister is smiling so happily and if she has something to share it. Yao Er mentions an upcoming football match, which leaves Zhao Zhao questioning what football is. Her sister explains that it is an exercise where teams score points by kicking a ball into a goal. Yao Er privately thinks about how she will tease Yan Jinglan and keep him away from Zhao Zhao if her team wins. Zhao Zhao excitedly declares that she wants to take part in the match too. Her sister tells her she is too young and weak to play and should just watch instead. Yan Jinglan watches the two sisters from the distance. Zhao Zhao stuffs her face with food as a quick eating sounding follows. The king tells her to eat carefully and asks why she is in such a mush.
Zhao Zhao says she wants to grow up fast so she can participate in the football match soon.
The king offers to arrange for Zhao Zhao to join the football team immediately, but she declines.
The blue-haired girl looks deeply concerned.
The king considers teaching the little girl football himself.
Zhao Zhao asks if her father knows how to play, causing the king to stammer nervously. A gray-haired official laughs as he reveals the king is actually a talented football player. He explains that the king won a tournament in the past just to please concubine Shen. Zhao Zhao is delighted by the sweet, romantic history of her parents. The king dismisses the story as a forgotten memory and demands the official never mention that name again. The king sternly vows to ensure Shen Songli repays everything she owes him.